Story starts with Hyunjin, our protagonist, falling down from the top of a building, his mind racing with confusion about why he's falling. He had endured the torments of bullying and was close to graduating, but now finds himself in this dire situation. After 3 months in a coma, doctors declare him in a vegetative state, with no hope of recovery. Though he can hear voices around him, he's unable to respond. His grandmother sits beside his bed, tearfully pleading with him to wake up, refusing to give up despite the doctor's advice. She raised him after his parents' death, and her heartbreak is palpable. Days later, his brother visits and confides that the bullies who tormented him are now targeting him, leaving him battered. Their grandmother has taken a job at a restaurant to cover the hospital bills, injuring herself in the process. The family's suffering would have been less if he had just died, his brother laments through tears. Hyunjin, trapped in his mind, wishes he could help them. 3 years pass, and he remains comatose. Doctors discuss his case, noting how long it has been since Hyunjin first arrived. They mention that his grandmother has collapsed at work. He thinks of the bullies, Park Mincheol, Miho, Changsuk, and Yooncheol, and the teachers who protected them, wishing for a miracle to return to the past and confront them. A decade later, he is still in the same state, overwhelmed by despair to the point that tears escape his eyes as he prays for an end. Miraculously, he suddenly awakens to find himself back in his classroom. Disbelieving, he pinches himself to confirm it's real. He even stabs himself with his pen for confirmation that it's not a dream. He has returned to his school days. Witnessing a boy being bullied, the spark of his own suffering, he decides not to stay silent this time. He stands up and tells Mincheol to stop, ready to face the challenge head-on. Mincheol asks if he can handle the consequences. All eyes were on Hyunjin and Mincheol, the classroom holding its collective breath. No one dared to intervene, stunned into silence. The tension was palpable, and the students watched in shock as Hyunjin threw a powerful punch at Mincheol. It was a moment he had long envisioned, the moment that had haunted him for years. Hyunjin vividly recalled the day his life had changed forever. Mincheol had been half listening to the teacher, more interested in his next gaming session of Legend Online. He was a notorious bully, exploiting his peers for his amusement. That day, he had approached Young Min, a quiet and diligent student, and demanded that he boost his online character. Young Min, fearing retribution, reluctantly agreed, and his grades began to suffer as a result. Mincheol's demands escalated, eventually coercing Young Min into spending his own money on in-game items. The stress became unbearable, and Young Min finally refused. It was the first time Hyunjin had witnessed such brutality firsthand. He had wanted to avoid trouble but couldn't ignore the injustice done to someone who had helped him with his studies. When he intervened, the teachers arrived and defused the situation, but that only marked the beginning of his torment. From that day on, Mincheol's gang singled him out, subjecting him to relentless bullying. They beat him daily, dragging him into their cruel games and leaving him with no respite. Now, as he landed the first punch, Hyunjin felt a decade's worth of pent-up rage and frustration surge through him. He grabbed Mincheol's head and slammed it onto the desk, the impact reverberating through the room. He hit him again and again, each blow fueled by years of suffering. The classroom erupted into chaos, but Hyunjin was beyond caring. He threw Mincheol to the floor and kicked him viciously, indifferent to the potential consequences. Mincheol's friends, alarmed, rushed to intervene. They pleaded with Hyunjin to stop, but he refused, his eyes blazing with a newfound determination. Miho, one of Mincheol's closest allies, recognized the fierce resolve in Hyunjin's expression and felt a flicker of fear. Changsuk, the group's strongest member, stepped forward, declaring he would end this once and for all. Just as he was about to attack, a student shouted that a teacher was approaching. Mincheol, battered and bewildered, ordered his gang to disperse, promising retribution later. He stumbled to his feet, trying to process what had just happened. He remembered Hyunjin's initial punch, but the rest was a blur of pain and fury. Hyunjin, usually the reserved class president, had never posed a threat before. But now, he had crossed a line, and Mincheol vowed to make him pay. As the teacher entered the classroom, Mincheol and his friends seethed with anger and humiliation. They knew they had to act quickly to reassert their dominance. When the class ended, Mincheol sprang to his feet, eager for revenge. But Hyunjin was ready. He leaped across the room, delivering a powerful kick that sent Mincheol sprawling to the ground. The classroom erupted once more, the balance of power irrevocably shifted. Hyunjin seized Mincheol by the hair, yanking him up and sneering, "Let's pick up where we left off. You wanted a fight, right?" Confusion and fear flickered across Mincheol's bruised face as he struggled to understand the relentless onslaught. Meanwhile, in a nearby classroom, Changsuk's lesson ended. He and his cronies, anticipating trouble, hurried toward Hyunjin's class. As they approached, they were startled to find a crowd of students gathered outside, murmuring amongst themselves. Pushing through the throng, they were stunned to see Hyunjin still pummeling Mincheol. Changsuk, the most formidable of the group, sprinted toward Hyunjin, who had been bracing himself for this moment. Hyunjin knew that while Mincheol was manageable, Changsuk posed a far greater threat. Yet, this time was different. He had to act decisively. Grabbing a nearby padlock, he swung it at Changsuk's head with all his might. The heavy metal struck Changsuk repeatedly, and Hyunjin coldly remarked, "No matter how much you train, you can't withstand iron." Changsuk, dazed and bleeding, crumpled to the floor. Hyunjin didn't let up. He straddled Cho Youngtaek, next member of gang, and unleashed a barrage of punches until his adversary lay unconscious. With Cho Youngtaek out of the picture, Hyunjin turned his attention to Miho, the last of the trio. Miho was visibly terrified, his eyes wide with fear. Hyunjin advanced on Miho, who trembled, clearly shaken by the sight of his fallen friends. "Ready to finish what we started?" Hyunjin asked, his voice cold and steady. Miho's hands quivered, and just as he was about to swing, the classroom door burst open. A teacher stormed in, demanding they stop. Miho, anticipating severe punishment, pleaded with the teacher. He feared that the school would hold him accountable for the fight, given the brutality of the injuries inflicted on Mincheol and Changsuk. The teacher, glaring at Hyunjin, took him to the office, berating him along the way. "Do you realize what you've done? Some of them are in the hospital with severe injuries. This is a major issue for the school," the teacher scolded. Hyunjin, defiant, met the teacher's gaze. "This isn't the first violent incident at this school. You need to handle it discreetly," he replied. The teacher's face turned red with anger, and he slapped Hyunjin hard across the face. Hyunjin's mind flashed back to the root of his suffering, not just the bullies, but the cowardly adults complicit in the abuse. Hyunjin then leaned in, his voice low but firm. "You'd better back off. I know about the bribes you've been taking from parents. And I know about your affair with the English teacher. If you push this, I'll make sure everyone else knows too." 10 years earlier, Hyunjin had hoped the teachers would help him when he first reported the bullying. Instead, the teachers had called everyone to the office, only for Miho to dismiss it as a joke, claiming Hyunjin had misunderstood. The matter was swept under the rug, and the bullies had walked away unpunished. As they left the office that day, Miho had threatened him, promising to teach him a lesson. They dragged Hyunjin outside the school, and Miho started to beat him mercilessly. At that moment, Hyunjin's hatred for his teacher grew, cursing him for not intervening or investigating the situation. His teacher, Mr. Kim, had appeared during the assault, witnessing the brutal scene. Hyunjin had hoped Mr. Kim would finally grasp the severity of the bullying and take action. However, Mr. Kim remained silent, his face a mask of indifference. Later, Hyunjin learned the truth. Mr. Kim had been accepting bribes from parents, including Miho's, and turning a blind eye to the bullying. One day, Hyunjin's anger boiled over, and he punched Miho in the face. Miho's parents, influential and wealthy, quickly intervened, demanding the principal expel Hyunjin. His grandmother had to apologize profusely on his behalf, making Hyunjin realize the depth of his helplessness in a system where power and money held sway. Even the school's violence committee merely punished him, leaving the real perpetrators unscathed. After falling into a coma, Hyunjin understood that revenge couldn't be achieved through brute strength alone. He needed to navigate the complexities of adult corruption and complicity. Back in the present, he confronted Mr. Kim, blackmailing him with the knowledge of his corruption and affair with the English teacher, who was a mother of 3. Fearful, Mr. Kim asked what Hyunjin wanted. Hyunjin demanded that he continue his corrupt ways but stay out of Hyunjin's matters. Mr. Kim, realizing the precariousness of his situation, agreed reluctantly. Hyunjin knew Mr. Kim was just the first step in his plan and began preparing his next move. Meanwhile, Miho was seething with rage, vowing to kill Hyunjin. He was confident Mr. Kim would back him, at least enough to get Hyunjin expelled. Later, Hyunjin re-entered the classroom and challenged Miho openly. He punched Miho so hard that he fell from his chair to the floor. Hyunjin jumped on him, kicking his face relentlessly while Miho begged for mercy and called for help. The other students watched in stunned silence, paralyzed by fear. Mr. Kim observed from the window, hesitant to intervene. Hyunjin leaned down, whispering to Miho that no one would help him, emphasizing the school's apathy and corruption. Mr. Kim's mind raced as he watched the brutal scene unfold. He thought about the earlier incident where 3 students had been hospitalized. He knew the school administration would want to avoid further escalation, yet he also understood the power Miho's wealthy parents wielded. They owned multiple residential complexes and were prominent figures in Daeseon, providing substantial financial support to the school. Mr. Kim realized that failing to handle the situation delicately could result in severe backlash from these influential parents. The school's recent renovation, funded largely through donations from Miho's parents, loomed large in Mr. Kim's mind. His own acceptance of their money added to his anxiety. If they turned against him, even his usual methods of manipulation wouldn't protect him. Desperate to find a way to separate Miho from the growing scandal, he hurried to the classroom. His heart sank when he saw Hyunjin already beating Miho savagely. Quietly, he backed away, knowing that his affair with the English teacher, if exposed, would end his career. Inside the classroom, Hyunjin continued his assault on Miho, finally tiring and sitting on a desk, surveying the damage. He understood that as long as he didn't target Miho, he could manage the fallout. But if he had chosen to avoid conflict, he would never have punched Mincheol upon returning. After enduring years as a vegetative patient, his desire for intense revenge consumed him. As expected, the news of the fight spread quickly. 3 students were hospitalized, and the principal was adamant about punishing Hyunjin. The witnesses' accounts made it impossible to cover up the incident. The principal, fearing backlash from Miho's influential parents, convened a meeting with the student committee. He insisted that Hyunjin be severely punished. Min Young, the English teacher, supported the principal, advocating for Hyunjin's expulsion. However, Mr. Kim defended Hyunjin, pointing out that Mincheol's gang had a history of bullying. He argued that Hyunjin had been a victim before becoming a perpetrator and that punishing him harshly would be unjust. Nonetheless, the principal remained resolute, knowing that appeasing Miho's parents was crucial. The decision was made to suspend Hyunjin until a review committee could convene in a week to determine his punishment. As Hyunjin left the principal's office, Mr. Kim followed, whispering that he had done his best. Hyunjin threatened him, warning that he would reveal his secrets after graduation. Back in his classroom, Hyunjin gathered his belongings, ready to execute the next phase of his plan. As he walked home, he reflected on the familiar alleyways, finally feeling a sense of purpose. He arrived at his shabby villa, number 0, the house bought with his parents' death insurance. Grateful for the roof over his head, he called his grandmother, remembering she would be at work. With no time for sentimentality, Hyunjin set his sights on his next steps. He planned to dismantle the power structures of his tormentors and build his own foundation within 2 years. To do this, he identified 3 essential conditions. First, he needed to recruit a loyal team to take down the violent perpetrators. Second, he required allies who shared his goals, even the best plan would fail without the means to execute it. Finally, he needed experience and a solid background to ensure nothing could obstruct his path. Meanwhile, across town, Chang Boeum, the eldest son of Myeongjin Constructions, was causing a scene at the police station. His loud threats and attempts to bribe the officers underscored his dangerous reputation. The police, wary of provoking a powerful figure in Dacian, knew they had to tread carefully. Faced with the undeniable evidence of his actions, the police had no choice but to follow protocol. Chang Boeum had been involved in a fight, leading to his detention. He quickly realized the gravity of his mistake, especially given the ongoing succession race within his family. His father had recently announced that either he or his younger brother would take over the family business. Chang, with only a high school diploma, was at a disadvantage compared to his younger brother, who had graduated from a prestigious university and was married to a prominent woman in Dacian. This had allowed his brother to secure a strong position in the succession race. As the officer reprimanded Chang for attacking innocent people, the situation seemed bleak. Just then, Hyunjin arrived, stating that he was there to testify on Chang's behalf. He requested to meet with the appropriate authorities and produced a video showing that the bystanders had initiated the altercation while Chang had merely been passing by. Hyunjin explained that he had witnessed the incident and had obtained footage from a nearby parked car's dashcam. The video clearly showed Chang attempting to avoid the confrontation, only defending himself when provoked. Chang, relieved and impressed by Hyunjin's intervention, praised him for revealing the truth. The officer, concluding the investigation, released Chang, cautioning that the matter might require further review. Chang, grateful for Hyunjin's help, threatened the officer to remember his face and maintain peace. Outside the station, Chang thanked Hyunjin profusely and offered him a substantial reward, which Hyunjin accepted without hesitation. Chang noted Hyunjin's unusual confidence and lack of hesitation in accepting such a large sum. Hyunjin then posed a provocative question, asking if Chang thought the incident was a mere coincidence given the timing of the succession race. He suggested it was orchestrated and offered to provide proof. Intrigued, Chang listened as Hyunjin showed him the full dashcam footage, revealing that the attackers had been loitering suspiciously for half an hour before Chang's arrival. As soon as Chang appeared, they instigated the fight, suggesting a deliberate setup. Chang, initially reluctant to suspect his younger brother, couldn't ignore the evidence. Hyunjin's assertion that Suk, Chang's brother, was behind the scheme to tarnish Chang's reputation struck a chord. Hyunjin's detailed explanation and the video evidence painted a clear picture of the conspiracy. Reflecting on the past, Chang recalled how Suk had always been the instigator of their familial conflicts. This new revelation led to a dramatic confrontation between the brothers. Chang, in a fit of rage, confronted Suk, resulting in a physical altercation that left Suk permanently disabled. Their father, enraged by the brothers' incompetence, declared neither of them fit to inherit the family business. The incident became a scandal, with the public mocking the brothers and their feud. Memes and posts circulated online. But that only happened in previous timeline. And because of that, Hyunjin was able to know where and when he should approach Chang. He knew that exacting revenge required not just strength but strategic alliances and a clear understanding of the power dynamics at play. With the first phase of his plan complete, he prepared to take the next steps toward dismantling the corrupt structures that had once controlled his life. After that pivotal incident, the chairman decided to hire a professional manager, which led Myunjin Construction to ascend to the ranks of conglomerates. The eldest son, Chang, was not inherently evil but was seen as incompetent, characterized by a typical laid-back temperament. In contrast, the second son, Suk, was a vicious and cunning individual. Hyunjin saw an opportunity to leverage these traits to his advantage. Hyunjin approached Chang with an offer to help him take revenge on his younger brother and become the chairman of Myunjin Construction. Chang found this proposition absurd, especially coming from a high school student. However, Hyunjin shocked him by revealing that Suk's informants surrounded him, even among his closest aides. Chang, bewildered by this revelation, left the cafe, deep in thought. As he stood outside, a man asked him not to smoke, to which Chang reacted angrily, threatening to destroy the man's cafe. Hyunjin watched from a distance, noting Chang's reckless behavior. Born as the eldest son of Myunjin Construction, Chang had always been a time bomb in Daesan, known for his unpredictable and destructive nature. Despite this, Hyunjin saw him as a perfect pawn in his plan. Chang reflected on Hyunjin's words. He realized that his brother Suk was superior in almost every aspect and that his chances of becoming the successor were dwindling. Desperation led him to reconsider Hyunjin's offer. He decided to hear out the young man's plan before making a final decision. Hyunjin explained his strategy. He acknowledged that Suk surpassed Chang in every measurable way. However, he pointed out that their father, the chairman, had initiated the succession race because he still believed the eldest son had a desire to lead. Hyunjin's plan was simple: what if Suk, despite his superiority, were to fall to the bottom, where Chang currently stood? Meanwhile, Suk was enraged upon learning that his plan had failed. He blamed his father's outdated thinking. Just then, he received a call from his secretary informing him that his wife had broken into Han Sung's office, where his girlfriend was present. Rushing to the scene, Suk was horrified to find his wife there, having already attacked his girlfriend. Back at the cafe, Hyunjin outlined 3 critical factors to win the succession war: background, reputation, and ability. He bluntly told Chang that he had already lost in terms of background and reputation. While Chang had been indulging in a life of luxury, Suk had proven his worth through various accomplishments. Hyunjin's plan to reclaim these 3 things began with the first: background. To achieve this, they needed to separate Suk from his wife. This strategy would destabilize Suk's foundation and create a scandal that would tarnish his reputation, thereby leveling the playing field for Chang. As Hyunjin detailed the plan, Chang realized the depth of the young man's insight and strategy. Despite his initial skepticism, Chang began to see the potential in Hyunjin's plan. The first step was to expose the cracks in Suk's seemingly perfect life, starting with his marriage. Later, they both visit the chairman's office. Suk apologizes for his actions but still harbors some anger. His father already contacted his in-laws. During the call, Chairman told his father-in-law that he will handle things to prevent the situation from escalating into a divorce. Meanwhile, his wife chooses to distance herself for a while. In a heated moment, Chairman angrily confronts his son, berating him for his behavior. He yells that if he wanted to play around with girls, he should have done so while he was single, like his brother Chang. He demands an explanation for Chang's frequent visits to the police station, and Chang, now remorseful, apologizes and promises to be more careful in the future. He bows deeply, assuring that he will be more mindful of his actions and his position moving forward. The chairman, surprisingly, becomes lenient, acknowledging that it was the others who instigated the fight and praising Chang for trying to avoid conflict. He pats Chang on the shoulder, expressing pride in his efforts to handle the situation. In the meantime, Suk vows to find and punish the person who informed his wife about the hotel incident. On the other hand, Chang feels elated that his strict father has finally recognized and praised him. He sees Hyunjin, thanks him for his strategic advice, and eagerly asks what steps he should take to become the chairman. Hyunjin cautions him not to get too excited, reminding him that they have only won the first round and brought Suk back to square one. To truly become chairman, Chang must win 2 more critical battles. Hyunjin advises him to start at the company as a minor employee to learn the ropes and promises to reveal the full plan when the time is right. He also mentions that their alliance is based on a quid pro quo, and Chang must grant him a favor in return. Curious, Chang inquires about Hyunjin's wish, asserting that he is ready to do anything for him. Hyunjin then shares his desire. Meanwhile, Miho's mother is furious and slaps Youngchul, accusing him of using flimsy excuses for not expelling the student who hit her son. She orders him to take action. Youngchul, worried, reflects on his earlier request for Hyunjin to humbly accept his mistakes to mitigate punishment. However, Hyunjin warns him to think strategically, threatening to expose Youngchul's hush money and extramarital affair, which would ruin them both. As the meeting day approaches, Miho's mother pressures the principal to expel Hyunjin. Youngchul, under immense stress, contemplates his next move. During the meeting, the committee advisor demands to know what exactly transpired. Youngchul rises and explains that Miho and his group have been bullying their classmates. He recalls seeing Chang, who is now Hyunjin's legal guardian, in the red light district and wonders how he assumed this role. Recognizing this as a chance to switch allegiances, Youngchul declares that it's absurd for the attacker to be treated as the victim. The principal seeks clarity to avoid misunderstandings, prompting Youngchul to recount multiple reports of Miho's group harassing students. Initially, Youngchul had scolded them, but the harassment intensified over time. A few days ago, Miho bullied Youngmin, and Hyunjin intervened to protect him. Despite this, the principal insists that regardless of the reasons, violence cannot be justified, especially since it led to 3 students being hospitalized for the first time in the school's history. To prevent such incidents in the future, they must thoroughly investigate and appropriately punish the responsible student. The deliberation begins with the committee hearing from student Miho about the incident. Miho recounts that he saw Hyunjin assaulting Minchul, who was already on the ground, and insists that other students witnessed Hyunjin starting the fight. He requests the principal to summon another witness to support his claim. Miho's mother rises and passionately urges everyone to look at her son's injuries, arguing that such violence is intolerable and could affect other students as well. The other parents present nod in agreement, expressing that no justification exists for such brutality, and demand that the principal take strict action against Hyunjin. In the meantime, at the hospital, others speculate that Hyunjin is likely to be punished due to Miho's mother's influence. Minchul, now more determined than ever, plans to make Hyunjin's life miserable until he breaks down and begs for mercy. Sensing the situation's urgency, Chang intervenes and asserts that it's time to uncover the truth about that day. He accuses Miho of being a malicious instigator who orchestrated the entire incident. Chang reveals that he has personally investigated Minchul's group and found that they have been involved in bullying, theft, and other misconduct. He challenges the principal, questioning why the school is covering up these issues and hinting at possible bribery from the parents. Chang continues, arguing that the root cause of the problem must be addressed. He asks if the parents and teachers would stand idly by if their own children were being assaulted. Miho's mother, furious, demands to know who Chang is, having heard that Hyunjin has no parents. Chang introduces himself as Hyunjin's guardian and the eldest son of Myunjin Construction Company. He emphasizes that Hyunjin is like a younger brother to him, and he dropped everything to attend the hearing when he learned of it. Chang then announces his intention to sponsor the school under Myunjin Construction's name, but retracts his offer, citing the school's corruption and poor management. He insists that schools should instill moral and just values, questioning why a student who defended a classmate is being punished. The parents and the principal are taken aback by Chang's status and his connection to Hyunjin. The principal is caught in a dilemma, realizing that siding with Miho could jeopardize any potential relationship with Myunjin Construction and might even lead to his expulsion from the city. However, siding with Hyunjin would mean severing ties with Miho. Ultimately, the principal shifts his stance, acknowledging reports of bullying since the beginning of the school year, with Miho as the ringleader. He labels Miho a perpetrator and praises Hyunjin as one of the school's top students, insisting that there must be a valid reason for his actions. He then suggests hearing Hyunjin's side of the story. Hyunjin, relieved that his side is finally being considered, reflects on his past experiences where his pleas were ignored, leading to his tragic fate. He recounts how he repeatedly informed teachers about Minchul's group's bullying, only to be dismissed with claims that Minchul wouldn't engage in such behavior. He questions why he is being scrutinized not just for a single act of self-defense, but because adults perceive him as powerless. He demands that the bullies be punished first, threatening to expose the incident publicly if no action is taken, which would tarnish the reputation of Chanil High School and bring disgrace to Daesun. He insists that only severe punishment will silence him. Miho's mother, defiant, declares that she will never allow her son to be held accountable. She calls her husband, informing him that the principal and teachers are unjustly blaming Miho due to pressure from Myunjin Construction's eldest son. Her husband, shocked to learn of Chang's involvement, urges her to return home immediately, warning that Chang has the power to ruin their family. In the end, the committee decides that Hyunjin will complete 100 hours of volunteer work as a penalty for his involvement in the altercation. Meanwhile, Miho and 3 other students are expelled from the school. Enraged, Miho charges at Hyunjin, but his mother intercepts him. Hyunjin then commands Miho to get on his knees and beg for forgiveness. Confused and defiant, Miho questions why he should kneel since he's already been expelled. Hyunjin directs him to ask his mother for guidance. She, in turn, instructs Miho to kneel, and with reluctance, Miho bows before Hyunjin, pleading for forgiveness. However, Hyunjin coldly remarks that this act of submission brings him no satisfaction and ominously tells Miho to pray for his future, which will be filled with misery. That night, while Hyunjin is at home, he receives messages from Minchul, who urgently requests a meeting, claiming to have something important to share. Hyunjin agrees to meet him. Upon arrival, Minchul expresses his gratitude, but Hyunjin cuts him off, urging him to get to the point. Minchul confesses that the bullying and violence were entirely his fault and acknowledges the pain he has caused other students. After spending a week in the hospital, he accepts the committee's decision and vows to change his behavior, pleading with Hyunjin to overlook this incident just once. He explains that the teacher mentioned Hyunjin's agreement could save them from expulsion, which would otherwise ruin their lives. Minchul then reveals that they were acting on orders from someone else. Hyunjin, already aware of this, recalls a time from his past when a bullied student, similar to him, committed suicide, leaving behind a note exposing the truth. He knows that the Golden Circle, an organization rooted in prestigious schools in Gangnam, orchestrates such acts. The founder of the Golden Circle, seeing the potential profit in school violence, recruited bullies and aligned with wealthy students' parents, offering protection in exchange for money. This system ensured that the students under their control excelled academically, while rivals were systematically eliminated. In the future Hyunjin envisioned, the outer members of the Golden Circle were eventually exposed, but the case was swiftly buried. To exact his revenge on those who condemned him to a living hell, Hyunjin realizes he must dismantle the Golden Circle entirely. He presses Minchul for details about the organization's operations in Seoul and Gyeonggi. Minchul discloses that Yangmin, a senior bully at their school, is involved but stops short of confirming his membership in the Golden Circle. Despite this, Yangmin's connection to the organization is undeniable, although extracting information from him will be challenging due to his strength and influence. Hyunjin then asks Minchul if he truly desires forgiveness but warns him that he will demonstrate the consequences each time they meet. He slaps Minchul across the face, reflecting on his past life where he was an ignorant father, oblivious to the suffering of others. Despite their successes, he was stunned by their prosperous lives. Now, with karma at play, he vows to inflict lasting trauma on those who wronged him, ensuring they suffer for the rest of their lives. The following day, the atmosphere at school is tense. Students whisper about Hyunjin, now branded a villain. Silence falls as he enters the classroom, everyone wary of his presence. Hyunjin sits at his desk when Jangmin approaches him, thanking him for his actions and offering to help him with anything he needs. Hyunjin, unimpressed, asks why Jangmin is showing gratitude now when he was too scared to testify before. He makes it clear that he no longer cares about what happens to Jangmin. Elsewhere, a student asks Yangmin about their next steps now that the Minchul gang has been expelled, noting that their plan has been ruined. Moreover, they can't touch Hyunjin because he is backed by the first son of Myungjin Construction. Yangmin, unfazed, says they can still make a lot of money by taking control of the high school. Hyunjin, meanwhile, is strategizing. He knows that to dismantle the Golden Circle, he must excel academically. Their targets are the top-performing students, and if he consistently achieves the best grades, the Golden Circle will be forced to act against him. This will make him a thorn in their side, as he had high grades in middle school. After school, Hyunjin heads to Yangda Kayal's academy, Korea's first-ever MMA fighter to become the UFL world champion. He tells Kyle that he wants to register and become proficient in fighting. At the same time, Yangmin contacts a student named Jin Woo, who was previously in a wrestling academy, and asks him to incapacitate Hyunjin permanently. At the gym, the owner, Du-chu, tells Hyunjin that he has come to the right place and assures him that he will meet his requirements. Hyunjin recognizes Du-chu despite his mustache, knowing he is the former UFL champion, Yangdu Kyle. When asked why he wants to join the gym, Hyunjin explains that he wants to become strong enough to defeat bullies. Du-chu, however, discourages this motivation, stating that the gym is not a place to learn to fight for revenge. He suggests Hyunjin work out to avoid being bullied but refuses to accept him under his current mindset. Hyunjin reflects on Du-chu's past. As Korea's first UFL champion, Du-chu could have lived a prosperous life based on his fame alone, but his career ended abruptly when he was found to have used anabolic steroids. Despite this, Hyunjin believes in Du-chu's talent, as he had once transformed an untalented fighter into a champion. Hyunjin offers Du-chu 100 million won, aware that Du-chu needs money. He promises to transfer the money within a day if Du-chu agrees to train him, paying in advance so that Du-chu won't lose anything even if Hyunjin quits. Hyunjin is fully aware of the risks, including potential disability or imprisonment, but he is determined. Du-chu agrees to teach him, emphasizing that he will not allow Hyunjin to use drugs, as he has already made that mistake himself. He then challenges Hyunjin to endure one round in the ring with him to prove his determination. If Hyunjin can last the round, Du-chu will accept the offer. That night, when Hyunjin returns home, his grandmother is shocked to see his battered condition and asks what happened. A few hours earlier, he had faced Du-chu in the ring, tasked with enduring one 3-minute round. Hyunjin had stepped forward, landing a punch on Du-chu's face, but was swiftly knocked to the ground with a blow to his nose. Du-chu tells Hyunjin to stand up, reminding him that only 10 seconds have passed and there are still 2 minutes and 50 seconds left. Hyunjin rises again, but Du-chu launches a flurry of attacks. Hyunjin tries to block, but Du-chu's speed and power are overwhelming. After a series of punches and kicks, Hyunjin is knocked down once more. Du-chu commands him to get up again, and Hyunjin complies, knowing he must endure to prove himself. As he takes more blows, Hyunjin realizes his stamina is waning rapidly. He resolves to muster any momentum he can. Du-chu, thinking he went easy on Hyunjin to ensure his wounds heal quickly, is ready to call it a day. But Hyunjin, bruised and bloodied, insists he can continue fighting. Surprised by his resilience, Du-chu agrees to continue but warns that he won't hold back. Du-chu attacks with full force, but despite the onslaught, Hyunjin keeps getting up. Du-chu is moved by his determination, understanding the desperation driving him. He knows he can't allow Hyunjin to follow a path of regret similar to his own. With a final punch, finally, the 3 minutes end. Du-chu tells Hyunjin to go to the hospital and not to reveal who injured him. He gives Hyunjin his bank account number for the money transfer. Reflecting on his own situation, Du-chu remembers a recent offer from a broker representing a new MMA association. They proposed a lucrative deal, contingent on his use of performance-enhancing drugs and participation in their tournament. Had Hyunjin not come through with the money, Du-chu might have accepted the deal. Instead, he texts the broker to decline. Hyunjin, back home, tells his grandmother he got into a fight with some kids at school and inquires about their housing subscription savings account. He suggests investing the money in a Myeonjin construction apartment program, hoping they might secure a deal. His grandmother agrees, relieved that she won't need to question the source of the money, which Hyunjin had intended to give her outright. The next day, Yangmin praises Jin Woo, mistakenly believing he is responsible for Hyunjin's condition. Yangmin tells Jin Woo to spread the word that they are close and plan to hang out after school. Jin Woo, seeing an opportunity, agrees, though he's confused. He heads to Hyunjin's class to assess the situation and is shocked by Hyunjin's battered appearance. Jin Woo concludes that Hyunjin must have been beaten outside of school for his arrogance. Yangmin, believing Jin Woo's supposed actions, thinks Hyunjin is not as strong as he seemed. He plans to beat Hyunjin next time and warns the other students to avoid him. After school, Hyunjin heads to the gym where Du-chu instructs him to work out for 2 hours. Du-chu sets a strict condition: if Hyunjin can't endure this, he will not teach him further. Understanding that to defeat Yangmin, who has trained for years, he must endure this physical training without faltering, Hyunjin accepts the challenge. Moreover, Yangmin is not his ultimate target. Hyunjin aims to expose the elusive golden circle hiding behind him. Du-chu, surprised by Hyunjin's stamina, wonders about his true purpose. Recognizing the boy's potential, Du-chu decides to try a different training method. He tells Hyunjin that he has always sought to excel without illegal practices, so even if his career ends, his students will succeed. From now on, he will apply the results of his research to Hyunjin's training, promising that if Hyunjin can keep up, he will become strong enough to make anyone kneel. A week later, Kim Siwoo, a classmate, approaches Hyunjin. Siwoo expresses his discomfort with how the other students are ignoring Hyunjin and declares he doesn't want to be like them. He reveals that Jinwoo has been threatening all the students, forbidding them from talking to Hyunjin, and even threatening to kill anyone who tries to get close to him. Despite the danger, Siwoo refuses to ignore his friend being bullied, even if it means he might get beaten. This moment stirs a memory in Hyunjin of Siwoo from his past life. Back then, after learning Hyunjin was being bullied, Siwoo stood up for him, distancing himself from Mincheol's group. As a result, Siwoo became the target of their teasing. One day, when Hyunjin was a patient, Siwoo apologized for not protecting him, admitting he was scared of getting beaten during every break. In the present, Hyunjin coldly asks Siwoo not to act like they are close, insisting he can handle his own problems. Siwoo responds that he will do what he wants and will never let Hyunjin be alone. Despite Hyunjin's harsh words, Siwoo leaves, determined to help his friend. After class, Hyunjin finds himself unconsciously waiting for Siwoo. He overhears students talking about Siwoo being taken by Jinwoo for a beating. Alarmed, he rushes to the scene. Meanwhile, Jinwoo confronts Siwoo, demanding to know why he spoke to Hyunjin after being warned not to. Siwoo defiantly questions why he should listen to Jinwoo and asserts his right to choose his friends, declaring that he won't abandon Hyunjin. Siwoo immediately kicks Jinwoo in the face, causing him to fall. Jinwoo instructs his friends to attack Siwoo. They move to attack but Siwoo kicks one in the face and then a punch to other one. Despite their efforts, Siwoo gets punched and worries about Hyunjin, thinking that he won't abandon Hyunjin. Jinwoo, now enraged, steps forward and punches Siwoo, taunting him about his martial arts skills. He then starts beating Siwoo brutally while the other students watch in silence. Jinwoo declares that he will continue beating Siwoo during breaks, lunch, and after school. Exactly then, Hyunjin arrives. He realizes that to confront Jinwoo, he needs a strategy. Recognizing that Jinwoo relies on his size, Hyunjin decides to taunt him about his weight, calling him fat and accusing him of needing others to fight for him. Jinwoo's friends warn Hyunjin to back down, saying he will end up crippled like Siwoo. But Hyunjin remains defiant, ready to stand his ground against Jinwoo. Jinwoo orders his friends to stand back, saying he'll handle Hyunjin himself. Charging at Hyunjin recklessly, Jinwoo is shocked when Hyunjin punches him back. Angered and frustrated, Jinwoo attacks again without thinking, giving Hyunjin the opportunity to exploit his blind aggression. Utilizing the techniques he learned from Duchu, Hyunjin lands precise blows to Jinwoo's face and stomach, quickly taking him down. Despite Jinwoo's fall, Hyunjin continues to beat him relentlessly, causing the onlookers to worry that Jinwoo might be seriously injured. Desperate, Jinwoo begs for mercy and apologizes for his earlier rudeness. However, when Jinwoo tries to muster the strength for another attack, he confesses that he acted on Yeoman's orders, feeling he had no choice, and promises not to harm Hyunjin or Siwoo again. Hyunjin warns Jinwoo and his friends never to touch Siwoo again, threatening to hunt them down if they do. He then escorts Siwoo to the infirmary, advising him to stay out of his affairs to avoid further trouble. Siwoo, however, insists that he will continue to stand by Hyunjin, asserting that their friendship is unbreakable and he won't abandon him, even if it means facing more danger. Hyunjin, determined to dismantle the gang that has been tormenting them, tells Siwoo that he cannot share his plans and urges him to stay away to avoid further harm. In the other class, Yangmin receives news of a salary increase and revels in the thought of earning millions of won for harassing students. Meanwhile, Hyunjin tracks down Yangmin and confronts him. As he launches his attack, Yangmin tries to dodge, questioning who Hyunjin is. Noticing Hyunjin's fighting skills but recognizing the lack of power and predictability in his attacks, Yangmin tries to strike back. Hyunjin introduces himself and reveals that he is one Yangmin has been looking for. When Hyunjin attempts to hit Yangmin with a chair, Yangmin catches his hand and punched him in the stomach, Hyunjin finding it bearable compared to Duchu's training. Realizing he cannot defeat Yangmin in a straightforward fight, Hyunjin aims to prove himself, prepared to risk everything. He uses a leg lift to push Yangmin back and dangles him out of a window, threatening to end him. Terrified, Yangmin asks what Hyunjin wants. Hyunjin declares his intent to finish things once and for all. Other students arrive and pull Hyunjin away from the window, but he continues to shout threats at Yangmin, vowing that the conflict will not end until Yangmin is dead. 30 minutes later, an urgent announcement over the school's PA system calls several students to the principal's office, indicating that the situation has escalated to a critical level. Yangchul arrived at the scene, eyes widening at the sight of the bloodshed caused by Yangmin. The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on him as he pondered how he might explain this to the principal in a way that would protect Hyunjin. To his astonishment, the principal instructed him to ignore the incident entirely. The principal elaborated, mentioning the recent developments with the Myeongjin Construction Company. Their eldest son, Chang, had unexpectedly gained significant influence and popularity. Chang had announced his intention to sponsor a substantial portion of the school's operating expenses. Furthermore, he pledged to dramatically increase the support if he were to become chairman. The principal emphasized that sponsorships were rarely acts of pure goodwill. They were typically driven by underlying motives. Chang's sponsorship was no exception. The principal revealed that Chang's condition for this generous sponsorship was that the school must protect Hyunjin at all costs. No matter what trouble Hyunjin caused, it was to be covered up. He tasked Yangchul with managing this, citing his proficiency in such matters. In return for his cooperation, the principal promised Yangchul various perks and privileges, including priority access to performance rewards and special benefits. He also mentioned that Chang had reserved a few units in an upcoming Myeongjin construction housing project. This would allow Yangchul to secure an apartment separate from his wife, providing him the discretion he needed for his personal affairs. The principal stressed that their primary responsibility was to shield Hyunjin from any repercussions. Yangchul, seeing the advantages for himself, eagerly agreed, vowing to dedicate himself to the principal's plan. The principal, acknowledging Yangchul's commitment, suggested that they address each other as brothers, indicating their shared interests and mutual support. Yangchul, grasping the principal's hand, promised to help elevate the school's prestige to unprecedented heights, ensuring that the principal would be celebrated as a legend in Daesun's future. The principal added that as long as Hyunjin graduated without any issues, the school would have the powerful backing of Myeongjin Construction, making their efforts all the more crucial. Their conversation was abruptly interrupted by the arrival of a staff member who reported that Hyunjin had been attacked, leaving both men in shock. They immediately summoned Yangmin for questioning. Despite Yangmin's insistence that he was innocent and that Hyunjin had initiated the altercation, the principal harshly reprimanded him for assaulting a student 2 years his junior. Yangchul continued the rebuke, pointing out that they had been monitoring Yangmin's behavior, noting his tendency to bully others whenever the opportunity arose. Shin Yangmin, fed up with the situation, screamed in frustration. "I almost fell off the building and died. There are witnesses," he shouted. Chul crouched down to Yangmin's level and responded calmly, "There are always witnesses. The issue is whether people believe them. Let's go outside and grab someone. Ask them who they think is at fault, an ordinary student or someone like you." Shin cursed in anger, prompting Chul to grab him by the clothes. "Watch your mouth," Chul warned. "If you don't admit to this, you'll face serious punishment." Looking at the two adults in front of him, Yangmin saw they were just as corrupt as he was. Realizing that messing with Hyunjin was a mistake, he finally apologized. As he walked away, he thought to himself that with graduation approaching, he couldn't let this incident ruin his future. He decided he had no choice but to seek help from outside, even if it cost him some money. In a car, someone remarked, "The situation is pretty bad. It's not unusual to use one's background, but how did Myeongjin Construction get involved? All the students who tried to harass the target were expelled, and even the teacher is protecting him." The broker, Kang Tae-gu, realized he had no choice but to handle the mission himself, as the Golden Circle didn't tolerate any mistakes. He drove to meet the principal, insisting that Shin was punished unjustly. The principal denied any wrongdoing. Tae-gu, thinking the principal would break under pressure, brought up a past incident where 4 students were sent to the hospital, but the attacker received a light punishment. He suggested that perhaps Hyunjin was receiving special treatment. "If that's the case, I won't let this go easily," Tae-gu warned. The principal laughed. "When in Daesun, do as the people of Daesun do. We didn't escalate this to a criminal case because we care about our students' futures. We've already discussed this with the police, so do what you must." Tae-gu threatened once more, but the principal remained unfazed. "I don't know what you plan to do, but threats won't work here." Frustrated, Tae-gu went to the police, but they sided with the school. The officer explained that the case was deemed self-defense, and punishing Hyunjin would also mean taking action against Shin. Tae-gu, enraged, smashed the table. "If you don't take this seriously, I'll make sure everyone hears about it online," he threatened. The policeman sighed, saying, "This is Daesun. Whether you publish it or not, it won't make a difference. People will forget about it in few days of vacation. Taegu was shocked, wondering what had happened to this town. He called a contact, who explained that the chief of police was very close with the principal. In a town like this, everyone knows each other. They're all probably keeping quiet, the contact added. Taegu finally understood. The principal's confidence stemmed from his trust in the local cartel. The problem with local cartels was that while intervention might be possible if it were a matter of personal interest, local sentiment, an ingrained territorial mindset, kept outsiders from interfering in local affairs. Taegu realized this was why people avoided taking jobs in rural areas, preferring to stay in Seoul. He knew he couldn't afford to fail this mission. The Golden Circle had never failed a single request, and their reputation depended on this flawless record. If he failed, another broker would be sent to complete the job, and his own life would be ruined in an instant. The Golden Circle was unforgiving. Taegu knew he needed to calm down and think strategically. He called Yangmin, explaining that he couldn't help him directly because of the Golden Circle's involvement. Instead of fighting Hyunjin, find a way to bring down his grades by any means necessary, he advised. He warned Yangmin that failure would mean punishment not just for Hyunjin, but for him as well. Yangmin ended the call, bewildered about how to accomplish this. Suddenly, Hyunjin appeared behind him and struck him on the head. The next day, Yangmin heard his classmates talking about his fight with Hyunjin the previous day. They said he had lost, and Hyunjin had walked away unscathed. In reality, Yangmin had tried to attack, but Hyunjin had warned him, saying, "The request must be more important than your life." This had made Yangmin hesitate. Hyunjin then revealed that he knew about the broker's visit to the principal, making the situation clear. Hyunjin warned Yangmin that messing with him wouldn't just lead to expulsion. He would drag Yangmin to criminal court, ensuring he was convicted for his actions. After jail, Myeongjin Construction would make sure Yangmin could never live peacefully in Daesun again. Hyunjin added that to live a normal life, Yangmin would have to leave his hometown, but even that might not stop him. Terrified, Yangmin asked what Hyunjin wanted. "Justice," he suggested. Hyunjin replied, "I want one thing, to destroy anyone who messes with me." Hyunjin grabbed Yangmin by the shirt, his voice cold. "If you want to live like a human here in Daesan, you need to endure what your victims endured." He then started to beat him, which explained Yangmin's injuries. Yangmin thought he could easily defeat Hyunjin, but Chang and his group posed a bigger problem. If he left Hyunjin alone, the Golden Circle would come after him. And if the rumors were true, he'd wish for expulsion or conviction instead of dealing with them. He slammed his head against the table in frustration, realizing he had no choice. The only thing he could do was wait and hope Hyunjin's grade somehow dropped. Hyunjin saw this threat as temporary. Once exams were over and he scored top marks, the situation would change drastically. Yangmin, who was trying to survive within the Golden Circle, had to succeed at any cost. The requester, unable to see Hyunjin fail, would have to face the reality of his success. Thinking that if he could achieve his goal, nothing else mattered. Whether he used the principle or acted with malice, it didn't matter. Looking at the situation, everything was going as planned. No one could touch him for the rest of his school life. This malevolent barrier gave Hyunjin a sense of relief. Later, Hyunjin went to the gym to train. It was clear he had some hidden talent, and even his coach commended him. If it wasn't about the money, the coach would have suggested he try his luck at becoming a pro. As Hyunjin got ready to leave, Sewoo walked into the gym for a scheduled consultation. A few days earlier, when Hyunjin rescued Sewoo noticed how much Hyunjin had changed. It was almost as if he was a completely different person from before. Sewoo shed a tear, remembering what Hyunjin had said to him earlier. What could he do now? Suddenly, a student barged into the infirmary, shouting that Hyunjin was in a fight with Yangmin. This made Sewoo think Hyunjin was still the same friend who always had his back. Sewoo now wanted to show everyone that messing with Hyunjin was a mistake. He got up and looked out the window, thinking that if Hyunjin was willing to go that far for him, he couldn't give up on such a friend. Back in the present, Hyunjin demanded to know what was going on, insisting that Sewoo not be taken away. He even offered to pay whatever was necessary, but the coach dismissed him. The coach believed that having a friend with him would make Hyunjin less likely to get into trouble. Coach grabbed Sewoo by the shoulder and led him into another room, asserting, "It's my decision whether you stay here as a student or not. Your training is done for today, so you can leave." The coach stated that his gym didn't encourage youngsters to fight and therefore couldn't accept him. He added that he would have liked to expel Hyunjin too, but certain circumstances prevented that. Sewoo acknowledged the gym's purpose but insisted the coach look at his wounds, explaining he got them while protecting Hyunjin. He described how severe school bullying was, far worse than most adults could imagine. If Hyunjin hadn't saved him, he would likely be crippled. Se-woo couldn't abandon a friend like that and pleaded with the coach not to force him to join another gym. He believed Hyunjin chose this gym for a reason. Se-woo then handed the coach some money, offering to work part-time if it wasn't enough. The coach slammed his fist on the table, questioning why Se-woo was so desperate at such a young age. Se-woo asserted that, regardless of whether he was accepted into the gym, he planned on standing by Hyunjin's side. The coach reflected on this, recognizing the harsh reality these kids were living in. Could he really tell them that violence was wrong when even their best friends were being bullied? He sighed and conceded, "You can come to the gym tomorrow, but if you can't handle the training, it's over." As Se-woo tried to leave, Hyunjin stopped him, stating that while the coach might have accepted him, he still had to prove himself. "You need to show that you can crawl back from the depths of hell," Hyunjin said. They entered the ring, and Hyunjin reminded Se-woo of his plans, questioning what he hoped to achieve through this constant fighting. "Friendship," he scoffed. "You could end up dead or in prison. Can you really handle that?" Se-woo affirmed that he wanted to help because two were better than one. With that, the fight began. Hyunjin quickly closed the gap, but Se-woo countered with a kick, reminding Hyunjin that he was an athlete. They exchanged a few blows, and Se-woo added that he would have beaten Park in a one-on-one fight. Hyunjin acknowledged that Se-woo was a talented athlete. In the taekwondo scene, he was known as Mr. Specialist and had won numerous gold medals. However, during a tournament, he fought against the son of the Korean Taekwondo Association leader and lost due to an unfair decision by the referee. After that incident, he gave up on the sport. Yet, his determination never wavered. Hyunjin confronted him, asking if he knew about a technique called the kick catch, used in MMA. With a swift move, Hyunjin knocked Se-woo to the ground, urging him to surrender. But instead of giving in, Se-woo thought back to all the times Hyunjin had protected him. This memory sparked a new resolve within him. He tried to hit Hyunjin but missed, and Hyunjin continued his barrage of punches, demanding that Se-woo beg him to stop. Instead of pleading, Se-woo laughed, causing Hyunjin to pause. Hyunjin, puzzled, asked why Se-woo was acting this way. Hadn't he done enough for their friendship already? Se-woo, still chuckling, replied that he couldn't forget the times when he was beaten for doing nothing. But Hyunjin had always been there to help him. So why was Hyunjin doing this now? Se-woo explained that, despite knowing Hyunjin did nothing wrong, he couldn't ignore his own situation. It was his life, and he could make his own decisions. Suddenly, their coach barged into the ring. He demanded that they stop fighting and join him for a workout instead. He bet his life that they could reach the top of the UFL stage. The coach pointed out that both of them had exceptional talent. How could they be getting bullied when they could easily take down a few guys? Se-woo's kicks were incredibly accurate and powerful for his age, while Hyunjin had a keen sense of judgment and could detect gaps in an opponent's defense. The coach offered them a chance to utilize their abilities, emphasizing that it would be a waste not to. He suggested they drop out of school and focus entirely on sports. Despite running a rundown gym, he had connections with many athletes and could truly help them rise to the top. Hyunjin, however, questioned the coach about why he pursued MMA. The coach replied that he did it because it interested him. Hyunjin then admitted that he couldn't follow the same path because fighting brought him so much pain that he wanted to give up at every moment. But he had a purpose to fulfill, and he had to achieve it, no matter what. Hyunjin turned to coach, urging him to think it over. If the coach have different opinion than him, they would abandon the coach's dojo and continue their own way. Hyunjin then walked outside, with Se-woo following him. Se-woo assured Hyunjin that he wouldn't regret sticking with him through this journey. Hyunjin says he won't stop Se-woo anymore, but he has a few conditions. First, Se-woo must train with him every single day. Second, Se-woo should only get involved in matters he can handle. If it's a hopeless fight or a legal issue, he must leave immediately. Third, Myeongjin Construction will provide him with a living wage every month. Lastly, Se-woo must study. Hyunjin hopes that when the time comes to escape this hellish reality, Se-woo can have a much better life than he ever did. Hyunjin believes this is for the best, as he can use this situation to change Se-woo's future as well. When he arrives home, he finds his brother watching his favorite team play. Hyunjin tells him that he will cook for them, so his brother should keep watching the game. Hyunjin reflects on his previous life, remembering how this team made it to the championship game. He never mentioned it at the time, but he must have wanted to watch the game live. His little brother loved games but never once asked for a computer. He was always a sweet, considerate brother who never let on how much he wanted to spend time outside having fun. Thinking of his grandmother, his little brother, and Se-woo, Hyunjin resolves that he will get better and live differently than before. He will tear down anything that gets in his way to ensure that the people precious to him won't have to suffer. Suddenly, he receives a message from the coach, acknowledging that he might have crossed the line by asking Hyunjin to become a pro. However, the coach encourages him to reconsider if he ever changes his mind. A few weeks later, midterms begin. The top 10 students, who have yet to be acknowledged, are given a chance to prove their worth. As the papers are passed around, Hyunjin thinks that if he can't get good grades, his plan will fail. He could have easily gathered evidence and exposed the golden circle, but he is determined to completely destroy it. To bring out the real golden circle, he must become an immovable obstacle in their path. He must continue on this path to crush their disgusting pride and ensure success every time. This moment marks the true beginning of his revenge. In his previous timeline, after the exams, Hyunjin sheds tears. He prepared so hard for this exam and put in so much effort. Despite remembering everything, the emotional weight of his journey hits him. Hyunjin remembers all the correct answers. It dawns on him that he is still mentally stuck in his school days. Even while being bullied, he studied diligently, regretting those days while living in a vegetative state. The memories of his past life are still vivid in his mind, as if they were branded into his brain. And rightly so, he should never forget about them. The desire for revenge has shaped him into who he is today. After all the exams are finished, a girl named Hyaji approaches him. She asks why he isn't grading his own paper. He replies that he doesn't want to and thinks about her. She was quite popular because of her beauty, and she had confessed to him during her first year. He rejected her at the time because he didn't think he could handle both dating and studying. She offers to grade his paper for him and begins. Slowly, she remarks that he did, in fact, get 100 in all of the subjects. The next day, Hyunjin calls Youngchul to the rooftop, where they announce him as the top-ranked student in the entire school. Hyunjin asks if Chul knows about the golden circle, and if not, he will explain it to him. Earlier, we see the principal receiving constant calls from academies, even being accused of favoritism. How could a student who was a nobody before suddenly get 100 in everything? The principal dismisses any notion of cheating, claiming that the school simply has an excellent education program. After closing the call, Chul asks the principal if it was another call about academies. The principal confirms this, also wondering why they are so insistent this time. Chul notes that it must be because the exam was extremely hard this time. The principal says there is no reason to make a fuss over such a thing. Shouldn't they be excited about their high-achieving student? He can already envision it, Hyunjin receiving the highest CSAT score in the country and entering Hankook University at the top of his class. Such an achievement would give the school the opportunity to become nationally recognized. With Myungjin Construction's support, his long-awaited dream will come true. The only problem is that Hyunjin is causing issues, and it would be bad for the school's image if their top-ranked student were a problem child. The principal demands more from Youngchul, emphasizing the need to manage Hyunjin's behavior carefully. The principal tells Chul to take extra care of Hyunjin, especially since he has produced the first-ranked student in the school. He promises to start paying him a merit bonus next month. Handing Chul some money, he mentions that it's just a small reward and that they will undoubtedly achieve much more with Hyunjin's scores. Chul agrees, realizing that siding with Hyunjin was the right choice. Back in the present, Hyunjin explains to Chul exactly what the golden circle is. Afterward, Chul asks what Hyunjin wants him to do, perhaps stop Shin Youngman. Hyunjin clarifies that he wants them to feign ignorance of these actions and stand by. That's more than enough, and he advises Cho to prepare mentally in advance. Meanwhile, Shin Youngman is being beaten by the broker, who gives him one more chance to resolve the situation. If not, the price will be at least a limb. Sitting down with some friends, Shin wonders what he can do. Bae Songho, a burly guy, suggests that they all mess with Hyunjin at once. What can the principal do if 30 or more people are involved in a fight? Shin Youngman thinks it's a great idea, hoping it will lead to salvation. A few days later, during lunch, Hyunjin senses a strange vibe. Someone bumps into him, and another person slaps his head from behind, demanding an apology for bumping into his friend. Hyunjin thinks about how the bullying started, but this time, he's not weak. With a few punches, he takes them all out. Staying vigilant, he tells them to inform their leader to stop thinking about stupid stuff and bring it all at once. Later, Songho opens the door to Hyunjin's classroom, thinking he planned to provoke Hyunjin and bring the guys against him later. Hyunjin stands up, suggesting that if they have to fight, they should go to the recycling site where the teachers don't patrol. They head there, and Hyunjin reflects on his plan so far. Hyunjin knew that all the scenarios up until now weren't guarantees, as he had imagined. This revenge would be determined by fighting Shin Youngman. If he couldn't handle it, he would have to pay the price. Songho tried to intimidate Hyunjin, but Hyunjin didn't bite. Instead, he suggested they get to the point and fight. However, with spectators around, they should come at him one by one. One of the goons, nicknamed Demon Senior, stepped forward, saying that if Hyunjin wanted a one-on-one fight, that's what he'd get. In a school where students gather to learn, the necessity of power is extremely important. Hyunjin had defeated the strong with his radical moves, but his ruthless pursuit of victory had damaged his reputation. He was known for using malicious weapons like chairs or launching surprise attacks on unsuspecting enemies, with many believing his victories were due to luck. Hyunjin knew he needed to change this perception to continue his plan. To make Kainil his impenetrable fortress, he required a victory that couldn't be denied. Changhyun charged at him with a punch, landing it perfectly. Smirking, Changhyun assumed it was over, but he noticed Hyunjin had been guarding. Changhyun went for another attack but missed entirely, and Hyunjin seized the opportunity, delivering a powerful swing that knocked Changhyun out in one hit. From above, Jinwoo watched the fight, realizing that Hyunjin's victory was no fluke. He noted that Hyunjin had just defeated Demon Senior with a single blow and decided he should never get involved with him again, as Hyunjin fought like a rabid dog. Siwoo casually approached from behind, tapped Jinwoo's shoulder, and punched him in the cheek, noting that they had some old business to resolve. A while ago, after Hyunjin had dealt with the guys trying to annoy him, Siwoo had come up to him, wanting to help with his plan. Hyunjin reminded him that he had promised not to get involved in reckless fights. Siwoo asked if Hyunjin was trying to face Shin's gang by himself. Hyunjin confirmed this, acknowledging Siwoo's concern but insisting that nothing good would come from Siwoo joining the fight, as their opponents would just use their numbers to win. Siwoo protested that it wasn't safe, but Hyunjin knew he had to handle this himself, as the issue wouldn't be resolved by someone else. However, Hyunjin had something for Siwoo to do if he really wanted to help, prove that Hyunjin wasn't alone by taking revenge on Jinwoo. Jinwoo cursed at Siwoo, noting that he must be acting tough because of Hyunjin, and they needed to settle things. Jinwoo tried to attack, but Siwoo kicked him back. Jinwoo thought he might lose in a single blow but couldn't afford to, as too many people were watching. He continuously tried to swing at Siwoo and found an opportunity to tackle, but Siwoo countered and ended the fight with a single kick. Outside, Hyunjin took care of all of Songho's goons. They thought Hyunjin was clever, realizing this was all intentional from the start. He would have liked to push him to the ground with their numbers, but with so many people watching, even after Shin graduates and joins the Golden Circle, nobody would acknowledge him. The same would hold true if they just waited for Hyunjin to run out of stamina and beat him. Sungho realizes he needs to act now. He asks Hyunjin to stop, as he is ready to confront him. He declares that he holds no ill will towards him, but Hyunjin's attitude of trying to dominate everyone is absurd. Hyunjin responds, stating that his actions are a reaction to their absurdity. Sungho charges forward with a punch, which Hyunjin counters, but Hyunjin grins. This is exactly what he wanted, a battle of sheer strength. They trade powerful blows until Hyunjin lands a solid hit to Sungho's mouth, stunning him with pain. Seizing the moment, Hyunjin grabs Sungho by the hair and delivers a final punch to the ground, ending the fight. Hyunjin commands the other goons to bring Shin out immediately. Meanwhile, Shin Yongmin sits in the classroom, contemplating Hyunjin's situation. A classmate enters and informs him that Sungho and his group were utterly defeated. Shin inquires about the number of people Hyunjin fought, and the classmate estimates around 9. Satisfied, Shin decides it's time to execute the plan. He believes that, despite how corrupt the principal and Hyunjin are, the school remains an educational institution at its core. They won't be able to cover up this incident easily. Shin's plan unfolds as numerous people begin reporting Hyunjin's actions to teachers and contacting others. Shin notes that if their stories align, it won't be dismissed as self-defense. However, he isn't planning to stop here. The principal receives a call from the superintendent and answers with trepidation. A few days prior, during a staff meeting, Chul had informed the other teachers about the Golden Circle and how it thrived on bullying. He also revealed that Park Mincheol had past connections with the organization. This revelation sparked a heated discussion among the teachers. Chul acknowledged their confusion but emphasized the potential career-ending consequences associated with the Golden Circle. He pointed out that more than a handful of students, including Sungho and even Shin Youngmin, were linked to the organization. Within the school, over a dozen students had ties to the Golden Circle. If this scandal were exposed, the repercussions would be catastrophic, not just for a few individuals but for the entire school. Chul, rising from his seat and slamming the table, proclaimed that the situation wouldn't end with just a few implicated. The entire institution could be dragged into the mess. He explained that the purpose of the meeting was to urge them not to sympathize with these bullies, regardless of the circumstances. They were to act as if nothing was happening, to ignore what they saw or knew. Acting righteously would only entangle them further with the golden circle. When a teacher attempted to argue, Chul silenced him, asking if he truly wanted to challenge an organization as formidable as the Golden Circle. What if they target you? They can destroy your career. You might even have to take the blame for everything. So his command is clear: do not sympathize with or go against the Golden Circle. Nothing is happening at this school. The Shin's plan had failed. The teachers were pushing the students away, and the police were dismissing the kids' reports as prank calls. Shin stomped through the school, seething with frustration. He thought to himself that the adults were just pretending to be ignorant, and even the police were useless. Weren't adults supposed to be responsible and take charge? Despite this setback, Shin remained determined. He would take down Hyunjin with his own hands. Shin received a surprising call. Earlier, Chang had approached a loan shark, claiming he had secured a few minor construction jobs and was considering raising his name value. The loan shark, eager for an association with Myeongjin Construction, asked what Chang needed. Chang simply wanted the contract with Shin Min-suk. Shin Min-suk was the father of Shin Young-min, believing it would put them in a favorable position. Shin Young-min receives call from his father, who angrily reprimanded him for laying a finger on Hyunjin. His father warned him never to touch Hyunjin again, threatening that loan sharks would kill him if Shin disobeyed. Suddenly, Chang took over the call, instructing Shin to listen carefully. He explained that soon, a red sticker would be placed on their house, the very thing his father had desperately tried to prevent. Despite his father's efforts, their family was still in debt, and that debt would now fall on Shin. Chang taunted him, asking if he planned to forsake his inheritance. Unfortunately, loan sharks didn't work that way, and Shin's entire life was at risk. Chang offered a grim solution: let himself be beaten up by Hyunjin and make it look convincing. Winning was all that mattered, and in this brutal game, there was no room for honor and pride. Shin protested, calling it cowardly, but Chang dismissed his concerns, stating that there was no such thing in a fight. If you win, you win. Means doesn't matter. He warned Shin to be careful, as he don't make empty threats. Determined and desperate, Shin arrived at Hyunjin's location and immediately launched an attack. However, Hyunjin stood still, not bothering to dodge. Shin intentionally missed the strike, confirming Hyunjin's suspicion that he had received the call. Hyunjin responded by slapping Shin, confident that he was now in control. Hyunjin grabbed Shin by the hair, slapping him repeatedly. "Why were you charging at me earlier?" he demanded. Shin had only two choices: get on his knees and beg or risk everything for his pride. Pushed to his limit, Shin erupted in a flurry of punches and kicks, trying desperately to bring Hyunjin down. But Hyunjin had the upper hand. He had watched videos of Shin's amateur fighting competitions and knew his weaknesses. Shin's first mistake was exposing his face when he got excited. Using this knowledge, Hyunjin turned the fight into a one-sided beating, dominating Shin every time. When Shin was down, Hyunjin seized his arm and prepared to break it. Shin pleaded, but with a sickening crack, Hyunjin secured his victory. He had proven his dominance. Meanwhile, the principal spoke with the superintendent, feeling triumphant about the outcome. Hyunjin met with Siwoo, and they confirmed they had accomplished their goals. Siwoo expressed concern about breaking Shin's arm, but Hyunjin dismissed it, saying it was not a problem. He had realized something important: while fighting someone like Shin, the world did not favor the weak. Chul looked at the devastation Hyunjin had left behind and wondered how he would clean it up. He couldn't back down now. He had to either ensure Hyunjin graduated and moved on or face the consequences together. He warned Shin to heed his words carefully. Shin's arm wasn't broken in a fight with Hyunjin, it happened when he fell down some stairs while playing with friends. If anyone mentioned Hyunjin's name at the hospital, Chul threatened to expose everything they had done. Shin, struggling with pain and frustration, questioned Chul's integrity. "How can you call yourself a teacher when you're supposed to prioritize the safety of your students?" Teacher Chul steps forward and remarks that he has used similar tactics to cover things up in the past. "But where was the lecture on being a teacher when you were the one benefiting?" he says. "You're still the same guy, and I don't know about the others, but I follow through on what I say." In an undisclosed location, Taegu is rudely awakened by a splash of water. He immediately begins pleading for another chance, even offering to stab Hyunjin if necessary. A man asks Taegu if he understands the basics of their work. Their job is to make school violence appear natural to satisfy their clients. "Are you willing to take responsibility if you cross the line and compromise our clients' confidentiality?" he asks. "Do you know why we've been able to maintain this business? It's because we keep secrets and maintain a perfect success rate. That's what the Golden Circle is all about." With that, he kicks Taegu into unconsciousness, noting that while Hyunjin is a tough target, he is ultimately just a cornered dog. This man is revealed to be young Chansu, a broker for the Golden Circle in the Seoul region. A week later, Shin is discharged from the hospital. He receives a message from Hyunjin demanding to know who his employer is, warning that he won't stop until he gets an answer. As Shin boards the bus, he curses Tang for sending a cryptic message about completed work. Both Hyunjin and Tang are major headaches, so Shin decides to sleep on it and figure out his next move later. When he arrives home, he finds his house ransacked. His father immediately tries to hit him but collapses to his knees in tears. "You shouldn't have touched Hyunjin," he sobs. "We were managing, even if it was like dogs. You've ruined everything. The house we live in, the food in the fridge, do you think any of it is free? I might not have been the best father, but I tried my hardest. And you just went and ruined it all. We're completely and utterly ruined because of you." Reeling from his father's words, Shin slips on a bottle in shock. Just then, his phone rings. They meet in a park, where Shin apologizes profusely. He admits he crossed a line and wants to reveal his employer, but he can't. The broker disappeared after sending a simple text. He begs for forgiveness one last time. Hyunjin, unimpressed, asks why he should forgive him. "I warned you enough not to lay a hand on me or those around me, but you did it anyway. You must have been confident you could handle the consequences, right?" Shin admits he was foolish. Hyunjin agrees, saying only fools throw themselves into the fire. He surmises that Shin genuinely doesn't know his employer's identity, as the Golden Circle doesn't divulge such information easily. Since Shin has begged enough, Hyunjin decides to give him a chance. He tells Shin he will have to endure something for 1 month but doesn't specify what. The next day, Shin hears people bad-mouthing him but endures it, thinking that if this is all he has to face for 1 month, it will be easy. A large guy stares at him with malicious intent. Shin thinks to himself that the world might favor a guy like him now, but it's only for a month. After that, he can graduate and start anew. The large guy walks up to Shin and pours a carton of milk over his head. When Shin tries to retaliate, the guy smirks and says, "According to Hyunjin, I can do this to you now." A few days prior, Hyunjin had addressed his classmates about Shin, detailing how Shin had disrupted their once peaceful school environment. Hyunjin announced that they could now treat Shin however they wished, as Shin wouldn't fight back. He emphasized that participation was voluntary, no one was compelled to join in the harassment. However, if no one chose to participate, Shin would live a quiet life until graduation, as though he had never existed in their school. Hyunjin made it clear, if they resented Shin and his actions, they could act without fear of punishment. For the past 3 years, Han's story had been monotonous and filled with torment. He was bullied simply because he had once made eye contact with Shin. Han's life became that of a toy, no one cared if it was broken. As he counted down the days to graduation, Han often wondered if Shin would ever remember him or recognize the wrong in his actions. But Han knew the answer, of course Shin wouldn't. He would forget and learn nothing. This realization drove Han to act, seeking some form of solace for his wounded heart. Han approached Shin, hitting him over the head and pinching him, mimicking what Shin had done to him before. He spits in Shin's food, saying, "Enjoy your meal, bastard." Han sneered, recalling the cruel words Shin had once said to him. But Han's actions were only the beginning. Others soon followed, harassing Shin at every opportunity. The relentless abuse drove Shin to the brink, contemplating if he should just give up and retaliate violently. Yet, the thought of Hyunjin's threatening glare kept him in check. He reminded himself he only had to endure this torment for 1 month. In the classroom, Hyunjin pondered his next steps. He had hoped to extract information about the Golden Circle from Shin, but since Shin knew nothing, he was back at square one. Still, he had some clues. The employer was likely a fellow student, wealthy enough to hire the Golden Circle. By narrowing down these parameters, he could identify potential suspects. However, he knew he shouldn't rush, he needed to focus on his current target for now. Meanwhile, Shin was suffering constant bullying. When he pleaded for help, his cries were met with indifference. After one particularly brutal attack, Hyunjin sent him a message with a proposition: he had a new game. If Shin accepted, his school life would become peaceful and the harassment would cease. Desperate for relief, Shin immediately agreed, much to Hyunjin's satisfaction. That night, Shin stands in front of a convenience store, questioning if he's making the right decision. But at this point, he doesn't care anymore. He enters the store where Park Min-cheol is working and beats him mercilessly. This was a premeditated attack, as Shin also targets Park Min-cheol's friends, leaving them battered and bruised. They contemplate reporting him, but realize it's futile. They decide to consider themselves lucky and try to forget the incident as if it never happened. When Shin encounters them all together, they demand to know why he did it. Shin explains that it's not out of spite but because Hyunjin knows his weaknesses. He tells them that if they endure 1 month of living in hell, Hyunjin will forgive him. This means they will all have to suffer together. Shin begins viciously assaulting them, declaring that none of this would have happened if they had just stayed out of it. Kang Chung-sik attempts to tackle Shin, questioning what they did wrong in the first place. Shin, now livid, feels no impact from Kang's tackle and is infuriated by the attempt. He tells Kang that their mistake was simple, they didn't do their jobs properly, ruining all their lives. He berates Kang for daring to challenge him, reminding him of his place. With a final knee strike, Shin knocks Kang out cold and stands over him, smiling. Just when he thinks things might be easier than expected, he feels a sharp pain in his left side. Desperate, Park Min-cheol has stabbed him, saying Shin should never have crossed this line. Park blames Shin for their doomed situation and questions why he is now attacking them. As Shin Yongman collapses to his knees, he realizes Hyunjin's true objective, mutual and total destruction. They were all doomed from the start, Hyunjin just decided who would suffer the most. The next day, rumors about the incident spread quickly, with Park Min-cheol being the prime suspect in Shin's stabbing. All involved end up in juvenile detention. Curiously, they all pleaded guilty immediately and requested to be sent to juvenile detention as soon as possible, eager to escape Daesan. Hyunjin, speaking on the phone with Chang, hears that everything went exactly as planned. Young Minho's family, seeing no future left in Daesan, sold all their properties and left. Relocating to Gyeonggi-do, where Minho prepared to enter a new public school. Hyunjin commented that it wasn't surprising the child of a wealthy family avoided juvenile detention. Chang offered to pull some strings to ensure Minho ended up there too, but Hyunjin declined, preferring to let Minho believe he had started a fresh, new life. He wanted Minho's despair to be greater when reality eventually shattered his illusions. Chang found Hyunjin's approach somewhat frightening but agreed. Hyunjin also mentioned that the other 4 would be sent to prison immediately after their release from juvenile detention, as he didn't want them back in society even for a second. Chang admitted he never wanted to become Hyunjin's enemy and then expressed frustration about his current situation. Despite starting at the bottom, as Hyunjin advised, he felt impatient with the lack of progress. Hyunjin reassured him that things would soon start to change. A few days later, real estate prices skyrocketed nationwide. At a construction site, workers were idling when a mishap caused metal beams to fall on one of them. Panic ensued, and some workers wanted to call emergency services, but the foreman insisted they report to their superiors first, fearing financial losses if construction was halted. The injured worker was eventually taken to a hospital, but not the nearest one. He was sent to a facility an hour away that had ties to the company. After a delayed notification, his son arrived at the hospital, only to be told that his father's negligence had caused significant damage. The company, however, wouldn't seek compensation. The son, left with no support or answers, could only weep by his father's side. This was a day Jang Hyuk, a young man in his 20s, would never forget. Chang, walking around the construction site, thought about how he wanted to enjoy life, drinking and having fun with girls, but knew he had to trust Hyunjin's plans. Seeing how swiftly Hyunjin dealt with the bullies gave Chang hope that even someone as powerful as Chang Suk could face similar consequences. Determined to stay the course, Chang decided to return to work. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the site. Rushing to the scene, Chang discovered a major accident had occurred. A worker mentioned a potential spill, and when Chang asked if anyone was trapped, the worker confirmed that 5 or 6 people were stuck. Chang's expression darkened, and although the worker assured him that the superiors had been notified to prevent the situation from escalating publicly, Chang was furious. He grabbed the worker, demanding if that was really the priority. Surprised, he recalled Hyunjin's advice, in case of an accident, use his name and power to help, prioritizing the workers over financial losses. Chang instructed the worker to call 911 and request a rescue team. Despite objections about the potential public exposure and financial repercussions, Chang insisted, asserting that people's lives were not to be played with. He took charge, declaring he would take full responsibility, and urged the worker to hurry and make the call, emphasizing the urgency and the need to prioritize human lives over everything else. Chang inquired about their estimated arrival time, prompting a man in a suit to mention that the rescue team had departed for their location immediately after receiving the call. Chang suggested that they begin aiding the victims right away, but the man insisted that they had been explicitly instructed not to interfere. While they conversed, another man observed them closely. As more debris continued to fall, Chang emphasized the need to prioritize saving the trapped individuals. He argued that if they had time to talk, they should make another call to 911, as acting together in such crisis is more effective. Eventually, the rescue team arrived, and remarkably, most people only sustained minor injuries, with no lives at risk. Chang expressed relief at the fortunate outcome, but the man pointed out a lingering issue: negative internet articles about the incident had already been published, with more likely to follow. He acknowledged that the situation had spiraled beyond their control, leaving them with limited options. Chang questioned what could be done next, leaving the man baffled since he thought Chang had a plan. Chang clarified that his priority had been the victim's safety. Just then, Chang's father called, but he ignored it to make a more urgent call to Hyunjin. Finding a secluded spot, he dialed Hyunjin's number. Later, at the Myeongjin construction office, Chang-suk seized the opportunity to criticize his brother's handling of the situation. He slammed 2 negative articles about Myeongjin's construction practices onto the table, questioning Chang's judgment in not reporting to his superiors first. Chang-suk stressed the importance of the company's reputation and the potential financial losses if the incident deterred buyers. He accused Chang of being naive and unaware of the burden he had placed on the real workers, who now had to rectify the situation. Their father mentioned that Chang's extensive emergency calls had not only alerted 911 but also the police, attracting reporters much quicker. With the gravity of the situation laid out, he demanded to know how Chang planned to take responsibility. Hyunjin had previously informed Chang that the company president took immense pride in their construction standards and was a master of the trade. Any future safety-related incidents would prompt his direct intervention. Chang found Hyunjin's advice daunting but trusted his guidance. Chang proposed that they demolish the apartment and start rebuilding it. Chang-suk, noting Chang's limited experience as a high school graduate, urged him to consider the financial implications more carefully. He explained that most of the construction funding comes from the bank, and interest accrues daily. The costs associated with rebuilding, combined with the accumulating interest, would be devastating. He questioned if such drastic action was truly necessary for just one building. Chang reiterated that this was precisely why he suggested rebuilding. He acknowledged the enormous potential losses, despite not being an expert in finance. However, he emphasized that trust was their most critical asset. He pointed out the widespread issues of poor construction and the tarnished reputations of many construction companies. If they simply patched up the damaged section and continued as usual, what did they think would happen? Chang-suk argued that no one would buy the apartments anyway, given that someone had alerted the entire Daisan to the situation. He suggested that merely fixing the damaged part would minimize their losses. Chang countered that the real concern should be about restoring trust, which had been the foundation of their stability. This statement surprised their father. Chang continued, asserting that by acknowledging their fault and demonstrating a commitment to perfecting the first apartment, they could regain some trust, which was essential for Myeongjin Construction's reputation. Chang-suk mocked Chang, asking if he was an idealist or just foolish, emphasizing the company's profits. Their father intervened, acknowledging that Chang had matured. Hyunjin recounted a similar incident from another timeline, where the president publicly admitted his subordinates had hidden the issue and demonstrated his construction philosophy. The most infuriating aspect of the current incident was the basic mistake made in pouring the concrete, which should never have happened given the company's reputation. He stressed that safety in housing was paramount, with other concerns secondary. He praised Chang for his wise actions, recognizing that Myeongjin Construction, while a company, was also a family business that valued the quality of their work. He encouraged Chang to continue on this path, suggesting he might one day follow in his footsteps. A few days later, it was revealed that one of the incident's victims had suffered severe injuries, resulting in the amputation of both legs. His family, distressed, noted that Myeongjin Construction had not covered the hospital bills, nor had they addressed the issue of compensation. 3 representatives from Myeongjin Construction approached the grieving family, bowing deeply and apologizing profusely for the accident. Earlier, Chang had called Hyunjin, expressing his uncertainty about what to do next, and his father now have high hopes from him. Hyunjin advised him to prioritize addressing the accident, highlighting that there were 2 types of victims. The first group consisted of the potential new tenants of the apartment. To placate them, they should offer a delayed period of interim loan interest payment, an adjustment of the pre-sale price, and ensure transparency in the construction process. This approach would likely calm them down. The second group, the injured workers, posed a more significant challenge. Hyunjin urged Chang to do everything possible to alleviate their suffering, so much so that they would feel proud to have worked for Myeongjin Construction. The representatives assured the injured workers' family that while money could never fully compensate for their pain, the company would cover all hospital bills and provide an additional 500 million won in compensation. Moreover, they promised to employ the injured worker in a department where his field experience would be valuable, acknowledging his long-term dedication to the company. The The family, overwhelmed by the gesture, expressed their heartfelt gratitude. Chang observed silently, and later, while sitting and smoking, he reflected with one of the representatives. He asked if the man knew what construction truly was. The man replied that it was about building things, but Chang shared his realization that it was more than just a money-making business. This incident had opened his eyes to the many people connected to construction, those who work to support their families and those who invest their life savings into buying homes. Chang admitted that he had taken his position too lightly and expressed his desire for a simple life. He noted that because of the accident, his perspective had changed significantly, and he realized he might be more like his father, caring deeply for those close to him. The representative acknowledged that Chang had indeed changed. Their moment was interrupted by someone reprimanding them for smoking in a non-smoking area. Chang immediately lashed out, showing that some aspects of his personality remained unchanged. A week later, the ripple effects of the incident began to unfold in unexpected ways. News reports emerged, with Jang Hyuk introducing himself as the son of a laborer who had been permanently disabled in an accident involving Mo Construction Company. While the Myeongjin construction accident initially garnered little attention due to the lack of casualties, a subsequent apartment construction failure in Seoul, resulting in 5 deaths, brought significant scrutiny. Reports revealed that workers had tried to alert authorities about safety issues, but the company had suppressed their efforts. Public outrage grew as more hidden incidents came to light. Amidst the nationwide anger, Jang Hyuk appeared on TV to recount his father's unfortunate fate. The reporter asked him to detail what had happened, and Jang Hyuk began his poignant explanation. Jang Hyuk began explaining how his father sustained his life-changing injuries, focusing on the construction company's response. When asked by the reporter, Jang Hyuk detailed how, instead of calling an ambulance immediately after the accident, the foreman prioritized reporting to superiors. As a result, his father wasn't taken to the hospital until 2 hours later. The reporter pointed out that the hospital his father was eventually taken to was an hour away, bypassing a closer facility. Jang Hyuk explained that the company insisted on using their affiliated hospital to gain financial benefits, though his family never received any such assistance. The reporter then asked why the company made such a cold-hearted decision. Jang Hyuk explained that it was all about hiding the accident and minimizing construction delays, treating workers as expendable resources in their pursuit of profit. He stated that he came forward to prevent others from suffering as his father did. The reporter thanked him and mentioned that he had something further to say. Jang Hyuk revealed that he was now working at another construction site where a similar incident occurred. However, the new company's response was entirely different. Meanwhile, Chang had become the construction manager and began visiting the site early every day. The workers warmly welcomed him, which he found surprising. One worker even offered him homemade onion juice, noting its health benefits. As Chang settled into the site office, pondering his new role while making ramen, the worker informed him of a guest from a broadcasting company wanting to interview him. Chang, thinking he might have said something wrong, agreed to meet them. That night, at the president's mansion, the news highlighted Myeongjin Construction's decision to rebuild the apartment despite significant financial losses due to borrowed funds. The news credited Chang with playing a crucial role in this decision. They interviewed the injured worker's wife, who expressed her gratitude and surprise at receiving hospital bill payments and a personal apology from Chang, the company's eldest son. Despite her ongoing anger over her husband's injury, she appreciated the company's acknowledgement of his long service. The president turned up the volume as Chang's interview aired. The interviewer praised Chang's numerous selfless actions and asked why he chose to take them. Chang explained that it was simply what his father had taught him. From a young age, his father emphasized that their work wasn't just about money but about maintaining a family business they would carry for their entire lives. The president received a call from Chairman Park, who congratulated him on raising such an exemplary son. The president, surprised by his son's newfound maturity, remarked that Chang was indeed following in his footsteps. Their conversation shifted to Park's daughter, and the next day, a woman called the president, stating that Chairman Park wanted Chang to go on a blind date with his daughter. This was fortuitous, given that her family was full of judges and prosecutors. The president inquired why their interest had changed, recalling how quickly they had been rejected in the past. The woman explained that Chang's reputation had spread far beyond Daesan, making him highly sought after. She mentioned that if they needed more options, she was available to assist. A knock on the door interrupted their conversation, and a woman entered, asking if the president needed her. He confirmed this, informing her that they no longer required the matchmaking company's services and inquiring about their current contracts. She reported that they had several significant projects, including the reconstruction of 3,000 houses for S Company, a new construction project in Gangbuk, and apartments for J Chemical Industry employees. Additionally, Daesan City had contacted them to expedite a contract for 5,000 houses, requesting completion before the end of the next year. This opportunity was the jackpot the president had been waiting for. Chang was then invited to a meeting where his father announced his promotion to executive director of the company. The people who once looked down on him now congratulated him warmly. His father mentioned that Chang would be involved in the Daesan City project, acknowledging that while it was early for him, it would be a valuable learning experience. Chang agreed and bowed, eager to contribute. At school, some girls whispered among themselves while a boy sat awkwardly in his seat. Hyunjin received news of Chang's promotion and his involvement in the Daesan City project. He hadn't anticipated such rapid progress, as he had planned to leverage his influence to participate in the project in the future. This unexpected change, possibly a result of the butterfly effect, required him to recalibrate his plans carefully. He noted that there could be no flaws in his strategy. Suddenly, Hyunjin spotted Chang's car and wondered why he was at the school unannounced. Chang met with the principal, who expressed admiration for Chang's actions, noting that he had become a symbol of Daesan's pride following his news coverage. Chang explained that he was there to express his gratitude for the school's support of Hyunjin, calling it a gesture of basic equivalent exchange. He offered a generous gift, the construction of a new gym and a modern swimming pool with the city's help. The principal was thrilled, noting that these additions would elevate the school's prestige. He promised to continue supporting Hyunjin, and Chang agreed, but also requested a meeting with teacher Chul. When Chul arrived at the principal's office, Chang greeted him warmly. He expressed admiration for Chul's pragmatic approach, acknowledging that in a world where survival and prosperity are paramount, working for the wealthy is understandable. He referred to the incident involving Shin Young-min, where Chul had punished him so harshly that rumors of bribery had spread. Chang dismissed these rumors, asserting that they were inconsequential. He assured Chul that his efforts would be rewarded and that in 3 years, Chul would be even prouder of his achievements. Chul, though nervous and sweating, agreed wholeheartedly. Chang then mentioned that he had heard about Chul's frequent visits to Miracle, a cabaret with beautiful girls. He revealed that he had put in a good word for Chul there and invited him to enjoy a night out with his trusted companions, without worrying about expenses. Additionally, he handed Chul a tightly packed box of vitamins, hinting that it contained money, and urged him to remember this favor. Chang emphasized that he was not just any parent with some spare cash, but the successor of Myeongjin Construction, the city's most powerful and wealthy construction company. He wanted Chul to understand the significance of their interaction and the level of influence he wielded. Later, after everything had settled, Chang and Hyunjin went to the roof. Chang expressed his gratitude, but Hyunjin remained nonchalant. Surprised by Hyunjin's calm acceptance, Chang asked why he didn't inquire about the reason for the thanks. Hyunjin, with his keen mind, replied that it was obvious. Chang was thankful for his handling of the construction incident. Chang confirmed this, admitting that he now fully acknowledged Hyunjin's intelligence and strategic thinking. He mentioned that while bringing down Changsuk was relatively simple, involving just a bit of investigation into his private life, this recent feat was extraordinary. Hyunjin had accurately identified his father's tendencies and predicted the benefits of the reconstruction decision. Thanks to Hyunjin's efforts, Chang had become the executive director and hoped to eventually become the chairman. He realized Hyunjin was aiming for a significant future, one that required substantial power, and he was grateful for Hyunjin's support in positioning him as the future chairman. He promised to uphold this role to the best of his ability, believing that together, they would be unstoppable. Hyunjin responded with a simple, sure, prompting Chang to comment on his blandness despite his brilliance. Chang then offered his help, urging Hyunjin to ask for anything he needed. When Hyunjin inquired about specifics, Chang assured him that he was willing to do anything, anytime, whatever it may be. Hyunjin then asked how much cash Chang could spend on him. Later, during the closing hours of school, teacher Chul entered Hyunjin's class with exciting news. He announced that the school had established a scholarship system, generously sponsored by the prestigious Myeongjin Construction. The scholarship amounted to a substantial 10 million won, with no limit on the number of recipients. However, it would not be awarded to just anyone. The selection would be based on academic performance and future potential. The first recipient, chosen by Myeongjin themselves, was none other than their diligent classmate, Hyunjin. The class wasn't surprised, knowing Hyunjin was closely associated with one of the Myeongjin heirs and ranked first academically in the entire school. Chul also announced that Siwoo from Class 8 had been selected for his promising future in the ring, adding another name to the list of prestigious scholarship recipients. For those who weren't selected, Teacher Chul encouraged them not to be disheartened and to continue focusing on their studies. By doing so, they might have a chance at earning this generous scholarship in the future. As students made their way home, 3 of them discussed how predictable the scholarship recipients were. They agreed that Hyunjin was a given, being the class president and the top student for 2 consecutive semesters. However, Siwoo's selection puzzled them. One student remarked that Siwoo was only notable for his past involvement in Taekwondo, which didn't seem sufficient for such a prestigious scholarship. The tall student agreed, finding the situation odd, while the short blue-haired student speculated further. He questioned what potential Siwoo had to justify the scholarship, suggesting that he only received it because of his friendship with Hyunjin. He wondered why this wasn't handled discreetly and why Hyunjin was receiving so much support from Myeongjin Construction and the school. He even speculated if Hyunjin could be an illegitimate son of the chairman, but another student dismissed this idea, pointing out that if it were true, Hyunjin would have been treated much better from the start. The blue-haired student continued his rant until he spotted Hyunjin, who called him over. The blue-haired student, named Cho Jae-jin, regretted speaking ill of Hyunjin, knowing his reputation as the crazy psycho of Chownil. He feared Hyunjin might retaliate. However, Hyunjin told Jae-jin to lift his head and stand proud. He acknowledged Jae-jin as the school's infamous blabbermouth and assured him he wasn't angry. In fact, Hyunjin found Jae-jin's talkative nature useful. Hyunjin asked Jae-jin for a favor, promising that there was no reason for him to be afraid. Jae-jin, relieved but still wary, agreed to help. Hyunjin admitted that the scholarships were indeed unfairly awarded, using Siwoo and himself as examples. He then revealed that there was no limit to the number of scholarship recipients, implying that Jae-jin could also receive one. Hyunjin instructed Jae-jin to spread a rumor throughout the school, just as he had been doing earlier. The rumor would claim that the Myeongjin Construction scholarships were unfair. Hyunjin wanted Jae-jin to add a bit of exaggeration to make the story more compelling. The next day, Chownil High was buzzing with a peculiar new rumor. This rumor began with Jae-jin, who eagerly shared with everyone he met that Myeongjin Construction had created their scholarship system to formally support students who were kind to Hyunjin. He encouraged everyone to consider this carefully. The scholarship awarded to Siwoo, the only person who befriended Hyunjin during his bullying ordeal, was clear evidence. Jae-jin spread this idea enthusiastically, suggesting that if they treated Hyunjin well, regardless of their number, Hyunjin would take good care of them in return. He also mentioned rumors he'd heard that Hyunjin had undergone a change of heart due to Park and his gang, and that they intended to purge Daesan of all troublemakers, starting with their school. Despite initial skepticism and someone dismissing Jae-jin's claims as fantasy, the students didn't entirely dismiss the idea and kept it in mind. Shangho, upon hearing these rumors, thought that aligning himself with Hyunjin might earn him the scholarship as well. Moreover, he believed that if Hyunjin needed fighters, he could prove useful, given his strength despite his previous defeat. Shangho later cornered Jae-jin in a stairwell and asked if the rumors were true. Jae-jin explained that Hyunjin planned to turn the school into his stronghold, his kingdom, and intended to dominate the surrounding schools and their leading figures. Those who showed strength and loyalty during this process would be greatly rewarded, with the scholarship being just a preview of future rewards. Shangho, comparing this to the money he had received for bullying Hyunjin, realized the scholarship was a substantial incentive. Despite their past conflicts, Shangho believed he could gain Hyunjin's favor if he showed commitment. Eventually, Shangho approached Hyunjin as he was leaving school and asked him to stay for a conversation. To his surprise, Hyunjin agreed without hesitation. When they stopped, Shangho quickly apologized for his past actions, clarifying that they were not done out of malice. Hyunjin cut him off, indicating he understood and urged him to get to the point. Shangho explained he had heard rumors about Hyunjin's plans to dominate other schools and expressed his desire to be part of it. He admitted their previous conflict but emphasized his willingness to serve for financial gain. He assured Hyunjin that, as someone strong and reliable, he wouldn't disappoint if given a chance. Hyunjin confronted Shangho, saying he had heard from other students that Shangho had been the one to bolster Shin's plans. Shangho, knowing he couldn't lie, admitted it was true. Intrigued, Hyunjin said he was willing to take Shangho in, but only if he passed a test. Later, Shangho called a group of third and first years to a secluded spot. The third years arrived angry, not understanding why they had been summoned. Shangho eventually arrived, his face bruised. He announced that he would speak only once, so they needed to listen carefully. He declared his allegiance to Hyunjin, stating that anyone unwilling to follow Hyunjin should raise their hands now, warning that defiance would lead to a very bad end. Earlier, Hyunjin had severely beaten Shangho, saying he needed a loyal dog, one who would obey without question. If ordered to hit, he would hit; if ordered to bark, he would bark. Hyunjin asked if Shangho thought he was worthy of such a position. Despite the pain, Shangho considered the money worth the beating. Hyunjin assured him that as his most obedient subordinate, Shangho would be selected for the scholarship and receive many rewards, provided he remained loyal. However, Hyunjin warned that any betrayal would result in Shangho being torn apart and disappearing without a trace. Determined to secure the financial rewards, Shangho decided to go along with Hyunjin's demands. He summoned the third years, intending to assert his newfound authority. He beat one of them brutally, explaining that he had tolerated their behavior only because of Shin Young-min. With Shin gone, they were nothing, as worthless as dirt. The others were too frightened to intervene, understanding that Shangho was now a force to be reckoned with. Shangho grabbed the head of the beaten student and made it clear that he wasn't one for complex schemes and wasn't smart enough to talk his way out of trouble. From that moment on, he declared he would serve Hyunjin as if he were a god, and they would all follow Hyunjin's orders without question. Shangho warned them never to betray their generous leader, or he would break every bone in their bodies. He confirmed the rumors about the scholarship, saying those who supported Hyunjin would be richly rewarded. The next day, Jinwoo and another student were discussing Shangho, mocking him for submitting to Hyunjin so easily. They doubted he would get much money just by following orders. However, their doubts were shattered when they saw a crowd gathered and learned that Shangho and Jae-jin had both received the scholarship. Jinwoo realized the truth and wondered what Jae-jin had done to earn it. When he asked, Jae-jin explained that he simply followed orders and advised Jinwoo to do the same if he didn't want to end up like Shin. Jinwoo looked worried as he took this in. At that moment, Hyunjin, accompanied by Siwoo, arrived. Everyone made way for them, as the school's dynamics had shifted. No one at Keanil High dared to oppose Hyunjin, signaling it was time for the next phase of his plan. Meanwhile, a Golden Circle employee was driving and being scolded over the phone. The caller was furious about Hyunjin's takeover of the school, blaming the employee for not doing his job. The employee apologized, but the caller continued to berate him, threatening to inform the Golden Line members. The employee tried to calm him down, promising that Hyunjin would be forced to drop out by the end of November. After the call ended, the employee asked Choi Taejun, a Golden Circle hitman, if he was ready for the job. Taejun confirmed, reminding him of the promised reward. Arriving at the school, the employee met with the principal. The principal expressed his concerns about accepting a transfer student so late in the year but acknowledged that the request came from the superintendent of education, leaving them no choice. He also asked about Taejun's connection to the superintendent. Taejun explained that the superintendent was a friend of his father. The principal found the situation suspicious, recognizing the illegality of the procedure, but knew that raising an issue would cause significant trouble for the superintendent. The principal wondered why they had risked transferring this student despite the obvious risks. Was he part of the Golden Circle? Regardless, the principal wasn't going to let him run wild. He made it clear that Keanil High, the most prestigious school in all of Daesan, wouldn't offer any special treatment, even if his father was friends with the superintendent. Taejun acknowledged this and asked which class he would be assigned to. Taejun was placed in class 1 to 5. When he introduced himself, he noticed Jinwoo and recognized him. 6 months ago, Taejun had gained notoriety in the Syeongdong area, leading him to join the Golden Circle. Anticipating the need for future allies, he had mingled with various students, but he remembered Jinwoo as particularly useless. During lunch break, they went outside to smoke. Taejun asked Jinwoo about the school and his status within it. Jinwoo confessed that he had no real power at Keanil High, a school obsessed with prestige. However, he warned Taejun about one student in particular, Hyunjin, a guy with serious connections who was essentially the boss of the school. Taejun found it amusing that Hyunjin thought he was important but decided he could be useful for his plans. Back in class, Taejun contemplated his next move. His mission was to stay in Daesan for 6 months and dismantle Hyunjin's regime. The job paid well, and he had no reason to refuse it. Confident in his abilities, Taejun planned to pick the right fights and bring Hyunjin down. As a B-class member of the Golden Circle, Taejun knew he held significant power. S-class members were untouchable, A-class members were the top 0.1%, and B-class members like himself were the best in the nation. Taejun believed he could undermine Hyunjin's support by leveraging his connections with the superintendent. He planned to give Hyunjin a severe beating and then manipulate the second and third years into bullying him, ensuring a job well done. He asked Jinwoo to show him the other classes. When they reached Hyunjin's class, they found him sitting alone. Taejun immediately picked on Hyunjin for supposedly looking at him funny. Hyunjin calmly pointed out that Taejun was being overly aggressive and that he hadn't even looked at him. Taejun, maintaining his tough persona, accused Hyunjin of wanting to start a fight based on his reaction. Smiling, Hyunjin asked if Taejun could handle what he was about to do. Without warning, Jinwoo punched Taejun, knocking him to the ground. Jinwoo immediately dropped to his knees, apologizing to Hyunjin, pleading that he had not intended to cause any trouble and begging for mercy. Taejun was stunned by Jinwoo's sudden submission, noting how completely tamed he had become. Jinwoo was initially pleased to see Taejun, considering him a friend from the past when he was at his peak. However, the moment Taejun antagonized Hyunjin, Jinwoo realized he had to act to save himself. With a powerful punch, he knocked Taejun down and begged Hyunjin for forgiveness. A week prior, after Shangho's declaration of loyalty to Hyunjin, Kyeonil-high underwent a dramatic transformation. A new ruler had emerged, and Shangho enforced Hyunjin's authority without hesitation. Students who defied this new order faced severe punishment. Surprisingly, the majority of students welcomed this change. Under Shin's control, bullying and violence were rampant, but with Shangho's new role as Hyunjin's loyal enforcer, the school saw a decrease in such behavior. Shangho's transformation into a scholarship student and protector of the weak brought a newfound peace to the prestigious school. Taejun's confrontation with Hyunjin threatened this newfound stability, prompting Jinwoo to act out of fear and loyalty. Taejun was incredulous, questioning Jinwoo's sanity and their supposed friendship. Jinwoo retorted, accusing Taejun of betrayal. Hyunjin watched with amusement as the two bickered. Jinwoo, attempting to defend Hyunjin, attacked Taejun, who swiftly retaliated, boasting about his prowess and his status as a B-rank hitman in the Golden Circle. He easily overpowered Jinwoo, knocking him out with a series of punches and asserting his dominance. Taejun noticed Hyunjin laughing throughout the altercation and challenged him, declaring that he would beat him severely regardless of the plan. He warned Hyunjin to prepare for their next encounter, vowing to strike before Hyunjin even realized what was happening. His anger simmered as he returned to class, resenting Hyunjin and wondering where Jinwoo had gone. In class, Taejun grew increasingly frustrated as he noticed everyone avoiding him. The teacher asked a group to include him, but they refused, isolating him further. Confused and angered by their behavior, Taejun confronted the student who first refused him. When the student ignored him, Taejun's irritation grew, and he demanded a confrontation, intending to establish his dominance. At that moment, Shangho appeared, asking for the transfer student. Taejun stood up, ready to face whatever was coming, demanding to know what was happening. Songho confronts Taejun, asking if he's the one who dared to pick a fight with Hyunjin. Taejun, already furious, scoffs, exclaiming his frustration over everyone's obsession with Hyunjin. It's his first day at Kyeonil-high, and he believes people should calm down. Songho firmly states that at this school, no one messes with Hyunjin, making it clear how things work. Taejun, realizing the extent of Hyunjin's influence, understands that he needs to adjust his approach. He mockingly asks Songho if he's Hyunjin's loyal pet, provoking Songho's anger. Taejun seizes the moment to strike, landing a powerful blow on Songho. Though Songho retaliates, Taejun skillfully deflects the attack and shoves him away. Enraged, Songho charges again, but Taejun, using his experience, counters with a devastating uppercut. Songho, though visibly dazed, refuses to go down, prompting Taejun to grab his hair and slam him into a table with immense force, subduing him. Songho's companions, terrified by Taejun's display of strength, rush at him simultaneously. Taejun efficiently takes them down with a few swift strikes. When one of them attempts a sneak attack from behind, Taejun quickly notices, dispatching him with a cold, menacing glare. He then turns his attention to the last of Songho's group, clearly relishing the fight. As other students gather, some look ready to join the fray. Taejun, annoyed by the growing crowd, invites them to attack all at once, wanting to deal with them collectively. Songho, battered but defiant, struggles to his feet, declaring that it's not over. Taejun, exasperated, advises him to stand down for his own sake, noting how close to collapse he is. He taunts Songho, calling him a loyal dog who should know his place. Songho reflects on the events of the past week, questioning his loyalty and the power dynamics at play. A week ago, on his day of upheaval in the third-grade classroom, Songho received a congratulatory text and some money from Changbyum, praising his commendable efforts. Changbyum also gifted him some pocket money. The question lingers, what does Changbyum or his association with Hyunjin have to do with Songho? Changbyum is known for doing anything for Hyunjin. So, what if he takes out the Golden Circle hitman? The monetary rewards could exceed 100 or 200. Even if Seong-ho fails in his mission, Hyunjin will still toss him some scraps, which are substantial for him. Seong-ho rallies his fellow students, recognizing that he is more formidable than Shin and his gang combined, making victory uncertain even if they charge him. However, fleeing like cowards would reflect poorly in Hyunjin's eyes. The incident with Shin and Park's gang had taught Seong-ho something significant. He earned 500 for the spar, 1,000 from the scholarship, and 100 as pocket money, totaling 1,600 within days. Understanding that money is power, he seizes the opportunity and orders everyone to charge and trample their adversary. Word soon spread that Seong-ho and the other students attacked Taejun together, yet Taejun single-handedly defeated them. From his first day at the prestigious school, Taejun was already disillusioned by the situation, as high schoolers rarely engage in a losing battle like this. However, Seong-ho and the others charged in recklessly. Taejun realizes that if their numbers increase, it could become problematic. But the current scenario is worse than he anticipated. Even seeking help from the broker wouldn't easily isolate Hyunjin. Hyunjin had turned the school into his empire, leaving only one option: to confront directly. If Taejun manages to injure one of Hyunjin's arms, he would at least have something to report back. Taejun, frustrated, bumps into someone and begins swearing at them for their perceived stupidity. Unfortunately, that person is Yang Chul, who becomes furious. About 10 minutes earlier, Jinwoo had informed Chul that the transfer student harbors malicious intent towards Hyunjin. Chul surmises that Taejun transferred with the goal of harming Hyunjin, viewing it as a cowardly tactic. The transfer was orchestrated to deal with Hyunjin, showing their deceitful nature. Chul inquires if Jinwoo received specific instructions, to which Jinwoo replies that he was told to handle the situation at his discretion. Chul interprets Hyunjin's message as neither encouraging nor discouraging action, yet it seems to imply not letting it slide. Seeing this as a chance to prove his worth and solidify his relationship with Hyunjin, Chul rises from his seat and asks for the transfer student's whereabouts. Upon locating Taejun, Chul drags him to the teacher's lounge by the ear. Once there, he delivers a resounding slap to Taejun. Taejun demands to know why Chul is laying hands on him. Chul retorts, warning Taejun that his disrespectful tone is inappropriate for addressing a teacher, one of his superiors. Taejun counters, cautioning Chul against rough treatment of students, implying it could jeopardize his position at the school. Should Taejun make a single phone call to have him expelled? Chul scoffs, stating that Taejun clearly doesn't grasp his situation. On his first day at this prestigious school, Taejun assaulted a student so severely that he had to be hospitalized due to excessive bleeding. Furthermore, Taejun incited a massive brawl in Class 5. Chul's trusted students reported that Taejun beat up his seniors and threatened the entire class with violence. How dare he ask such ignorant questions? Chul twists Taejun's ear again, chastising him for causing trouble on his very first day. Is Taejun not embarrassed by his actions? How dare he threaten a teacher who genuinely cares about his well-being? Chul challenges Taejun to complain to his father or friends and see what happens. Taejun realizes that Chul knows the superintendent supports him but still acts recklessly. What a lunatic, Taejun thinks. Chul continues, questioning if Taejun truly believed he could disrupt his life. He slaps Taejun again, ordering him to stop spouting nonsense. Chul has dealt with many temperamental students before and doubts anyone will believe Taejun's claims. What's Taejun going to say? That his teacher slapped him. What a joke. No one in the teacher's lounge will testify against Chul. Chul grabs Taejun by the ear once more, asserting that there is no evidence of the slaps and there never will be. Then begins a barrage of slaps. Saying, Jinwoo hit him here, Seong-ho's strike landed there, and the final slap is for the other students Taejun assaulted. Chul reminds Taejun that this is a consequence of his reckless behavior on his first day. Afterwards, Taejun contacts his broker, explaining that everyone at this school is insane. He recounts being slapped around in the teacher's lounge and describes the teacher's fierce loyalty to Hyunjin. How can he deal with such a situation? The broker acknowledges the severity of the issue, noting that if Taejun fails this countryside assignment, his position within the organization will be in jeopardy. Failure is not an option. The broker, currently in Seoul, advises Taejun to remain patient and cautious, promising to handle the situation as soon as possible. In Seoul, the broker meets with the superintendent, Moon Chang-ho, to discuss the matter. The broker explains that despite using his name, the teachers have taken no action. He requests Moon Chang-ho to apply pressure on the school's administration. Moon Chang-ho, recognizing the teacher's tactlessness, agrees to intervene promptly. The Golden Circle had a subgroup known as the Golden Line, comprised solely of trusted members. For those who became part of the Golden Line, it was more than just a job. They became integral members of a network, supporting one another in a mutually beneficial relationship. Moon Chang-ho was one of many who reaped significant rewards from this Golden Line. Before the redevelopment of the Gyeonggi-do area began, he purchased thousands of meters of land and subsequently hit a tenfold financial jackpot. The orchestrator behind these dealings was Yong Chon-soo. Chang-ho decides to call the Daesun representative to discuss the troubling situation at the school, where students were fighting and teachers were turning a blind eye. Chang-ho expresses his concern about the transparency of Korean education, suggesting that such issues could tarnish its reputation. He asks the representative to address the problem. The representative, however, questions why Chang-ho, who is based in Seoul, is meddling in Daesun affairs. This infuriates Chang-ho, though he keeps his composure. He emphasizes that they are all working towards the same goal of bettering children's futures through education. Should he, therefore, feel unqualified to handle Daesun's problems? The representative firmly insists that Chang-ho should indeed step back, pushing Chang-ho to the brink of anger. Chang-ho retorts, hinting that he knows about other corrupt practices in their small town and advising the representative to watch his words. The representative silences him with 3 words, the golden circle. Did Chang-ho truly think they were unaware? It's laughable. The representative then questions Chang-ho's readiness for a dirty fight, assuring him that if it comes to that, he won't be going down alone. He points out that people like Chang-ho often assume those in the countryside are there because they failed to make it in Seoul. In reality, they are there because it's their home. They don't need the backing that Chang-ho does. Once someone like Chang-ho loses the position of superintendent, their influence is gone, leaving them to live the rest of their lives without authority. He advises Chang-ho to know his limits, as infighting won't solve anything. With that, they end the call. Principal Dae-hwan thanks the representative for allowing him to proceed, noting that while Chang-ho might not take open action, the battle behind the scenes is fair game. However, the representative expresses concern, pointing out that the Golden Circle is a formidable opponent and any investigation into Daesun's corruption could implicate them both. Dae-hwan acknowledges the risk but mentions that he has someone who can help, someone more influential than the superintendent. The influential backer behind their school is Myung-jin Construction, pouring a fortune into the institution. Chung, the next chairman, is supporting them. The representative acknowledges that exposure of their corruption would spell disaster, but Dae-hwan counters that he doesn't mind losing his position if it means the school will prosper. He insists that everything he does is out of love for the school. Additionally, they have the unwavering support of a highly intelligent student. Tae-jun receives a call from the broker, who informs him that they couldn't intervene and advises him to be cautious and selective in his battles. Tae-jun worries about expulsion, but the broker reassures him that it won't happen, as they still wield some influence. Tae-jun feels trapped. If he abandons the mission, he loses his status within the Golden Circle, but the situation seems too chaotic for any effective action. He must continually target Hyun-jin, yet the overwhelming support Hyun-jin has makes it seem impossible. However, success would significantly bolster his standing with the Golden Circle. After that tumultuous day, Tae-jun, who had disrupted the school's peace, became an outcast. He was excluded from all extracurricular activities, and whispers followed him wherever he went. Frustrated, he texts his crew, summoning them from Seoul to help take down Hyun-jin. He doubts a mere countryside school can stop him. A few days later, during lunch, Tae-jun finds himself unable to enjoy his meal, uncertain if the food is genuinely bad or if it's the loneliness. His phone buzzes with messages from his group, confirming they are ready to come and confront Hyun-jin. Just then, Hyun-jin sits beside him, commenting on Tae-jun's displeasure with the food, judging by his expression. Tae-jun grips his phone tightly, contemplating if he should attack Hyun-jin right then and there but decides against it, knowing it would only lead to more trouble. He reassures himself that his reinforcements will arrive soon and waits for the right moment. Hyun-jin probes Tae-jun's aggression, suggesting things aren't going as planned. He mentions hearing about the superintendent's dramatic intervention, which quickly fizzled out. Tae-jun retorts that Hyun-jin shouldn't get too comfortable, even if he rules over his little domain. If they met outside the school, one-on-one, Hyun-jin would be easily defeated. Hyun-jin cuts him off, questioning why Tae-jun is behaving this way if he's so confident. Suddenly, a hand appears behind Tae-jun, before he knew he was slammed, to his plate by Shong-ho. Hyun-jin calmly questions Tae-jun, asking what makes him think he can survive here without fear. Why is he acting so boldly in someone else's territory? They drag Tae-jun outside, where Jin-woo and Shong-ho restrain him. Despite his struggles and demands to be released, they manage to subdue him. Once on his knees, Tae-jun begins cursing at Hyun-jin, challenging him to face him directly instead of hiding. To Taejin's surprise, Hyunjin admits to witnessing Taejin's strength firsthand. He acknowledges that Taejin is a B-rank hitman, implying he is quite formidable. However, Hyunjin points out that their levels are too far apart for a fair fight. To balance things out, Hyunjin orders his followers to attack Taejin. The students begin kicking Taejin, hurling insults at him. Jinwoo delivers a particularly heavy blow, followed by an even stronger kick from Seongho. Despite Taejin's strength, he finds himself overpowered and subjected to a one-sided beating. As Taejin reflects on his situation, he realizes he might escape if he can take down just one of his attackers. But then, Hyunjin grabs Taejin's arm, putting it in a lock, taunting him about his chances if he had only one functional arm. Hyunjin begins to pull on Taejin's arm, smiling as Taejin writhes in pain. Taejin's arm feels like it's breaking, and he gasps in agony. Hyunjin breaks his right arm. Hyunjin then instructs Seongho to make Taejin stand. As Seongho forces Taejin to his feet, Hyunjin grabs Taejin by the hair and presents him with two choices. First, Taejin can continue his work for the Golden Circle as he always has. However, this choice comes with immediate consequences. Hyunjin threatens to break his left arm. Without the use of his arms, each day at school would become a living hell for Taejin. The second option is pain-free. Taejin can fully submit to Hyunjin, report to the Golden Circle that the mission was a success, and become Hyunjin's loyal spy. In this role, Taejin would help Hyunjin uncover the identity of the person who hired him. Hyunjin demands Taejin's decision, leaving him to choose between enduring more pain or betraying his original mission. Taejin was taken aback by the proposition. "Are you seriously asking me to betray them?" he asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. He should have known that the Golden Circle was never to be taken lightly. Hyunjin had his answer ready and presented Seongho with an irresistible offer, 100 million won. All Seongho had to do was stab the target. If he refused, Hyunjin assured him there were others he could turn to. He wasn't asking for a murder, just a wound severe enough to have lasting effects but not life-threatening. These unexpected demands left Seongho and the others speechless. Hyunjin pressed his point further, questioning how long it would take them to save 100 million won after graduation. Even with a steady saving of 1 million won monthly, it would take them around 8 to 9 years. Yet, these young men had mistakenly believed their relationship with Hyunjin was ordinary. They were wrong. Hyunjin emphasized the immediate reward, a fortune earned in seconds with minimal effort. They were unaware that the real Hyunjin was a vengeful being, hardened by a decade of malice and a desperate drive for revenge. The gravity of the situation dawned on them, and even Taejin lost his will to fight. Hyunjin reassured them that he would ensure they testified to the police that the stabbing was a harmless prank gone wrong. In Daesan, no one would believe otherwise. A few days earlier, Hyunjin had met with Chul, who handed him Taejin's student record. It confirmed Hyunjin's suspicion that Taejin was a Golden Circle operative. As Hyunjin reviewed the record, he considered the possibility that Taejin, likely a B-ranker, could be defeated in a fight. But defeating Taejin wouldn't suffice. The Golden Circle's confidence indicated strong backing, possibly from the Superintendent of Education. Failure on Taejin's part would prompt them to escalate their efforts, potentially involving higher-ranked operatives. Reflecting on his connections and the unpredictability introduced by figures like Siwoo and Jang Hyuk, Hyunjin realized his plans were far from flawless. The myriad variables made his strategy risky. He needed to manage the situation meticulously and prepare for any contingencies. In this relentless pursuit of revenge, Hyunjin understood that friendship was neither beneficial nor welcomed. His focus was solely on calculating his moves carefully and ensuring every step was taken with utmost caution. Seongho announces his decision to proceed. He declares, "I'll do it. Hyunjin has always treated me well and rewarded me generously." With that, he instructs the other students to hold Taejin. Seongho takes the knife from Hyunjin, fully committing to the deal. As he unsheaths the blade, Taejin desperately tries to reason with him. However, Seongho is resolute, driven by the lure of the money, and swiftly aims for Taejin's abdomen. In the final moments before the inevitable, Taejin opts for the second option and pledges to become a loyal follower. Hyunjin orders Seongho to stop, assuring him that his loyalty will still be rewarded. Seongho agrees to let it go, and Taejin, relieved, plans to contact his broker to resolve the situation properly once he's free. Before Taejin can think further, Hyunjin reveals he knows Taejin's exact address and details about his family, his parents and sister. Startled, Taejin demands to know how Hyunjin obtained this information, but Hyunjin disregards the question. He warns Taejin that he cares little for his family but would relentlessly destroy anyone who obstructs his path. Hyunjin gives Taejin one final chance, remain loyal to the Golden Circle or become his dog. He urges Taejun to choose wisely, emphasizing the gravity of this last opportunity. Taejun's dreams of the Golden Circle flash before him. Faced with Hyunjin's malevolent presence and threats, Taejun realizes the cost of his ambitions, another's life. Bowing his head, he promises once again to be Hyunjin's loyal dog. Hyunjin acknowledges his choice, grabbing Taejun's head and remarking that he made the right decision. Seong-ho returns the knife, questioning if letting Taejun go is wise, considering he could be a future liability. Hyunjin tells him to relax, assuring that any betrayal will be met with severe consequences. He also tells Seong-ho to check his account after school for his promised reward. Additionally, Hyunjin tasks him with discreetly bringing Jae-jin to him immediately. Rumors soon spread throughout the school about a rift between Hyunjin and Seong-ho, which Hyunjin hears but disregards as part of his plan. In the director's office, Chang's brother tries to persuade everyone to support his bid for the director's position. He warns that their father might even make Chang become chairman if things continue as they are. He questions if they can handle the consequences and if they are truly okay with the choices they've made. One member urges him to calm down, pointing out that although Chang got the opportunity, he has yet to prove himself in the workplace. Compared to him, Chang doesn't hold a candle. The brother retorts angrily, calling this thinking foolish, insisting their father will inevitably choose the eldest. Another member suggests reconciling with his wife, but this only frustrates him further, as he has already tried, and the members still think he was in the wrong, making it difficult to regain their trust. A man points out that something is amiss. Chang has always been seen as an idiot, an egotistical jerk, and a womanizer, which is why they all chose to follow the brother instead. But recently, Chang's behavior has changed drastically, suggesting that someone unknown is supporting him behind the scenes. This man, Cheol-jin, the internal director of Myeong-jin Construction, shares his suspicions. The brother asks for more details, and Cheol-jin explains. Chang was the only one who could have benefited from someone else revealing his affair. Chang also began staying on the construction site until the end of the day, never missing work, and handled a concrete accident impressively, suggesting they take down the whole building and restart construction. This didn't seem like the usual Chang. It was clear someone was advising him, but they didn't know who. The brother asks what they should do, and Cheol-jin suggests they find this mystery advisor quickly. They begin spying on Chang. At 6 a.m., he checks the construction project safety, has lunch with the project manager at 2 p.m., and dines with a casual acquaintance at 8 p.m. Frustrated at finding no evidence of an advisor, Chang Suk's men propose various suspects. Some suggest Judge Hwang due to marriage rumors, but this is dismissed as Hwang dislikes Chang. Others suggest Director Kang, but he's considered too simple. Another idea is Sung Shin Construction, as their son is close to Chang, but Chang Suk explains the CEO is currently on good terms with him. Then, one of his men notices something odd about Chang's cash flow, with large sums going to Kyeonil High School for scholarships, gyms, and swimming pools. Chang Suk dismisses this as Chang's habit of spending money frivolously, recalling how he once paid off a bar girl's debt, causing trouble with their father. While most scoff at the school's significance, Cheol-jin sees it as a potential lead. Suddenly, Chang Suk receives a call from a hidden number, which he ignores. Then, he gets a text from the caller, claiming to be Chang's backer and requesting a private meeting. Earlier, Chang had warned Hyunjin that he was being tailed, suspecting someone had been following him with a camera for a week. Chang assured he would be extra cautious and hinted that Chang Suk might be trying to uncover Hyunjin's identity. Hyunjin dismisses the idea that the brother might make a better offer, urging trust and suggesting Chang get a phone with a fake ID to resolve everything. Now, standing with Cheol-jin, Chang Suk asks what to do when they find the backer. Cheol-jin proposes two options: recruit the backer to their side, leveraging his skills to deal a significant blow to Chang. However, if he doesn't join them, they will simply have to eliminate him. Speaking in a disguised voice, Hyunjin confronts Chang Suk, asking why he has been searching for him. Chang Suk decides it's best to be direct and offers to recruit Hyunjin. He points out that while Chang barely managed to graduate high school and he has a degree from a prestigious university, he himself has gained extensive experience from his calculations and work. Given this, who is more suitable to become chairman? Their father will eventually appoint someone who will grow the company. Hyunjin asks how Chang Suk is so sure about that. Chang Suk replies that it's simple, it's how the company has always progressed. Their father might even hand over the company to a management specialist if it means advancement. So, Chang's dream of becoming chairman is unrealistic. He knows that, right? That's why he called in the first place. Hyunjin states that if this is the case, he has one condition. When Chang Suk returns from his conversation, he informs everyone that Chang's backer contacted him, believing Chang Suk is more suited to become chairman. The backer didn't ask for much, only a position as an internal director. Cheol-jin urges reconsideration, noting the importance of the position and the fact that they don't even know the backer. Chang Suk angrily slams the table, telling Cheol-jin to shut up. He argues that Cheol-jin has no right to speak, as he just watched Chang advance without taking any action. Now, he's bringing someone competent on board and expects Cheol-jin to watch his words. Cheol-jin remains calm and explains that it's not that simple. He couldn't act because Chang is the eldest son, and there was no backlash to him becoming director. However, the internal director position is reserved for those with at least 20 years of experience with the company. While he's not suggesting they keep the backer for that long, they should at least test him. Chang Suk dismisses this, stating that tradition is too burdensome and he will change it once he becomes chairman. He promises everyone compensation once he takes the position and abruptly ends the meeting, claiming exhaustion. Despite the meeting's conclusion, Cheol-jin is shocked by what transpired. He recognizes that Chang Suk is also flawed, self-absorbed, abusive, and unfaithful. Cheol-jin knows he isn't a good person, but his support stems from Chang Suk being the lesser evil compared to Chang, who shows no interest in the company. Cheol-jin believes that, at the very least, Chang Suk would put in more effort. Tradition, when disregarded, leads inevitably to fractures. Ultimately, it will be Chang Suk who brings this company to ruin. Despite the potential pain it might cause him, he must speak with the chairman immediately, for the sake of the company and the countless individuals who have devoted their entire lives to it. In an unexpected moment, his phone rings, displaying an unfamiliar number. Upon answering, the caller immediately questions if he supports Chang Suk's decision, suggesting it might be overly severe. Startled, Cheol-jin demands to know the caller's identity and if this is some sort of joke. The caller assures him it is not, revealing no desire to join the board of directors but rather to inform him that Chang Suk and Chang are not as he perceives them to be. Skeptical, Cheol-jin listens as the caller, identified as Hyun-jin, explains that Myung-jin Construction was founded on tradition. In some companies, a directorial position might be offered to anyone, but anyone who understands the chairman's vision and the future trajectory of Myung-jin Construction should not make such promises lightly. Hyun-jin commends Cheol-jin for his pride in being an internal director and urges him to support Chang, insisting he is no longer the same person he once was. This, Hyun-jin insists, should not be seen as a betrayal but as an opportunity to work together for a prosperous future for Myung-jin Construction. A few days later, Cheol-jin confronts Chang, demanding to know who his true backer is. Chang evasively states he cannot disclose that information and asks for Cheol-jin's understanding. Frustrated, Cheol-jin reminds Chang of his early days visiting the construction sites, long before the company's current success. He recalls Chang as a toddler, perhaps 3 or 4 years old, using his little hands to carry bricks and assist with the construction. The sight of him, though not his own child, growing strong and healthy under his father's watchful eye filled him with hope and pride. However, as Chang grew older, Cheol-jin's hopes turned to disappointment. Chang frequently skipped school, sent in place of the chairman, because of his tendency to get into fights. Even as Myung-jin Construction expanded rapidly, Chang was often found drinking, partying, and causing trouble, squandering the opportunities laid before him. This is why Cheol-jin started believing that Chang was not suited for the chairman position. If a family member was destined to inherit the leadership anyway, he thought it would be better if it were Chang Suk, who always strived to gain recognition. But why was he, a mere director, contemplating all this? Because, like his father before him, he had given his all to Myung-jin Construction and could not bear to see it fall into the hands of an incapable man who couldn't even take care of himself. However, he had noticed a change in Chang recently, and it didn't matter who had helped him transform. As long as he delivered results for the company, that was all that mattered. He would not investigate further, but he would state this now: Myung-jin Construction needed people like Chang, and he looked forward to working with him from now on. Meanwhile, in a small restaurant squeezed between a convenience store and a food cafe, Hyunjin's grandmother worked tirelessly to feed her customers, despite their concerns about her overworking herself. She believed it was her duty to work hard to save money for her grandson's tuition. She received a call from someone in real estate, offering to buy her pre-sale rights to the Noblesse apartments, promising a premium of at least 5,000 won if she sold. Later, during dinner, Hyunjin spoke with his grandmother and asked why she continued to work at the restaurant when she didn't need to, given his financial support and her pension. She insisted on working, pointing out that his contributions came from his scholarship, awarded for his academic excellence. She also mentioned being bombarded with calls from real estate agents about the noblesse apartment winnings, with offers ranging from 5,000 to 6,000 won. Hyunjin reflected on the recent surge in Myung-jin's brand value following a successful concrete casting project and recognized Noblesse as a premier apartment complex in Daesan. Leasing it alone would recoup the sale price, making the agent's offers undervalued. He assured his grandmother that the agents were not acting in her best interest and advised her not to sell. She expressed concern about the down payment of 200 million won, a sum she found overwhelming despite securing the pre-sale rights with his help. Hyunjin knew he had the down payment saved in an account provided by Chung but couldn't reveal this to her. Determined to secure a permanent home for them, he promised her that they could manage the payments and even consider renting out the apartment. Reassuring her, he held her hand and vowed to figure it out. She touched his face, grateful for her dependable grandson. Suddenly, Hyunjin received a call and excused himself to answer it. As Hyunjin answers the call, the voice on the other end identifies themselves as a representative from the academy, informing him that his brother, Hyun, did not attend class today. Instead, Hyun had spent the entire day at the library and was now on his way back, trying to align with the academy's schedule. Observing a group of children nearby playing rock-paper-scissors, Hyun felt a twinge of envy. They were still able to enjoy simple pleasures without the burden of responsibilities. Determined to prove himself and succeed without relying on a private academy, Hyun pushed these thoughts aside. Deep in contemplation, he accidentally bumped into someone. It was his brother, Hyunjin. They found a bench and sat down. Hyunjin mentioned his visit to the academy and how they informed him of Hyun's sudden departure. Hyun apologized for not telling him earlier but insisted he was old enough to handle things himself. He pointed out the strain on their grandmother and their financial difficulties, arguing that if only one of them could pursue education, it should be Hyunjin. With his better grades, it made more sense for Hyun to work while Hyunjin focused on academics. Hyunjin was taken aback by his brother's words. He remembered how, after being comatose for 5 years, Hyun had vowed to become a police officer and avenge the people responsible for his condition. But the burden of hospital bills for both him and their grandmother had forced Hyun to abandon his studies. Despite dedicating himself to studying, Hyun had repeatedly failed the exam. Family obligations had held him back, causing him to struggle and ultimately fall into the same cycle of hardship. To alleviate Hyun's worries, Hyunjin showed him a message about winning an apartment lot in Yonggang, one of Daesan's wealthiest neighborhoods. Hyun was astonished. Just then, Chung arrived in his car. Stepping out, he expressed surprise at finding Hyun in a library. Introducing himself as the eldest son of Myung-jin Construction and Hyunjin's strongest supporter, he invited Hyun to verify this information online if he had any doubts. Sitting down between them, Chung explained that since he was already assisting Hyunjin with a scholarship, he intended to cover Hyun's tuition as well. It was the least he could do. Hyun, needing to speak with his teacher, excused himself. Once he was gone, Hyunjin thanked Chung for coming at such a late hour. Chung downplayed the gesture, insisting it was no big deal. He had to look after his best friend, after all. Chung then handed Hyunjin the information he had requested about 3 individuals and informed him that Cheol-jin was now fully on their side. What should their next steps be? Hyunjin explains that they had previously discussed a specific piece of land, Yongwoo real estate in the Sangye area, to be precise. Their first task is to establish a rapport with the local real estate agent there. Hyunjin instructs him to call as soon as a new property becomes available. A few days later, at school, a student with blue hair spreads the news that Hyunjin achieved a perfect score on the 11th mock exam, ranking first nationwide. When Hyunjin arrives at school, he is met with stares and questions from reporters about his grades and the number of private academies he attends. Even Principal Dae-hwan congratulates him, making Hyunjin suspect that the principal orchestrated the attention. Hyunjin steps up to the interview mic, thanking his exceptional teachers for helping him reach this academic milestone. He confirms he didn't attend any private academies and reflects that the Golden Circle's client must be seething with rage, powerless to act. Meanwhile, in a dark alley, the Golden Circle broker confronts Tae-jun, demanding an explanation of the results. Tae-jun reports that Hyunjin and Song-ho are at odds again, and he has managed to isolate Hyunjin, but more time is needed to handle all the variables. The broker, frustrated by the lack of clear progress, warns Tae-jun that this is his last chance to satisfy the client before the holidays. Later, Tae-jun meets with Hyunjin, apologizing for his lateness as he feared being followed by the broker. He shares valuable information, and Hyunjin reflects on his status as a target of the Golden Circle, wondering why they are going to such lengths against him and who might have hired them. He identifies 3 potential clients: Jin Young, a wealthy and academically successful student he might have annoyed, Lee, who fought with him at the semester's start and hasn't spoken since, and has a father with significant influence, and Choi Siona, whose high-ranking government official father might be upset that Hyunjin outperformed her on an exam. Hyunjin used Tae-jun to bait these three and, after today's conversation, has narrowed it down to one. He prepares for the next day, determined to sever ties with the Golden Circle forever. The following day, Chul watches over the boys playing soccer, including Hyunjin, who easily scores before leaving the field. Siona, chatting with a friend, comments on how cool Hyunjin seems. Her friend Haiji warns her to stay away, labeling him a bad boy. Ignoring the warning, Siona approaches Hyunjin and offers him a drink, which he had anticipated. Hyunjin suddenly invites her to talk somewhere private about something important. 15 minutes into the break, Haiji becomes worried when Siona hasn't returned. She then receives a desperate plea for help from Siona, who is trapped in the storeroom. 15 minutes earlier, Siona felt a bit nervous following Hyunjin into such a dark place, but she reassured herself that he was one of the good guys. Hyunjin instructed her to close the door and asked if she knew about the trouble he had been facing recently. She acknowledged, mentioning how people had been picking fights with him constantly. He confirmed this but revealed that most people didn't know someone had orchestrated these attacks. There was a mastermind behind it all. Hyunjin explained that he had set a trap by having Jae-jin, the blue snake, leak information to the people he suspected. He told one person that Hyunjin was having a hard time and was considering transferring. That person showed no sign of happiness, ruling them out. To another person, he mentioned that Hyunjin and Seong-ho were on good terms, which should have infuriated the mastermind, but there was no reaction. Siona began to back away slowly as Hyunjin continued. He told her that the mastermind would have been angry if they thought Hyunjin was still pushing through despite his difficulties. The truth was, his planted spy had observed one student reacting harshly. Hyunjin asked Siona what she thought about this. Just then, Haiji arrived and asked if Siona was okay and where Hyunjin was. Hyunjin, who had been standing behind the door, told Siona to leave as she had completed her part. As she left, Hyunjin slammed the door shut, trapping Haiji inside. It might seem like Siona was the mastermind, but Hyunjin had discovered otherwise. Haiji started to panic, asking what was going on. Hyunjin recounted how he had Chang investigate the three suspects, leading him to an unexpected truth about Siona. He asked Haiji if she knew why Siona transferred from Seoul to Daesun. Siona's brother had been bullied and did something terrible to himself. She lost her brother because of bullies, prompting the family to move for her sake. But such a family wouldn't do something drastic for grades alone. Siona had once said she despised the person who orchestrated the bullying because she couldn't protect her brother. She supported Hyunjin because he was brave. This left only one possibility: Siona had shared the information with someone else. Hyunjin hugged Haiji tightly, revealing her as the one who tried to ruin his life. Haiji denied it and attempted to escape, but the locked door forced her to beg. She insisted they had always been friends, so why would she do something so hurtful? She claimed Siona was the one who hired the attackers, complaining about his grades multiple times. Hyunjin reminded her that Siona's parents resigned from their positions long ago and were not active members of the anti-school violence committee. Could such a family concoct something so vile? Haiji then mentioned her father was a high-ranking police officer, and the Golden Circle had connections with such people. But she realized too late that Hyunjin had never mentioned the Golden Circle during their conversation. Her face contorted with anger as she admitted everything was Hyunjin's fault. If he hadn't been so cold-hearted, none of this would have happened. A few months ago, Haiji had her eyes on Hyunjin, who was tall, attractive, had a great personality, and excelled in sports, the perfect guy in her mind. But many girls had been rejected by him, making her fear rejection despite her popularity. She decided to test the waters by asking for help with homework and touching him accidentally on purpose. Hyunjin's smile made her feel he was interested, so she had a friend ask about his type. When he said he liked hardworking and cheerful girls like her, she thought it was confirmed. She prepared to confess, but for the first time in her privileged life, she faced rejection. Born into a wealthy family, Haiji had never been deprived of anything. This small rejection caused her immense anguish, turning her hostile. Hyunjin laughed at her explanation, but Haiji erupted in an emotional frenzy. She screamed that he was the one dropping hints, making her life hell as he grew more popular and successful while she felt left out and saddened. She never intended for things to spiral out of control. All she wanted was for him to feel the same pain she had endured. She begged for forgiveness, insisting she never intended for things to escalate this far. Hyunjin laughed coldly. Faced with someone whose intentions were purely malicious, Hyunjin steeled himself emotionally and felt nothing. He explained that his rejection wasn't because he disliked her, but because he couldn't afford to date her. She overwhelmed him with gifts, making him feel burdened, so he rejected her out of concern. Haiji took his hand, suggesting that he should have been honest from the start, and urged them to return to their old ways and live peacefully. Hyunjin, however, believed it was too late for that. He grabbed her hair tightly, vowing to destroy her and everything she stood for. He slapped her repeatedly, convinced she would never comprehend his actions. He blamed her for turning him into a vegetative patient and destroying his family. Hyunjin beats her brutally. He couldn't fathom how she could call herself human after inflicting such pain and simply watching. After he finished, he mockingly suggested she find a good plastic surgeon, but warned she wouldn't have the money for the golden circle anymore. Chul entered, alarmed by Hyunjin's violence towards a woman. Hyunjin revealed that she had hired the golden circle, changing Chul's perspective. Despite the excessive beating, Chul agreed she needed to face consequences but warned that her influential father in Daesan wouldn't let it slide easily. Hyunjin, unbothered, instructed Chul to send her home. Her father, upon seeing his injured daughter, was enraged and vowed to imprison everyone involved, even if it meant selling his soul. He called the broker, Young Chon-soo, intending to hold him accountable, but Young was already on a call with Hyunjin, who revealed his identity. After Hyunjin finished with Young, Haiji's father contacted Young, demanding an explanation for his daughter's brutalization. Young, cornered, admitted that despite the Golden Circle's flawless record, this incident had ruined him. He handed over all their dealings to Hyunjin, revealing he had kept insurance in case things went wrong. Haiji's father, enraged but fearful, threatened mutual destruction, but Young dismissed it, asserting that from now on, the consequences were solely his to bear. With that, he hangs up. Suddenly, a visitor calls from outside their home. Young lights another cigarette, reflecting on Hyunjin's recent call. Hyunjin had revealed his exact role and name, mentioning he had just sent Haiji home. Surprised, Young listened as Hyunjin accused him of failing at his job but still pushing boundaries. Hyunjin warned that if his client's identity were exposed, it would spell disaster. Young, thinking quickly, asked if Taejun had betrayed him, suspecting it was the only source of the leaked information. Hyunjin commended his quick thinking but made it clear that this knowledge made Young a threat to the Golden Circle and its future. There was only one solution: silence Young permanently. Hyunjin laid out his demand: if Young valued his life, he should report back to his boss, claiming the job was a complete success and that the client was extremely satisfied. Then, he should send Taejun back to Seoul. Young protested, saying the client wouldn't be pleased, but Hyunjin insisted he prioritize his own safety over others. The unexpected visitor at Hyeji's home turned out to be Hyunjin. He demanded Hyeji's father sit down, despite his initial resistance. Hyunjin calmly insisted, presenting him with two choices. First, he could seek revenge against Hyunjin, reporting the case to the authorities and requesting the Golden Circle to resolve it. However, if this path was taken, Hyunjin would release the evidence provided by Young to the world. This wouldn't destroy the Golden Circle but would certainly eliminate Young and lead to prison time for the father and juvenile detention for his daughter. Hyunjin pointed out the irony: the father would be imprisoned for years, while his daughter would only be in juvenile detention for a few months. Without her father, would she truly be safe from him? The father shouted, accusing Hyunjin of threatening him with petty warnings. Hyunjin, remaining calm, told him that such outbursts were futile. With Chang's backing, he could order Hyeji's legs to be broken and her eyes to be gouged out. If he doesn't believe what he can do, he should look at his daughter right now. Hyeji begins to scream and eventually faints from fear. Hyunjin suggests everyone calm down, offering a second choice. He drops a knife to the floor, ordering the father to cut Hyeji's Achilles tendon with his own hands, ensuring that she remains maimed and unable to unleash her inner demon upon the world. After Hyunjin leaves, Hyeji's mother urges the father to call the police, but he only stares at the knife, feeling trapped. Slowly, he reaches for the knife, acknowledging that they are completely cornered. If he ends up in jail, who will handle Chang and Myungjin construction? Who will protect the family, the house, and the business without him? Picking up the knife fully, he tells his wife this is why children shouldn't be spoiled. Despite her attempts to bring him to his senses, he lunges at Hyeji in desperation and fear before she can escape. Hyunjin meets with Young at a cafe, where Young points out that even if Hyeji's father chooses the more brutal option, Hyunjin isn't done with them. Hyunjin confirms this, explaining that he plans to slowly drive the man to the edge, exposing his illegal actions one by one until he releases the evidence to the public. If the father cuts his daughter's Achilles tendon, Hyunjin will report him for domestic violence, leaving Hyeji crippled, penniless, and alone. Jung asks what Hyunjin is really planning, acknowledging that he bought some time but that the Golden Circle will eventually find out. Hyunjin agrees, explaining that he has a Trojan horse in mind. He didn't give Jung all the material out of foolishness but because he was betting on his survival, knowing Jung was expendable to the Golden Circle. In this world, money talks, so Hyunjin proposes making money through him. Jung laughs, doubting that having Myungjin Construction's backing will be enough to convince him. No matter how pushed he is, Jung insists he won't be an internal spy, as it would constantly put his life at risk. He admits that, just as Hyunjin said, he joined the Golden Circle to climb to the top. He craved money, power, and fame and only handed over control because his fear of the Golden Circle had intensified. Despite this, he questions Hyunjin's plan to create a Trojan horse. What would he gain in return? Myungjin Construction and Hyunjin's trust? It doesn't work that way. Suddenly, Hyunjin says one word, Celestials. This shocks Jung. Hyunjin explains that, for at least the next 2 years, he will oversee the top-tier members. The Golden Line is a natural hierarchy in any vertical society, with classes within it. The top tier consists of politicians, chaebols, and businessmen. In the Golden Circle, a similar hierarchy exists. Members of this tier have their own elite brokers, and the higher the rank, the better the rewards for the broker. Above all, a top-tier broker is once accepted as a top-tier member. Jung is astounded, knowing that the top tier's existence is not widely known. How does Hyunjin know about it? But what if he can make it happen? Naturally, if the Golden Circle discovers any of this, there will be severe consequences. However, after 2 years, Jung could leave Korea without any regrets. Besides, if Hyunjin manages to take down the Golden Circle, it would be an ideal scenario, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Jung asks how Hyunjin will make him a top-tier member. Hyunjin's only request is for Jung to remain silent about this for 1 month. At the end of that month, he will get what he wants. With that, their conversation ends, and Hyunjin takes a bus somewhere. As he travels, he contemplates everything, the Golden Circle, the Golden Line, and the top tier. Jung must wonder how he knows these things, but that's something everyone would discover years later when the Golden Circle finally came into the limelight. Even then, the case was closed without revealing a single top-tier member. For Hyunjin, taking down the Golden Circle is not enough. The wealth and power that created it won't falter easily. It's time for him to take the next step in his plan. Entering a certain building, he meets with Senator Kim Pan-ho of the Prosperity Party, who questions the note Hyunjin sent. He warns that playing such pranks could be dangerous. Hyunjin thinks the senator sounds like a true politician. He sits down and acknowledges how absurd it sounds but asks the senator to hear him out before judging. After all, he's here to make a deal. During his days as a professor, Pan-ho formed numerous connections by looking after the children of powerful people. Leveraging those connections and funds, he was promoted to senator. Just as his past seemed to be fading from memory, Senator Jang Hoyle of the opposing party exposed his corruption to the public. Hyunjin had been waiting for this moment when Pan-ho would need him as much as he needed Pan-ho. Hyunjin questions why Jang Hoyle would make such accusations. He's certain Jang holds no personal grudge and wouldn't gain any political advantage from this. Hyunjin suspects someone asked Jang to do it, someone like Senator Yang Minggu, the leader of the Prosperity Party. Pan-ho warns that Hyunjin's statement is dangerous, but Hyunjin remains confident. He believes Yang orchestrated this to destroy a rising senator without attacking a party member directly. Using Jang as a puppet made it appear more reasonable. Pan-ho is impressed by Hyunjin's insight but asks for a solution. Hyunjin admits there's no perfect solution, acknowledging that powerful people's children often have high grades, which invites gossip. The only way to resolve this is to discredit the messenger. Soon, a story will break about international students doing drugs, with one student's identity hidden, coincidentally, Senator Jang's son studying abroad. Pan-ho laughs, unaware of this, but Hyunjin insists the story will soon hit the news. If Pan-ho plays his cards right, he can escape the scandal unscathed. While it won't completely clear him, it will be enough to avert immediate suspicion. Hyunjin gets up to leave, offering additional plans once Pan-ho feels he can trust him. He gives Pan-ho a week to decide. A few days later, news about Jang's son being a drug abuser spreads, and Pan-ho calls Hyunjin back. He marvels at how Hyunjin, a high school student, knew so much. Hyunjin credits Chang, who has an extensive list of influential friends. Pan-ho, having researched Hyunjin, realizes he controls his school and reached out knowing the truth. Impressed, Pan-ho decides to hear Hyunjin's plan. Hyunjin asks Pan-ho if he plans to run for president. Even if Pan-ho isn't sure, his ambition suggests so. However, Pan-ho lacks a compelling story. he was born into an elite family, followed an elite path, became a professor, and then a parliament member. His top 0.01% life will hinder his presidential bid. Panho asks if Hyunjin is suggesting he give up, but Hyunjin offers to help him become president, acting as his kingmaker. At school, rumors circulate about Hyeji dropping out due to severe injuries. Hyunjin smiles, knowing her father cut her Achilles tendon, a desperate act to protect her. Despite countless other ways to protect his daughter, the father acted irrationally, overwhelmed by emotion. Hyunjin understands, having experienced similar emotions in his past life. With Hyeji out of the way, Hyunjin's focus is now on getting Panho to accept his offer. In his office, Hyunjin explains that Myeongjin Construction will handle the funding. Money laundering is easy in construction, and they will craft a perfect narrative for Panho's presidential campaign. The story will portray Panho as the politician who takes down the Golden Circle, a group Hyunjin explains in detail. Once the Golden Circle becomes a social issue, Panho can rise to prominence by solving it, becoming a star overnight. Hyunjin's responsibilities were clear: he would set the food on the table, and if anything got spilled, he would clean up. Panho understood his task, and Hyunjin assured him he would be given ample time. Meanwhile, Panho was to investigate further. Hyunjin told him that he was the person that second son of Myeongjin Construction was desperately searching for, Chang's true supporter. Leaving school, Hyunjin considered his options. If Panho refused to cooperate, Hyunjin would have to switch to Plan B. This plan carried risks, as the Golden Circle might intervene and Panho could join them, but Hyunjin hoped this scenario wouldn't occur. Suddenly, a large man approached Hyunjin and instructed him to get into a parked car. Hyunjin complied, and soon found himself face-to-face with Panho. Panho was astonished to learn Hyunjin was Chang's backer. Impressed, Panho questioned if Hyunjin had what it took to dismantle the Golden Circle. He also expressed confusion, noting that Hyunjin had never been victimized by the Golden Circle, so why was he so determined to destroy it? Hyunjin's expression darkened as he asked Panho if he had ever felt helpless in the face of sheer malice. He explained that powerful individuals like Panho could easily fight back, but the Golden Circle never targeted such people. Instead, they preyed on the poor and weak, those who couldn't defend themselves. These victims couldn't abandon their education, as their futures depended on it, yet they couldn't rely on adults for help because the Golden Circle's influence made adults wary. Experiencing daily torment, even after school, was akin to living in hell. Hyunjin vowed to break this cycle of violence, recognizing that while violence was a perpetual human issue, he aimed to dismantle the Golden Circle that profited from it. Moved by Hyunjin's determination, Panho agreed to hear his plan. Hyunjin outlined that the Golden Circle maintained its power through extreme secrecy and by avoiding any documented history. His strategy was to recruit a broker to falsify a report, making it seem like the commission concerning him was a success. This would expose the Golden Circle for manipulating results and deceiving clients. As Hyunjin prepared for his senior year and the SATs, he planned to transfer to Seoul to maintain his top ranking nationwide. If he joined a prestigious school in Gangnam as the top student, and the truth about the Golden Circle's failure spread, it would create a significant impact. Hyunjin needed Panho's support to withstand the Golden Circle's attempts to get him expelled. Panho, after considering the proposal, realized they shared a similar drive. He recounted his own ambition to become president simply because he wanted to prove it was possible. He had never failed in life, so why not aim to be the best in the country? He accepted Hyunjin's plan but warned that any failure would lead to abandonment and destruction of any evidence of their collaboration. If Hyunjin could meet these conditions, Panho was on board. After school, Seona approached Hyunjin with something important to discuss. She revealed that Hyeji had dropped out of school and was taken to the emergency room after a recent incident. Seona suspected Hyunjin's involvement. She considered Hyeji a sociopath. Seona offered help to Hyunjin in destroying the school violence, motivated by her brother's death at the hands of similar monsters. Hyunjin, recalling no prior encounters with Seona in his past life, noted her twisted side, now revealed. Given her parents' high-ranking government positions and her father's role as chairman of the Anti-School Violence Committee, Seona could be valuable. However, Hyunjin doubted her commitment. To test her, he asked can she gouge out the eyes of those responsible for her brother's death with a pen, emphasizing the difficulty and consequences of such an act. When Hyunjin broke his opponent's bones, he was ready for his own to be broken as well, and the same principle applied to ruining lives. Hyunjin questioned whether Seona possessed the willpower and determination to follow through with such a grim task. With that, he walked away, advising her never to contact him for such matters. Again, as her frailty would hinder his quest for revenge. He concluded that on this path, which offered no normal life afterward, she had no place. It was best to turn her away now, for her sake and for everyone involved. Just then, Siwoo grabbed Hyunjin's shoulder and asked if he was finished. Hyunjin, in response, inquired if Siwoo had studied. Siwoo confirmed, reminding Hyunjin of the promise he made. Hyunjin thought that his views on Siona applied to Siwoo as well. Although they were together in Daesan for now, their paths would diverge when Hyunjin moved to Seoul. He needed to face the challenges ahead alone, but he would ensure Siwoo could manage without him first. Siwoo pointed to a man and remarked that he was being scouted again, despite previous rejections. The man introduced himself as Ju Byum-suk, a director of Miracle Intensive Academy, and assured this would be the last time he approached Hyunjin. He asked for a moment of Hyunjin's time. Due to Daehwan's relentless pursuit of prestige, various private academies had tried to recruit Hyunjin, only to be turned down. Siwoo advised Hyunjin not to reject Ju too harshly this time and left them to talk. Hyunjin, recalling his previous harsh refusal, asked why Ju had returned. Ju handed him an envelope and explained that he wanted to buy Hyunjin's reputation. Miracle Academy planned to expand to Seoul, and having Hyunjin associated with them would elevate their status. Ju didn't need Hyunjin to attend the academy, he just needed him to acknowledge the rumor of being well taken care of at Miracle. Additionally, Ju offered 100 million won in cash if Hyunjin achieved a perfect SAT score. Hyunjin smiled at the value placed on him but declined, driven by his vendetta rather than material gain. The next day, a woman waited for him at the school gates. Introducing herself as Lee Miso, the admin of the Daechi area Skymom Cafe, she invited him to a cafe for a discussion. She explained that the Skymom Cafe was a community where local parents shared academic information. She made a straightforward proposal: would Hyunjin tutor their children, including her own? She clarified that she didn't expect dramatic academic improvements, as Seoul had many qualified teachers, but wanted him to impart his school knowledge. He would teach once a week, 4 times a month, for 2 million won per student. The classes could be held in Daesan, and they would accommodate his conditions within reason. Unfamiliar with such offers, Hyunjin asked for a few days to consider. Later that night, Hyunjin browsed the Skymom Cafe website and discovered a hidden page for paid members, revealing discussions about him and others who achieved unprecedented grades. In his past life, when the Golden Gate scandal broke, the most vocal were the helicopter parents, intensely focused on their children's futures. They weren't upset about the injustice faced by the bullied victims of the Golden Circle, but feared their own children losing out. Hyunjin saw potential in channeling this behavior for a better cause. He called Miso and agreed to her proposal. The following day, a group of rowdy, spoiled kids, including Miso's son Minwo, arrived at the meeting spot Hyunjin suggested. They immediately began mocking him, calling him a peasant and questioning his ability to teach. Minwo proposed skipping class, but the girls hesitated, fearing their mother's threats. However, Minwo insisted that if they all skipped, their parents would just find another tutor, and that Hyunjin couldn't stop them anyway. Persuaded, they agreed and decided to leave for some fun. While in class, Hyunjin talks with Yong Chon-soo, who shares that thanks to him, he met Lim Cheol-young, the CEO of Future Investment and Securities. Hyunjin explains that Lim's oldest child will be starting high school next year and will undoubtedly engage the Golden Circle. This is Chansu's chance to climb to the top tier. Once Chon-soo is entrusted with this role, he will start providing Hyunjin with valuable insider information. However, Hyunjin warns that if Chon-soo slips up even slightly, the Golden Circle will find out, and he will be on his own. After ending the call, Hyunjin reflects that once Young becomes his spy, he will inevitably learn about the Golden Circle's victims. Hyunjin knows he can't save them all, but his desire for revenge drives him to involve himself in their stories. His memories are now clear, and he feels a strong urge to act. But for now, he has to handle some unruly students who are late to class. The study group is currently at a karaoke place, enjoying themselves. Hyunjin tracks them down, and when he asks if Minwo is there, Minwo stands up, demanding to know who Hyunjin is. Hyunjin punches Minwo in the face, introducing himself as their teacher and demanding respect and proper greetings. Minwo threatens to call his parents, claiming one call will ruin Hyunjin's life and everything he has built. Hyunjin calmly tells him to go ahead and call them, to tell them the truth about cutting his first tutoring session and getting beaten by his teacher. Surprised that Hyunjin is the top student in the nation, Minwo nevertheless calls his mom, Miso, trying to play the victim. He lies, saying he was tired from the trip to Daesan and decided to skip the first day with his friends. Miso immediately scolds him, reminding him that this was his last chance and that he should have listened to his tutor instead of goofing off. She questions when he will stop being a disappointment. Hyunjin takes the phone, puts it on speaker, and explains that he had asked them to be punctual, yet found them at a karaoke parlor. Miso apologizes profusely, stating they never expected their children to act this way. Hyunjin asks if she remembers the right to punish, and she confirms. She agrees that if Minwo or the others misbehave, she will not interfere with whatever punishment Hyunjin decides, regardless of what it is. Hyunjin then gives the children a choice, tutoring or a beating. They choose tutoring, although they are still angry at Hyunjin for making a fuss over an hour of studying. Minwo then turns to his friend, Shin Yumi, asking if she knows anyone in Daisan who can help him get back at Hyunjin. Yumi mentions a person who claims to be Daisan's boss but questions if Minwo's mother will be happy with this decision. Minwo dismisses her concern, saying his mother always forgives him eventually, as blood is thicker than water. Yumi arranges a meeting with the so-called Daisan boss, noting that it has been a while since they last met. 2 days later, Yumi meets with Jin-woo. As they head to their destination, Yumi shares details about their tutor, including his training routine and schedule, to ensure they catch him at the right moment. She expresses concern about Hyunjin's formidable punch, but Jin-woo, confident in his reputation as the Daisan boss, assures her that he will handle the situation easily. Upon arriving at the training gym, Jin-woo forcefully opens the doors and announces his intention to spar with a first-year student. The trainer, impressed by Jin-woo's build, sizes him up. Suddenly, Si-woo appears and questions Jin-woo's presence, causing Jin-woo to freeze, thinking Si-woo was the one who beat up Yumi's friend. However, Yumi's reaction clarifies that Si-woo isn't the one. When Hyunjin enters, Yumi points him out as the person who attacked her friend. Realizing the truth, Jin-woo makes a swift exit, much to Yumi's surprise. Yumi chases after Jin-woo, trying to understand his sudden fear. When she grabs his arm, he pulls away and yells, "Hyunjin is your tutor." Jin-woo then gently holds her and advises her to focus on her studies and avoid contacting him again if she doesn't want her life ruined. He insists that obeying Hyunjin is her only option. Back in the classroom, Hyunjin now has a full group of students and teaches them patiently. Noticing Minwo asleep, he urges them to concentrate. He acknowledges their exhaustion from traveling to Daisan 3 times a week but reminds them of their parents' expectations. If their grades don't improve despite the expensive tutoring, the consequences will be severe. Hyunjin promises that if they perform well on the finals, he will reduce the tutoring sessions to once a week and recommend their parents drop other tutors. He guarantees that following his guidance will secure them a place in a 4-year university. He encourages them to be patient and dedicated. Half a month later, Hyunjin meets with Miso, who is thrilled with the improved grades of all the children he tutored. She congratulates Hyunjin on his perfect score on the final exam and thanks him sincerely. She extends an offer to pay him 10 million won per student per week, along with a bonus to incentivize him. Although Hyunjin isn't motivated by money, he agrees as long as Miso keeps her promises. Before they part, Hyunjin inquires about Miso's husband's occupation. Despite their wealth and commitment to their children's education, Minwo's parents are not associated with the Golden Circle because Minwo's father, Kang Dong-cheol, is the deputy chief prosecutor of the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office. At school, Chul announces the start of winter break and encourages everyone to study during the vacation, emphasizing the importance of their future. He also invites Hyunjin to visit if anything happens during the break, reassuring him that his door is always open. Initially, Hyunjin viewed Chul as a potential disruptor to his plans, but he has come to see him as more of a harmless, fortunate charm. They exchange well wishes for the vacation, and Hyunjin decides to let Chul enjoy his current life for now, knowing that when his plans come to fruition, Chul's path will be fraught with difficulties. As Hyunjin and Si-woo head to the gym, Hyunjin reflects on Chul. Once his plans are fully in motion, Chul will face numerous challenges and obstacles. Upon arriving at the gym, they ask their coach to evaluate their martial arts skills. The coach praises Si-woo's striking techniques but notes his weakness in grappling, suggesting he has the potential to be a competent amateur. Hyunjin, on the other hand, is judged to be capable of competing with lower-ranked professionals due to his excellent judgment and boldness, though his physical maturity is still lacking. Hyunjin asks the coach if he can help them bulk up during the winter vacation to address this issue. At 5 a.m., their training begins with a long run, followed by intense strength training exercises, including barbell push presses, pull-ups, and lunges. The coach also prepares nutritious meals for them, emphasizing that proper nutrition is essential for their progress. Despite the rigorous training and forced meals, which cause Hyunjin to vomit, he remains determined to push through the pain and exhaustion. Hyunjin knows that if the coach discovers his struggles, he would likely reduce the training intensity, so he hides his discomfort. He is motivated by his inability to defeat Taejun, a lowly B-ranker, in a one-on-one fight. This is just the beginning, and Hyunjin resolves to endure whatever it takes to crush the Golden Circle. He recalls the misery and desperation he felt in the past, constantly begging for a second chance. Now, he is driven by the desire for revenge, even if it means sacrificing his own well-being. Si-woo, concerned about Hyunjin's condition, approaches the coach, fearing that Hyunjin's relentless training will cause him serious harm. The coach, understanding Hyunjin's determination, decides to let him continue. He knows that if he stops Hyunjin, he will find a more dangerous alternative. Although he doesn't fully understand what drives Hyunjin, he recognizes that Hyunjin will not stop, so he allows him to make his own decisions. After 5 weeks of training, Hyunjin shows significant improvement. His attacks are faster, stronger, and heavier. He asks the coach to assess his current level. The coach acknowledges the rapid development of Hyunjin's muscles but notes that they are not yet fully dense. When Hyunjin asks what would happen if they fought, the coach invites him to the ring to find out. Equipped and ready, they bump fists and the match begins. The coach tests Hyunjin's reaction speed with an initial attack, impressed by Hyunjin's focus and dedication. However, Hyunjin still leaves himself vulnerable, likely due to overconfidence. The coach decides to correct this by teaching him through experience. Hyunjin lands a swift gut punch on the coach and presses forward, creating opportunities despite the circumstances. He knows that regardless of the opponent or conditions, he must win. Excuses like the enemy being too strong or too numerous would only hinder his future and his quest for revenge. The coach launches a powerful but exposed attack, giving Hyunjin the opportunity to land an uppercut. Despite this, the coach retaliates with a much stronger uppercut of his own, commending Hyunjin for his skills and hard work while reminding him of the harsh realities he has yet to understand. Hyunjin loses consciousness but later wakes up to Si-woo's concerned face. Si-woo reassures him, saying that it's not Hyunjin's weakness, but rather their coach's monstrous strength that made the difference. Their coach wasn't a champion without reason, he took Hyunjin's attacks effortlessly and overpowered him with ease. Hyunjin laughs, recalling that the first time he fought the coach, he couldn't even lift his fist. It was a complete thrashing back then, but this time was different. Though he still lost, the coach took the fight seriously, and Hyunjin is confident that he will become much stronger within a year. Later, Hyunjin meets with Chang, who is astonished by Hyunjin's transformation and newfound intensity. Chang informs him that the house Hyunjin was interested in has finally come up for sale. Puzzled by Hyunjin's choice, as the entire neighborhood is deserted and seemingly unsuitable for a villa or shopping center, Chang speculates about the potential use of the property. Hyunjin reveals that he received insider information from Senator Kim Panho about the land's future value. Upon hearing this, Chang promptly buys the land, much to the relief of the landowner who did not expect anyone to purchase it at 500,000 won per square meter. Generously, Chang even doubles the price. Hyunjin explains that a large-scale industrial park will be constructed between Sejong City and Daesan City, and part of the land will be expropriated for a freeway connection. This strategic location will make the property highly profitable. Hyunjin shares that in his previous life, a similar plot of land saw a 2,000% increase in value due to favorable developments. He asks Chang if he noticed the cadastral map, explaining that the landlocked 20,000 pyong plot behind their purchase is currently worthless but could be incredibly valuable if combined with their lot. Even at the current low price, the combined land could generate a profit of at least 30 billion won. Myeongjin Construction's reputation for adding premium value would further enhance its worth. This project could prove Chang's capability as the chairman of the company. Walking to school, Hyunjin contemplates his rigorous training regimen, Chang's financial support, and Panho's influence, recognizing that he still lacks sufficient force. He acknowledges that he needs a group of strong allies like Chonsu or Seongho to execute his plans. He resolves to perfect his strategy during his second year, knowing that there is much to prepare. As the seasons change, March arrives, marking the start of a new school term. At the back of the school, a group of delinquents discuss rumors about a dangerous sophomore who recently defeated Shin Young-min. One of the freshmen, Young Hyuk-jin, dismisses these claims, asserting that no one can beat Shin Young-min. Suddenly, someone demands that Young put out his cigarette. Young reacts aggressively but is restrained by his friends when they realize the person confronting them is Hyunjin. Reluctantly, Young complies, not wanting trouble. On the school roof, Hyunjin gathers a group and reveals his plan to eliminate senseless thugs like Shin Young-min and establish order at Kyeonil High. He intends to expand this effort to all schools in Daesan within 6 months. Seung-ho warns that this will inevitably lead to conflicts with other schools. Many students are aware of the Golden Circle and have formed alliances, making it crucial to have justifiable reasons for any fights. Hyunjin promised them to give 500 for each school and extra for taking down bullies to the key person. Few days later, in Class 1, Jang was bullying a student with thought of dominating the freshman. Hyunjin arrives and beat the shit out of him. Chul arrives but seeing Hyunjin in class he returns. Hyunjin warns him that bullying is not allowed here, making him an example so no one dare to do that again to anyone. On other hand, Jae-jin spread the word that Hyunjin is going to dominate all school in Daesan and whoever joins him will get hundreds in their bank account. With Chang's expert's help, Hyunjin learns that Young Haeman from ICT High School, a skilled fighter and Golden Circle mercenary, is central to the transformation of Daesan into a place resembling Gangnam. To counter this, Hyunjin plans to use the victims of these thugs as his justification for action. At Daesan Jail High Staff Room, a student is reprimanded by a teacher for stealing 500,000 won from other students. Despite his apologies and promises to return the money, the teacher demands punishment. After that is over, Sung Dae-hoon is dragged out in an alley by bullies. Dae-hoon's tormentor mocks him, suggesting that instead of stealing money, he should beg, given his dire circumstances. The others merely watch as the bully continues, bringing up Dae-hoon's recent whipping and expressing a desire to see the extent of his teacher-inflicted punishment. Despite Dae-hoon's pleas for mercy, the bully persists, reminding Dae-hoon of a middle school promise to obey him no matter what. Reluctantly, Dae-hoon exposes his bruises to the bullies, who only mock him more viciously. The bully then demands more money, and when Dae-hoon refuses, he kicks him in the stomach, threatening to attack his mother's snack bar if he continues to resist. Dae-hoon finally snaps, screaming for the bully to stop. This, however, only prompts the bully to prepare for an even more severe beating. At this moment, Hyunjin appears and punches the bully, scattering the onlookers who question his identity. As Hyunjin takes them down, he calmly explains that he is Dae-hoon's friend. Dae-hoon, who endures daily bruises and dark thoughts of violent revenge, finds solace when he receives an email from a group that addresses school violence. They offer to exact revenge on his behalf if he provides details of his bullying. Hyunjin, acknowledging the harshness of the world, criticizes those who dismiss such bullying as mere pranks, noting the lifelong trauma inflicted on victims and the impunity enjoyed by bullies. The next day at Jail High, Hong Ryul, the bully's older brother, confronts Dae-hoon, demanding to know if he is the one involved. When Dae-hoon remains silent, Ryul strikes him, insisting he show respect and acknowledge his actions. Dae-hoon hands over his phone, explaining that his friend intervened and provided his number for further confrontations. Ryul calls the number, immediately accusing Hyunjin of assaulting his brother. Hyunjin calmly clarifies, explaining that he only retaliated after his friend, Dae-hoon, had been bullied by Hong Jin for 4 years. Dae-hoon's tormentor not only beat him and stole his money but also forced him to run errands and complete his homework. Recently, he humiliated Dae-hoon by making him strip in front of others. Confronted by Hyunjin, Dae-hoon's friend, the bully's older brother, Hong Ryul, receives an ultimatum: if he's a decent brother, he'll make his younger brother apologize, ending the conflict peacefully. However, Ryul dismisses this, seeing nothing wrong with his brother tormenting Dae-hoon. Hyunjin questions Ryul's loyalty, given his brother's misdeeds, but Ryul stands firm, even challenging Hyunjin to a fight if necessary. With a grin, Hyunjin agrees, arranging a time and place, and reveals his name is Hyunjin from Kyanil High. At the agreed location, both sides arrive with their respective reinforcements. Ryul suggests a compromise, warning that a fight could escalate into a war between their schools. He proposes mutual apologies to resolve the issue. Hyunjin, suspecting Ryul's motives, scoffs at the idea, stating only Hong Jin owes an apology. Realizing the situation's gravity, Ryul reluctantly forces his brother to apologize. Hong Jin, initially defiant, eventually complies under pressure, muttering a barely audible apology. Dae-hoon then reveals that Hyunjin offered him 2 choices: either end the conflict with a promise from Hong Jin to stop the bullying or seek revenge. Although the first option was safer, Dae-hoon chose the second, driven by a desire for retribution. As Hong Jin's weak apology ends, Hyunjin suddenly punches him, signaling Dae-hoon's decision to make him suffer equally. Hong Jin collapses, and Ryul orders his group to attack, igniting an all-out brawl. Seung-ho charges into the fray, effortlessly taking down opponents, motivated by a promised bonus from Hyunjin. When an assailant tries to ambush Seung-ho, Si-woo intercepts with a powerful kick, eager to prove his loyalty and usefulness to Hyunjin. Siwoo's determination stems from his desire to remain by Hyunjin's side, no matter the cost. The other students also charge in, eager for the bonus, surprising the other school with their fearless approach despite being outnumbered. Realizing the worsening situation, Ryul decides there's only one option: take down Hyunjin. He believes that defeating Hyunjin will demoralize his subordinates and secure their victory. However, Hyunjin is much stronger and lands a powerful punch that sends Ryul flying back to his starting point. Hyunjin crouches down to Ryul's level and plays back a recorded phone conversation. Ryul, bewildered, asks what Hyunjin plans to do with it. Hyunjin explains that Daehyun's testimony alone could lead to disciplinary action, but with the recorded evidence, Ryul's life would be ruined. In desperation, Ryul asks what Hyunjin wants. Hyunjin states his demand: today's fight was solely between Jail High and its students. If Ryul mentions the incident to anyone, there will be severe consequences for him and his loved ones. When Ryul hesitates to answer, Hyunjin begins to pull out one of his front teeth, causing Ryul to scream in agony while others watch in horror. After the tooth extraction, Hyunjin remarks that Ryul took too long to respond and should blame himself. The next day at school, Daehyun bumps into someone who initially tries to reprimand him. However, upon seeing Daehyun's face, the person is reminded of Hyunjin and quickly apologizes and runs away. Daehyun is astonished. Those who once bullied him now flee in fear. School becomes peaceful for him once more, and he knows he must keep his promise. Rumors about Daehyun's situation soon spread and turn into facts when he posts on Hyunjin's social media page, thanking him for saving him from his bullies. He offers others the same opportunity, stating that if they want to inflict the same pain on those who ruined their lives, all they need to do is send an email, and their dreams will come true. While some are apprehensive, others are eager, knowing that if anyone from their tormentors appears, Hyunjin will deal with them. One day, a student talking nonsense is suddenly confronted by Hyunjin, who asks if he's Mo. Shocked that a stranger knows his name, Mo inquires how Hyunjin knows him. Hyunjin reveals that he learned everything about Mo from an informer and lists Mo's offenses, including violence, ostracism, extortion, and theft. Frightened, Mo drops his cigarette and, along with his friends, charges at Hyunjin, thinking they can overpower him. Hyunjin removes his hood and remarks that Mo truly lives up to his reputation as a good-for-nothing, then proceeds to beat them. Elsewhere, Shangho handles another group of bullies, informing Hyunjin of his progress. After Daehyun's social media post went viral, it attracted numerous emails from people seeking help. Siwoo also confronts a bully, reminding him of the pain he inflicted on others by taking their money, burning them, and beating them. He tells the bully that a normal life is no longer possible for scum like him. At Daesan ICT High School, a group of bullies torment their victims. One of them asks Haemin what his plan is regarding Hyunjin and his crew, fearing they too might become targets. Haemin acknowledges Hyunjin's toughness because he took down Shin Youngmin but questions why he's causing trouble in Daesan instead of sticking to Keenil. He instructs the guy to call Ryul, leveraging their relationship where Ryul can't refuse his requests. When Ryul arrives, Haemin explains that Hyunjin is simply responding to requests from victims, gaining moral high ground in the process. He criticizes Hyunjin for not leaving the weaklings alone, like he did when he was less powerful. Haemin expresses concern that Hyunjin will likely target him too, and Ryul agrees. Haemin then asks Ryul to report to a teacher that he was brutally bullied by Hyunjin. If word spreads about this, they could take legal action against Hyunjin. Ryul hesitates, finding the task daunting, but Haemin forcefully reminds him of their friendship and insists he comply. Haemin vows to handle Hyunjin himself, viewing him as a weakling. Meanwhile, Daehoon is called into a meeting with teachers who confront him about his social media post suggesting he hired someone to commit violence on his behalf. They warn that Hyunjin will be punished, regardless of Ryul and his brother's actions. When asked to explain, Daehoon denies Hyunjin's involvement, arguing hypothetically about finally receiving help after years of bullying. He maintains that Hyunjin is not connected to the incident, despite the teacher's suspicions. Outside of school, Haemin gathers his group and outlines his theory that Hyunjin is establishing a system across schools to swiftly deal with bullies in his territory. Haemin deduces that Hyunjin is using the issue of school violence as a pretext to take over Daesan, which he finds unacceptable. One subordinate asks what they should do, and Haemin responds that they need to break Hyunjin's spirit in a particularly cruel way. Elsewhere, a student named Hojin is relentlessly bullied, blamed for becoming trash because he initially defended someone else. His bully, Jonghyun, claims Hojin brought this upon himself and must now pay for the stress he caused. Suddenly, Hyunjin appears, confronting Jonghyun and asking if he is the trash standing before him. Seeing Hyunjin, Hojin apologizes, explaining that he had no choice but to follow the plan to protect his brother from harm. Haehyun silences Jonghyun with a punch, and suddenly, a swarm of students arrives, including Haemin, who greets Hyunjin with a smirk. Haemin remarks that Hyunjin has brought this upon himself by trying to take over Daesan. This entire situation was a trap, and Haemin sarcastically asks if Hyunjin is happy with all the attention. Hyunjin surveys the crowd, estimating about 100 people, and comments on their apparent abundance of free time. He then decides to share a story with them, revealing the identity of the Speaking from Daesan social media page admin, Jae-jin, the blue-haired snake. As the admin, Jae-jin could see the authors of posts and comments, and to gain favor with Hyunjin, he fully cooperated with Hyunjin's plan. Hyunjin tells Haemin that he has a close relationship with Jae-jin, who knows the identities of those posting anonymously. Suddenly, a group of people, including the bullies Hyunjin had previously defeated, appear behind him. These former bullies now seek to shed their old titles. Hyunjin reassures Hojin, telling him not to regret trying to save his friend, even though it made him Haehyun's puppet. Hyunjin asserts that the real trap was set for the bullies, who will now face their comeuppance. Earlier, Hyunjin had confronted Ryul, asking who he thought was responsible for sending his friend from Kyanil, Young Min, to juvenile detention. Hyunjin threatened to do the same to Ryul, who, terrified, begged for forgiveness, promising to avoid any further trouble. Hyunjin, seeing an opportunity, decided to use Ryul for his own purposes, instructing him to gather everyone from Ja'il and have them ready to act on his command. Haemin observes that Hyunjin only has about 20 guys with him, a much smaller number than his own group, and includes the guys Hyunjin had previously beaten. Haemin mocks Hyunjin for recruiting weaklings and spots Ryul among them, questioning his sanity. Ryul, unfazed, retorts that the situation at Daesan is irrelevant to him. He accuses Haemin of being delusional for thinking he is the top dog and questions his authority to order them around. Haemin asks if Ryul can handle the consequences of his actions, but Ryul declares he won't be handling anything. He asserts that the strongest among them will take over Daesan and doubts Haemin can defeat Hyunjin. Ryul provocatively suggests Haemin fight Hyunjin one-on-one, implying that a victory would earn Haemin much respect. This challenge was orchestrated by Hyunjin, who now cracks his knuckles and asks Haemin what he plans to do. If Haemin accepts, Hyunjin would relish beating him publicly. If he refuses, Hyunjin has another plan. Haemin, weighing his options, acknowledges Hyunjin's strength but notes their numerical advantage. Hyunjin mocks Haemin's hesitation, declaring he will begin cleaning up the place. Hyunjin methodically defeats Haemin's men, one by one, surprising Haemin. Seeing Hyunjin's determination to fight alone, some of Haemin's remaining men hesitate, but others charge in. Siwoo recalls Hyunjin's earlier instructions not to act. Hyunjin knows he can't defeat all 100 students, but he needs to demonstrate the consequences of disobedience. He recalls how Gangnam has tougher, more organized groups, with many individuals stronger than Taejun. He has to be prepared for anything and only seek help when absolutely necessary. If he can't handle this, he won't be able to exact his perfect revenge. Shangho, concerned, asks Siwoo if he'll be okay. Siwoo reassures him, emphasizing that they must trust him and stay back as instructed. An orange-haired student, furious with the situation, orders the others to attack Hyunjin, calling him just one man. They comply and manage to land a few hits, but Hyunjin quickly rebounds, his trademark evil grin plastered on his face. Haemin, stunned, realizes Hyunjin is truly insane. Hyunjin thinks they should see this through, no matter the cost, and won't back down while he's conscious. Haemin watches in shock as Hyunjin systematically takes down his men, all while wearing a sinister smile. Realizing the best option is to flee, Haemin tries to escape, but the others call him out for cowardice. Distracted, they fall victim to Hyunjin's brutal counterattacks. The orange-haired student, fed up, tells everyone to stand back and charges at Hyunjin. Hyunjin effortlessly dodges the attack, seizing the moment to tackle and pin him to the ground. He recognizes the student as Yoo Jong-yoon and begins a relentless assault. The others rush to help, but stop in their tracks, horrified by the savage beating. Eventually, Jong-yoon begs for mercy, conceding defeat. Hyunjin's allies cheer, and Shangho instructs everyone to clear the area, with Siwoo following suit. Hyunjin stands and declares that from now on, all high schools in Daesan will follow Kyanil High's orders. They will come when called and leave when told. With no objections, the matter is settled. 2 weeks later, rumors of Haemin's cowardice spread, and he finds out. Even if he had beaten Hyunjin, he knows Hyunjin would have retaliated with far greater force. Angered, Haemin tells his classmates to stop gossiping. Just then, Hyunjin peers through the door and calls his name. Hyunjin taunts him, mentioning something he couldn't say before Haemin ran away. Does Haemin know Moon Byung-seon? Hyunjin received a touching email from him. Haemin, recognizing the name as a golden circle target, knows he must silence Hyunjin to keep this secret. Haemin charges, questioning why it matters if he knows Moon Byung-seon. Hyunjin, unmoved, effortlessly knocks Haemin out with a single punch. Haemin wakes up in the infirmary, the principal by his side. He immediately plays the victim, insisting Hyunjin, not a student of our school, should be punished. The principal, however, sides with Hyunjin, noting Haemin threw the first punch and that witnesses confirmed his troublemaking history. Furious, Haemin threatens legal action, but the principal's demeanor changes. Leaning closer, he asks if Haemin knows Moon Byung-seon. While Haemin was unconscious, Daehwan covered for Hyunjin, allowing him and Principal Yeonseok to strike a secret deal against the Golden Circle. The principal leans in closer, his voice cold and threatening, and tells Haemin that if he doesn't want his life completely destroyed, he should shut up and get lost. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Haemin, Hyunjin has already begun laying plans to drag him into utter ruin. As Haemin walks the streets, he reflects on how this day has been the worst of his life. First, he got expelled because of Hyunjin, then his father called, blaming him for losing his job. Little does Haemin know that this, too, is Hyunjin's doing. Out of nowhere, Haemin receives a call from Byung-seon. Byung-seon mentions that he heard about Haemin's misfortunes, but he shouldn't be surprised. Even Jo Dongjuan's family has fallen apart because of Hyunjin. If Haemin doesn't know who Jo Dongjun is, he's the one who hired the Golden Circle to target him. Byung-seon warns that Hyunjin vowed to ruin his and his clients' lives, so even Haemin's career as a fitness trainer is at risk. Just then, Songho and Siwoo appear. Byung-seon tells Haemin something crucial. His dreams might not come true because, starting today, he won't be able to use his hands no matter how hard he tries. At Daesan Science High School, two students discuss the recent surge in street fights. Suddenly, one of them accidentally bumps into someone and starts yelling, demanding an apology. The person he bumped into, who had already apologized, is none other than Hyunjin's brother, Hyun. The yellow-haired bully, unimpressed, claims his shoulder hurts and demands more groveling. Hyun calmly explains that he was the one at fault for not watching where he was going, but the bully doesn't listen and slaps him across the face, asking if he has a death wish. Last winter, Hyunjin asked Hyun which high school he wanted to attend. Hyun, wanting to follow in his brother's footsteps, expressed a desire to attend the same school and eventually the same university. Hyunjin, thinking of his brother's safety, suggested Daesan Science High School instead, promising it would be the perfect fit for someone like him. Smiling, Hyun agreed, trusting his brother's judgment. Back in the present, both Hyun and Byung-soo, the yellow-haired bully, are taken to their homeroom teacher. Hyun explains that he was just walking when Byung-soo picked a fight, despite his attempts to apologize. Byung-soo, trying to defend himself, yells that Hyun hit his shoulder and wanted to fight. The teacher, seeing through Byung-soo's lies, doesn't allow him to continue his defense, leaving Byung-soo fuming and thinking that the teacher is too stupid to understand the situation. Homeroom teacher Hakbyum is aware of the incident and now faces the challenge of addressing it. He decides to call both students' guardians to school the next day, despite Hyun's reluctance. Hakbyum insists that it's necessary. As they part ways, Byung-soo warns Hyun, saying that if he doesn't accept the situation, his grandmother will suffer, and it will be Hyun's fault. Hyun tells Byung-soo to stop talking to him, but Byung-soo gives one final warning. His father owns a construction company, their homeroom teacher is likely a suck-up, and his brother is the top dog at Daesan Future High. Byung-soo taunts Hyun, saying he should have stayed in his place like the orphan he is. The next day, Byung-soo's father, Han Chul-ho, arrives, visibly angry about the incident. He insists that the other child is to blame. Other teachers pressure Hakbyum to accept that it was entirely Hyun's fault and to take disciplinary action against him alone, arguing that the other student needs to focus on his studies. Chul-ho adds that if Hyun's guardian apologizes, he will drop the matter. Hakbyum, however, stands firm, asserting that his duty is to guide his students correctly, not to appease powerful parents. He tells Chul-ho that Hyun's guardian is waiting in the counseling room. Chul-ho reluctantly follows, grumbling that they will crush their opponents. In the counseling room, they find Hyunjin, who explains that Hyun's grandmother couldn't come, so he is representing her. Upon seeing Hyunjin, both Chul-ho and his son fall silent. Hakbyum states that a witness saw Byung-soo hit first. Chul-ho immediately apologizes, agreeing to discipline his son at home. Byung-soo's brother also tells him to apologize, which confuses Byung-soo. His brother hits him and orders him to apologize, which he does. Hakbayam announces plans for formal disciplinary action against Byung-soo, to which Chul-ho agrees. After the session, Hakbayam asks Hyun-jin to stay behind for a private conversation. Hakbayam reveals that despite being labeled a goody two-shoes, he is committed to ensuring his students lead proper lives. He admits to disliking the rumors about Hyunjin's backing by Daesan's elite, but he values having a good student like Hyun in his school. Hyun-jin reflects that Hakbayam's dedication was why he wanted his brother to attend this school. In his previous life, Hakbayam was fired for defending a student targeted by the Golden Circle but never stopped caring for his students. Hyun-jin assures Hakbayam that he trusts him to act in the best interest of the students and that he will gladly accept any punishment for Hyun if he misbehaves again. Outside, Byung-soo's father and brother scold him for underestimating his opponent. Byung-soo, confused, asks why they are worried. His brother explains that Hyun is the younger brother of the notorious Kim Hyun-jin of Kianil High, a figure not to be trifled with. When Hyun-jin exits the classroom, he tells Byung-soo to follow him because he has something to say. However, noticing only Byung-soo is following, he angrily asks why his brother and father aren't coming too. They eventually follow him to a discreet spot. Byung-soo immediately drops to his knees, apologizing profusely. His father also apologizes, admitting it's his fault for raising his son this way and promising it won't happen again. Byung-soo's brother adds that he'll beat some sense into Byung-soo if necessary to ensure it doesn't happen again. Hyun-jin warns them that a single phone call from him could ruin the construction company owner who can't raise his son properly and consign the brother who can't control Byung-soo to a hospital bed for life. Now that Hyun-jin has the support of everyone in Daesan, anyone who crosses him can be dealt with swiftly. Terrified, they all beg for forgiveness, insisting it was an accident and they didn't mean it. Seeing Hyun's beaten face triggers Hyunjin's repressed trauma and rage. He steps closer to Byung-soo, demanding to know who he thinks he is to lay a hand on his brother. Hyun-jin threatens to tear Byung-soo and his family apart but holds back for his brother's sake. He orders Byung-soo to go to his brother immediately and beg for forgiveness on his hands and knees. A little while later, Byung-soo does just that, apologizing with everything he's got for his thoughtlessness. Everyone watches as the prideful Byung-soo grovels. Hyun, different from Hyun-jin, tells him it's fine and he can stand up. Hyun acknowledges the difficulty of apologizing publicly and accepts his apology, warning him never to do it again. Hyun's childlike innocence and kindness are traits Hyun-jin wants to protect, which is why he sent him to Daesan Science High School. From that day on, Hyun's world begins to change. Others start to suck up to him, and seniors come by to meet him, promising to deal with anyone who messes with him. Hyun knew his brother was popular but didn't realize the extent. Hyun quickly becomes the talk of the town, with many eager to see how he will wield his newfound power. However, he chooses to do nothing significant, and soon June arrives with warmer days. In Chang's office, one of his employees announces that they have succeeded. The government has officially announced the Sejong City reconstruction project. Chang is delighted, feeling their hard work has finally paid off. A few months earlier, there was a heated debate at the Myeongjin construction conference room about the land buy and expansion. Chang Suk's side thought it was a terrible idea, while Chang's side saw it as a fantastic opportunity. They believed buying the land at a bargain price and developing a luxury villa complex would be highly profitable. They also noted that Daesan City's road plan was already in its early stages, presenting a low-risk situation. Chang Suk, however, argued that during a real estate boom, they should focus on proven money-making ventures rather than speculative projects. With people eager to buy any buildings or apartments they construct, diverting manpower to a luxury villa complex seemed inefficient. He questioned how the executive director, Chang, could support such a risky change. Chang responded confidently, explaining that the land wasn't going anywhere. All they needed to do was wait for the right moment, and everyone would see the wisdom of his plan. Chang Suk is frustrated, unable to understand why he doesn't see the bigger picture. If he wants to become executive director, he needs to stop whining and focus on the company's future. Their father silences both of them, reminding them that Chang is in charge of this project. Whether it succeeds or fails, the responsibility and the results will fall on Chang. Chang promises not to let them down, confident in their success. In a present-day meeting, an employee explains the potential profit from the land alone could be 30 billion. Once the industrial park is completed, its value could soar even higher. Witnessing Chang's dedication and effective management, the father decides it's time to announce that the next chairman of Myeongjin Construction will be the executive director, Go Chang. Naturally, Chang Suk is furious, arguing that Chang's few successes shouldn't determine the future leadership. The father counters that Chang's focus on the company's welfare makes him a better fit for chairman, unlike Suk, who opposed the land deal out of personal ambition. The other executives agree, and Suk feels his world collapsing as they urge him to step down and live peacefully. Outside, Suk is in disbelief at his ousting. He decides to take drastic measures and calls a reporter to arrange a meeting. Meanwhile, Chang brings Hyunjin to the cafe where they first met, reminiscing about how he initially thought Hyunjin was crazy. He reveals he trusted Hyunjin because of his unabashed greed, which assured Chang that Hyunjin would make him chairman. Now, Chang promises to support Hyunjin in any way possible. Suddenly, Chang receives a call alerting him to an article claiming he is an illegitimate son, born from an affair. Suk, sipping wine, revels in the chaos, thinking his older brother should have stayed in his place. The accusation stems from their mother discovering their father's affair years ago, with the woman allegedly having a child, Chang. Chang, distressed, tells Hyunjin to do whatever it takes to remove the defamatory articles, even if it requires bribery. Apologizing to Hyunjin, Chang says he must act immediately to address Suk's mess, which is unforgivable. Hyunjin cautions that attacking Suk won't solve anything and might cost him everything he has worked for. Chang, however, is determined, feeling compelled to act as his mother is hurt. At this critical moment, Hyunjin reveals a shocking truth: the illegitimate child is not Chang but actually Chang Suk. In his past life, when the illegitimate child scandal broke out, Chang had responded by breaking Chang Suk's jaw. This incident deeply disappointed their father, who then hired a specialist operations manager to take over, marking the beginning of the scandal. Now, Hyunjin is more interested in the strange dynamics within the family rather than Chang Suk's violent tendencies. At that time, the succession race favored Chang Suk, yet he had exposed the scandal himself. Despite appearing to be the more suitable heir, their father supported Chang, keeping the company silent about the matter. Their mother always solved Chang's problems, no matter what, while ignoring Chang Suk. When Chang Suk studied abroad, their mother, who embraced the presumed illegitimate child of her cheating husband, never visited him. After digging deeper, Hyunjin discovered that Chang Suk, not Chang, might actually be the illegitimate child. He asks Chang why he didn't use this information to his advantage, which would have disqualified Chang Suk from the succession race for good. Chang explains that their father was not a good man. He drank excessively, cheated, and even abused their mother. One day, during a particularly intense fight between his parents, young Chang tried to comfort his mother. Touched by his words, she revealed that Chang Suk wasn't his brother, but she had no choice but to raise him. She saw their father in Chang Suk, which caused her even more pain. Chang suggested she divorce their father and take a large alimony check, but she insisted that despite everything, they were still family. This is why Chang never used the information against Chang Suk. He didn't want to tie the family's struggles to the competition for the chairman position. He would rather forego the chairmanship than hurt his mother further. Hyunjin comes up with a brilliant idea that could resolve the situation peacefully without hurting anyone. He asks Chang if he'd like to discuss it. The next day, in the press room of Myungjin Construction, Chang steps up to the podium and introduces himself as the executive director. He begins by apologizing for disappointing many people with his family issues. He acknowledges the affair his father had and confirms that a woman was pregnant with his child, but clarifies that he is not that child. He presents a DNA test proving he is the son of the chairman and his wife, hoping to dispel any doubts. A reporter asks if there is another illegitimate child they need to know about. Chang confirms there was, but explains that the child died in a miscarriage. He adds that his father felt extreme guilt about the miscarriage, which is why he continues to send money in the form of alimony. Once Chang Suk, watching the press conference, hears the revelation, his entire world collapses. As reporters clamor for more details, Chang halts them, stating firmly that this is the truth. He warns that as the next chairman and eldest son, he will respond brutally to anyone who harasses his family further. Enraged, Chang Suk smashes the screen and begins to cry, unable to accept the lie. Later, both brothers go to their father's office. The chairman congratulates Chang for handling the situation admirably and prioritizing the family over the competition. Chang humbly replies that he did what mattered most. The father reassures him that the paperwork for his position is still progressing and advises him to live a life he can be proud of as chairman, something he himself failed to do. The chairman then asks Chang to wait outside while he speaks with Chang Suk. He acknowledges Chang Suk's efforts to become chairman but reprimands him for his recent actions, questioning his judgment. He recalls the family's efforts to treat Chang Suk fairly despite his illegitimacy, hoping he would prove to be a better chairman. However, his recent behavior disappointed them all. Chang Suk falls to his knees, begging for forgiveness. His father, unmoved, expresses his disappointment, noting the cruelty and selfishness he inherited from his mother. He decides to provide Chang-suk with some buildings to ensure financial stability but insists he must step back and live quietly. Despite Chang-suk's pleas, his father remains resolute, explaining that Chang kept his secret because they considered him family. This realization hits Chang-suk hard. He had been privileged all along, yet he squandered the family's trust. The next day, at Incheon International Airport, Chang-suk prepares to leave, feeling he no longer belongs. He hands Chang files with important company materials, advising him to take good care of the employees, as they will prove valuable. Before departing, Chang-suk asks Chang who helped him. He suspects Kim Hyun-jin, a mere high schooler, but Chang's reaction confirms it. Chang warns him not to harm Hyun-jin, as this is a line he should not cross. Chang-suk acknowledges his brother's superior ability to use people and resigns himself to his fate, admitting he wouldn't have listened to a high schooler. Just before boarding his plane, Chang-suk receives a call from Hyun-jin, who warns him that he will not resolve matters peacefully if provoked. Hyun-jin emphasizes that while Chang-suk may live comfortably as a family member, he will have no power and will face dire consequences if he tries anything. Chang-suk laughs, recognizing the loyalty between the two. He assures Hyun-jin that he won't cause trouble and acknowledges his brother's capability to become a great chairman. With this resolved, one piece of the puzzle fell into place, and only a few months remained before Hyun-jin could execute his plan to dismantle the Golden Circle. However, before he could proceed, there was still some unfinished business to address. On the same day, Chang visited Hyunjin's high school, where the principal welcomed him warmly. Chang informed the principal that Hyun-jin would be transferring to Seoul next year, which surprised the principal, as Hyun-jin was crucial in elevating Kyanil High's prestige. Chang explained that if the principal resisted the transfer, he would face trouble. Luckily for the principal, Chang pointed out that Hyun-jin was set to graduate soon, suggesting that their long-term relationship with the school could continue to thrive even without Hyun-jin. He expressed his intention to keep supporting the school to ensure it became the most reputable institution. The principal quickly relented, emphasizing his commitment to his students' futures. He agreed that someone with Hyunjin's capabilities would benefit more from being in Seoul. While Hyun-jin waited for someone, he read through a series of messages expressing deep regret for past actions and a desire to apologize properly. The sender was willing to do anything to make amends and earn Hyunjin's forgiveness. Hyun-jin laughed as he read these messages, but the sender finally arrived. It was Young Min-ho. After leaving Daesan, Young had hoped for a fresh start in a new city and school. His parents had spent a significant amount of money to erase his past mistakes, and he had promised himself to lead a better life. With this new beginning in mind, he tried to become a better person by buying snacks for his new friends and helping them in various ways, aiming to live a normal student life. Unfortunately, one fateful day, Park Mingu targeted Young, demanding he carry his backpack home. Young, fearing he'd become Mingu's errand boy, refused and got beaten. Despite this, he believed that surrendering would make him appear weak and lead to constant bullying. Determined not to be seen as weak, he tried to fight back, but Mingu easily overpowered him and branded him as his new plaything. Young's life worsened as his friends abandoned him, and the bullying escalated. Mingu extorted more and more money from Young, knowing he had it. Frustrated and angry, Young stared at Mingu with defiance, only to be warned that Mingu had connections with a rich family who could ruin his life with just one word. Reporting Mingu was also out of the question, as Mingu's friend would hire the most expensive lawyer to destroy Young's life and his family's too. Summoning the courage, Young asked Mingu why he was doing this to him. What had he done to deserve this? Mingu revealed that someone had asked him to target Young, explaining that Young's past life of bullying and misdeeds had come back to haunt him threefold. Young immediately suspected that it was Hyun-jin who was orchestrating his misery, holding out the false hope of a new and better life, only to plunge him deeper into despair with each step he took upward. Hyun-jin had hired Mingu through his connections within a shadowy network. He provided Mingu with an initial payment of 1,000 and promised an additional 5,000 upon completion of the job, which required Mingu to ensure Young's downfall. Hyun-jin was determined to show Young that, no matter where he attempted to start anew, there was no escape for someone like him. Hyunjin's contactor Chonsu called him a crazy bastard with no morals, a label he wore as a badge of honor. Young realized that Hyun-jin was the one who had employed the shadowy network to ruin his life, ensuring he would never find peace. The thought of running away crossed his mind, but he knew that Hyunjin's reach was far and wide. Resigned to his fate, Young decided to endure, believing that if he persevered long enough, things might eventually improve and he could live peacefully. An unexpected opportunity arose when Mingu approached him with a challenge. Mingu offered him a deal, if Jung could drink an entire carton of milk that had been left in the sun for 3 days and endure the next hour-long class without going to the bathroom, Minggu would leave him alone. Seeing this as his last chance for a normal life, Jung accepted the challenge and gulped down the milk. As the class began, Jung quickly felt the overwhelming urge to relieve himself, but he fought against it with all his might. He believed that this was the final hurdle he had to overcome. However, despite his determination, his body betrayed him, and he soiled himself in front of the entire class. Humiliated, he ran to the bathroom amid the laughter of his classmates. Sitting in the stall with his soiled pants, Jung resolved that he had had enough and couldn't endure any longer. Yet, he saw a glimmer of hope in his humiliation. He now had evidence of the bullying. With the soiled pants as proof, he approached the teachers, hoping for justice. Unfortunately, the teachers dismissed it as a prank, with Minggu claiming that they were the best of friends, a statement corroborated by their classmates. After this, Minggu savagely beat Jung, explaining that the teachers wouldn't intervene because they preferred a peaceful life. Even if some teachers did investigate, Minggu had his own evidence against Jung. Minggu demonstrated this by punching himself and threatening to use the injuries and testimonies from his friends to frame Jung as the aggressor. Walking to class, feeling betrayed by the teachers, Jung's old friends approached him, asking if it was true that he had been expelled from his previous school for bullying. With his hope for a better life shattered, Jung decided to drop out of school entirely. A few days later, Jung was shocked to find Minggu at his house. When he asked what Minggu wanted now that the job was supposedly over, Minggu explained that client had requested one more thing, to beat Jung once a month to remind him that his torment was far from over. This revelation led Jung to grovel at Hyunjin's feet, begging for forgiveness. Hyunjin coldly informed him that malice could and would destroy him over time, and there was no escape from his retribution. Hyunjin offers Jung one final chance for redemption: take down Minggu, the one who tormented him. Jung is initially shocked, but he clings to Hyunjin's leg, desperate for a way out, willing to do anything as long as it doesn't involve money or power. Hyunjin tells him that his own body will be sufficient. He instructs Jung to create a disturbance at the school significant enough to force police intervention. If Jung truly desires freedom, he must prove his resolve. While Minggu sits in class, smug about his earnings from the Golden Circle, 6K upfront and an extra 1K per month, an investigator interrupts, summoning him for an ongoing investigation. In the interrogation room, the investigator informs Minggu that Jung has jumped from the 4th floor of his house. Though Jung is still alive, he is in a coma with no signs of waking. When Minggu questions his involvement, the investigator reveals that Jung named him in his will, blaming him for the suicide attempt. There are witnesses and CCTV footage of Minggu at Jung's house, leaving him little room for explanation. Realizing the severity of his situation, Minggu understands that the Golden Circle will expect him to take the fall, but he refuses to comply, yearning for freedom. He confesses to the investigator that he was hired by a group known as the Golden Circle to assault Jung. The investigator, however, leans in and warns him to stay silent if he values his life. He switches off the microphone and redirects the camera, explaining that Minggu was paid not just for the job but to take the blame if things went south. The investigator reveals that the Golden Circle has infiltrated the prosecutor's office and the courts, making it impossible for Minggu to expose them without solid proof. He advises Minggu to take the blame and avoid further trouble. At Gyeonggi-do General Hospital A, news reports about Jung's suicide attempt due to bullying. Public opinion is harsh, with many agreeing that the culprit should be imprisoned for life. Among the onlookers, Hyunjin walks, reflecting on how Minggu ended up taking all the blame. Hyunjin knows that he could have easily been in Minggu's position. To dismantle the Golden Circle, Hyunjin resolves to seize and capitalize on every opportunity, viewing it as an endless gamble, all while enjoying the chaos he creates. Hyunjin enters Jung's hospital room, where Jung's mother immediately curses at him and demands he leave. Hyunjin insists he is there only to talk to Jung, reasoning that he wouldn't dare cause trouble in a hospital. The mother remains suspicious, thinking Hyunjin is trying to deceive her. Hyunjin explains that he promised Jung not to harm him, but if she forces him out, the deal is off. Jung's mother decides to let Hyunjin in, but warns him that there will be severe consequences if he harms her son in any way. After she leaves, Hyunjin crouches down and takes Jung's hand. He admits that on the way there, he prayed for Jung to be conscious. He wanted Jung to feel the weight of his words while being trapped in his unresponsive body. Hyunjin confesses that watching Jung struggle to survive has been thrilling, giving him goosebumps. He warns Jung that he won't honor their promise, so Jung better stay unconscious if he wants to remain unharmed. If Jung wakes up, he will face the same torment repeatedly until he is completely broken. Afterwards, Hyunjin goes grocery shopping, reflecting on his path of revenge. Despite his vendetta, he can't let it consume him entirely. He needs to ensure his family and friends are happy too. At the store, he notices someone in front of him who suddenly bolts upon seeing him. It's Haiji, someone who shouldn't be able to run. Intrigued, Hyunjin tells Chang to investigate. Chang discovers that Haiji's doctor lied about severing her Achilles tendon. Thanks to her father's wealth, she's perfectly fine. Chang asks Hyunjin what he wants to do. Hyunjin decides to leave them alone, knowing her father won't abandon her and recalling that he even hired the Golden Circle for her protection. Chang is surprised by Hyunjin's apparent mercy, but Hyunjin explains it's not mercy. Haiji's life is already miserable enough. She pretended to be a patient for months, feeling trapped, and now she hides her identity with a hoodie, indicating this isn't her first time sneaking out. Though she can walk, she can't let anyone see her. She lives in a self-imposed prison, a fitting punishment for what she did to him. As time passes, Hyunjin's sophomore year ends. While other students relax, Hyunjin intensifies his training with Siwoo. Both show clear improvement, but Hyunjin is far superior, only stopping when the bell rings. Siwoo, exhausted after 5 rounds, asks if Hyunjin isn't tired. Hyunjin admits he is, but he pushes on. Their coach congratulates them for their diligence and announces exciting news. He can now fulfill his promise of putting them on a stage where no one can rival them. With their training nearing its end, they need to clear their schedules for a real fight in Seoul. A few days earlier at Lee Do-hak's gym, Duchul visited to speak with the coach, who was a junior at their previous gym. Do-hak once idolized Duchul, but everything changed after Duchul's drug scandal. Following the scandal, Do-hak joined the UFL and inherited Duchul's popularity, though no one knew he was also using drugs, more than Duchul ever did. He muses that if he had been caught back then, he wouldn't be living such a lavish lifestyle, but he quickly dismisses these thoughts, knowing he can't dwell on them. He suggests they have their students spar, wanting to see the difference between training in Seoul and the countryside city of Daesan. Predictably, Do-hak declines, aware that any attempt to reclaim his image in the martial arts scene is futile due to his tainted past. He questions why Duchul would even attempt this, warning him that aiming too high will only lead to another downfall. Although Duchul feels a pang of hurt, he is secretly relieved that Do-hak remains a contemptible person. He clarifies that he's not looking to debut, he simply wants to measure his students' progress and compare their training methods. Seeing an opportunity to humiliate Duchul and boost his own gym's reputation, Do-hak agrees to the proposition. Duchul and his students are now set to prove themselves. However, when Do-hak proposes the fight to his students, Dae-myung, who has a record of 5 wins and 3 losses, and Dong-yeop, with 4 wins and 1 loss, they initially refuse, fearing the potential damage to their reputations. Do-hak understands their hesitation but emphasizes that these opponents are trained by Duchul himself. If they defeat them soundly, it will draw significant attention to their gym, leading to numerous opportunities. Convinced, they agree to the match, seeing little to lose. Most people remember Do-hak as a proud and successful UFL player, but his memories of that time are far from pleasant. Despite his high drug intake, he never managed to surpass Duchul, even until his retirement. Meeting Duchul again after so many years stirs a cathartic pleasure in Do-hak, though the hope in Duchul's eyes for his students unsettles him. This encounter presents Do-hak with a chance to demonstrate his superiority in teaching. When Duchul arrives, he notices many famous faces from the martial arts community gathered, suspecting that Do-hak plans to undermine him. Observing his students, he sees no trace of nervousness, which fills him with admiration. While helping them with their gloves, he asks if they know why so many prominent figures are present for a sparring session. They think it's because the fight will be tough, but Duchul explains otherwise. He tells them that if they manage to win, no high schooler will be able to challenge them on equal footing again. For the first time in years, Duchul feels a profound pride in his students, which reflects his own pride as their trainer. Dong-yeop is the first to fight, facing Siwoo, who feels a bit guilty about beating a high schooler but blames it on the boy's foolish teacher. However, Siwoo admits that Dong-yeop's focused expression irritates him. When the gong sounds, Dong-yeop initiates the attack, but Siwoo lands a surprising kick to his leg. Dong-yeop anticipates the next move as a fake and tries to counter the real attack, another leg kick, but Siwoo cleverly aims even lower, striking his calf. Siwoo's technique of targeting the opponent's calves with low kicks is meant to restrict their movements. Dong-yeop, annoyed by Siwoo's continuous kicking, underestimates him due to his taekwondo background. However, Siwoo notices Dong-yeop aiming for his feet and decides to be quicker, delivering a powerful kick that puts Dong-yeop down. As the referee stops the match, Siwoo reflects on Hyunjin's likely plan to leave for Seoul. He thinks Hyunjin won't pick him up, believing he's of no help, but Saiwoo wants to show that his role in Hyunjin's grand plan extends beyond Daesan. Saiwoo taunts Doohak, saying the pro from Seoul didn't last even one round. He volunteers to take on the next opponent, suggesting Hyunjin save his strength. Doohak, infuriated, calls Saiwoo an insolent bumpkin and criticizes Duchul for not teaching his student manners. Duchul admits Saiwoo's behavior is rude but points out that Dongyip still lost in one round. He reminds Doohak that inviting people to a sparring session means accepting such outcomes. Realizing his reputation is at stake, Doohak reluctantly agrees to the next match, warning Duchul not to complain if his student gets hurt. Dongyip exits the ring, apologizing, but Doohak dismisses him, focusing on Daemyeong. Confident in his fighting style, Daemyeong assures Doohak he can handle it. As the bell rings, Daemyeong starts passively, testing Saiwoo's range. Observers notice this unusual behavior, but Doohak smirks, knowing Daemyeong's strategy. Daemyeong eventually charges in, showcasing his skill in controlling distances. Saiwoo takes a strong punch but refuses to give up, driven by memories of his grueling training. Spotting an opening, he aims for Daemyeong's jaw, but Daemyeong dodges and strikes him in the face. Despite the hit, Saiwoo remains determined, charging at Daemyeong, who realizes Saiwoo's tenacity stems from a desire to initiate close combat. As they fight, Saiwoo thinks about Hyunjin, who used to be cheerful and kind before changing. Despite Hyunjin's ruthlessness, Saiwoo believes he's still the same person deep down and resolves to support him just as Hyunjin supported him in difficult times. Saiwoo successfully locks Daemyeong in a hold, forcing him to tap out, shocking Doohak and the spectators. Saiwoo approaches Hyunjin, asserting that he proved his worth by defeating two pros and can be a valuable asset. He urges Hyunjin to use him strategically, promising to follow his plans or act independently if necessary, confident that Hyunjin will need him in the future. Hyunjin wonders why he is pushing himself so hard, and Siwoo echoes the question. Hyunjin's demeanor suggests he's living on borrowed time, as if his life is already over. Doohak interrupts, telling him to leave the stage since it's time for the next match. His final contender is Shin Chang-hoon, an unknown quantity. The spectators begin to gossip, believing Doohak is in a dire situation after two pros lost to a high schooler. Doohak fears his reputation will be ruined, with people viewing Duchul as a superior player and coach. Fortunately for Doohak, he has a secret weapon, Chang-hoon. He believes Chang-hoon is the most talented among his students and sees this match as a chance to reclaim some prestige. Chang-hoon, however, is reluctant, desiring a more spectacular debut but agrees to participate. Doohak proposes to Duchul that to truly test their student's abilities, his other student should face Chang-hoon. Hyunjin, reflecting on his past life, recalls two promising figures in national martial arts, Kim Woo-yeol and Chang-hoon. Chang-hoon, nicknamed Dynamite, had a sensational debut and quickly rose to prominence, joining the UFL within 2 years. Hyunjin chooses to fight Chang-hoon, seeing it as an opportunity to prove himself against a talented opponent. Before entering the ring, he assures Siwoo they'll talk later. As soon as the gong sounds, Hyunjin charges at Chang-hoon, who plans to end the fight quickly. However, Hyunjin proves formidable, dodging and landing a chest blow. They exchange numerous blows, with both Duchul and Siwoo noticing Hyunjin's uncharacteristic fighting style. Hyunjin realizes that being overly calculated is futile in this new environment. Seoul is an unpredictable territory teeming with unexpected adversaries. He decides to abandon his inhibitions and rely on instinct, believing it will be his key to survival. Hyunjin intensifies his attacks, surprising Chang-hoon, who was previously cornering him. Now, Chang-hoon finds himself on the defensive. Duchul contemplates Hyunjin's attributes, his impressive physique, innate talent assessment, situational awareness, and aspiration. What makes Hyunjin truly formidable is his disregard for personal safety, allowing him to channel all his energy into defeating his opponent. As Chang-hoon falls, the crowd erupts in cheers for Hyunjin, while Doohak regrets ever accepting the match. Approaching Duchul, Hyunjin acknowledges the unreasonable nature of his request but expresses profound gratitude for Duchul's support in achieving his strength. Bowing his head, he thanks Duchul, who responds with a softened expression, stating this is all he can do for him at this time and wishing Hyunjin safety. The martial arts community is left shaken by Duchul's student's victory, speculating on Hyunjin's imminent debut and eagerly anticipating his progress. Following this surge of publicity, Duchul receives numerous messages, some inquiring about his students, others proposing collaborations. Despite their previous indifference, they now seek his favor. However, for Duchul, these offers are meaningless. With his deal with Hyunjin and Siwoo concluded, he feels a loss of purpose in the martial arts scene. Initially motivated by money, he eventually discovered a passion for teaching, finding fulfillment in guiding students from the ground up. In the past, Duchel often felt overshadowed by Duhak. However, as he watched his two students grow and excel, those feelings of inferiority gradually faded. One day, he received a call from a gym, prompting thoughts about potentially signing up with another gym to earn money and recruit new students. Yet, he wondered if it would ever feel the same. During this contemplation, a young man entered and asked if he was Coach Duchel. Recognizing him, the visitor expressed how the recent match had left a lasting impression. Despite others' negative remarks, he believed in Duchel's exceptional talent and wanted to train under him, certain he would become a champion. This determination reminded Duchel of Hyunjin, so he asked for the young man's name. With a big smile, the visitor introduced himself as Kim Muyol. A few days later, Hyunjin met Saiwoo in a park. Hyunjin told Saiwoo that he would not take him to Seoul because of the dangers involved. Saiwoo was angry, questioning the purpose of all his training. Hyunjin reminded him that he had previously stated he wouldn't take him but clarified that it didn't mean Saiwoo wasn't needed. He promised to contact Saiwoo to join him in Seoul when the time came, accepting Saiwoo's dedication. Until then, Hyunjin entrusted Daesan to Saiwoo. The next day, Saiwoo approached Shungho directly, asking who would take over the school after Hyunjin left. Shungho, surprised, replied that it should be him since he hadn't achieved much despite their friendship. Saiwoo agreed but pointed out a problem. Once Hyunjin left and Saiwoo eventually graduated, the title would be vacant again. If he tried to claim it, the bullies wouldn't respect him. Thus, Saiwoo challenged Shungho to a fight. Shungho warned Saiwoo about the allure of power but agreed to fight. Saiwoo, confident in his training under Hyunjin, assured Shungho not to worry. They fought, and Saiwoo emerged victorious. News of his win spread quickly, but Saiwoo didn't stop there. He began defeating every bully who defied him, restructuring the school's hierarchy. The third years attacked first, followed by the second and first years, but all fell to Saiwoo's might. Jin Woo, when asked why he wasn't intervening, explained that his ambitions of being the top dog were long gone. He was content with being second or third. With this, the hierarchy at Kyeonil High was firmly established, and Saiwoo became the top dog. Time passed, and the final exams, signaling the end of the year, concluded. As usual, Hyunjin achieved perfect scores, setting the stage for his future. Confident that his academic record would make waves in Gangnam, where such achievements were highly valued, he prepared to leave. However, a student stopped him, wanting to talk. The student admitted his past mistakes, acknowledging how he had ignored Hyunjin's requests and was now ready to accept any rebuke. Despite being ostracized and treated as invisible, he found solace in studying and was actually happy, free from Park and his minions' harassment. He experienced a normal high school life, even without friends, which he found to be a fair trade. Eventually, he met others in similar situations and formed a bond with them. Reflecting on the past, he sometimes wished he could go back and do things differently, but he knew he would likely act the same due to his inherent cowardice. However, he couldn't keep running because he was transferring schools. Promising never to forget that day, he wanted Hyunjin to know that they were all grateful. Because of Hyunjin, they could all live a better life. Hyunjin's actions became a catalyst for other students to approach him, expressing their gratitude. Although his initial intention was to deal with the bullies without considering others, the thankfulness of his peers was overwhelming. Even though he wanted to listen, he had to let their gratitude pass by. He knew that if his thirst for revenge faded, he would lose sight of his goal. However, the appreciation extended beyond his school. A student from another school thanked him, explaining that without Hyunjin's actions, his life would have been different. Hyunjin dismissed the thanks, stating that he only crushed the bullies to prove his strength. The student insisted that the reason behind Hyunjin's actions didn't matter, what mattered was the positive impact they had on others. Many kids in Daesan felt the same way. He handed Hyunjin a phone showing that the group Hyunjin formed had made a significant impact. Bullies had become inactive, and even those who had no direct interaction with Hyunjin wanted to thank him. The student explained that many kids dreaded going to school, but now they lived in a changed world where they could enjoy peaceful high school lives, all because of Hyunjin. As Hyunjin walked home, he noticed more students smiling at him. These smiles made him think of the fearful gazes of his enemies, a memory he couldn't shake. He believed that hatred begets hatred, but he didn't care. To him, his twisted sense of justice was still justice. He thought people would shun him for his actions, but instead, the more he rid the school of bullies, the happier people became. Were his actions truly evil? He concluded they weren't. This was judgment by blood, a necessary role no one else wanted to take. He would gladly fulfill this role, believing it might be the reason he was given a second chance at school. With winter vacation approaching, Hyunjin's time at Kyeonil High was coming to an end. He finalized his transfer with the principal and said farewell to Youngchul. Despite their help, Hyunjin had no intention of sparing those who might aid future bullies. He believed in cutting down the entire tree to allow a new one to grow. As he left school, Seona stopped him, mentioning that her father wanted to speak with him. Surprised, Hyunjin agreed. At Seona's house, her father, Choi Song-pil, a former high-ranking government official and now chairman of the Anti-School Violence Committee, welcomed Hyunjin and offered him food. Hyunjin encouraged Song-pil to speak openly. Song-pil, who had lost his son to bullying, explained that he was impressed by Hyunjin's efforts to fight school violence. He admitted that Hyunjin, a high schooler, had achieved more in reducing bullying in Daesan than he had. Song-pil shared a heartfelt reflection, wishing his son had had a friend like Hyunjin or that someone had spoken up earlier. He admitted his own shortcomings as a father, failing to notice the signs his son was giving. He felt incompetent, acknowledging that children in double-income households often struggle to express their feelings. He recounted how he pressured his son about his grades, failing to understand the deeper issues. When he suggested that he wants to transfer schools, he didn't listen, thinking his son was just trying to avoid the academic difficulties he was facing. That day remained etched in his memory, a constant reminder of his failure to prioritize his family's happiness over his own. This realization drove him to move to Daesan, to better care for Seona and to fight school violence. Yet, he recognized that Hyunjin's methods were far more effective, as Hyunjin was the unbiased enforcer of justice that he could never be. Hyunjin's decision to move to Seoul signified an expansion of his mission to eradicate injustice. Song-pil finally expressed his admiration for Hyunjin, vowing to support him regardless of what he faced in Seoul. As long as Song-pil's organization was active, they would ensure no one obstructed Hyunjin's path. With a firm handshake, Hyunjin thanked him, promising to remember this moment forever. Later, Hyunjin spoke with Seona, who confessed her frustration at not acting on her desire for revenge against those who harmed her brother. Hyunjin reassured her, stating that she was not to blame. Seona admitted that the real culprits were the ones who caused the harm. Inspired by Hyunjin, she now had a new dream. Seeing Hyunjin gain power and face no obstacles made her realize the importance of wielding that power. She decided to become a prosecutor, determined to take control of her life and live it fully. She urged Hyunjin to continue his fight, as his strength gave her the courage to pursue her own goals. Hyunjin promised to do his best and support her efforts. As winter vacation began, Hyunjin devoted his time to his family. They shared delicious meals, enjoyed beautiful sceneries, and visited an amusement park for the first time, where his grandmother's joyful smile made him cherish these moments even more. Despite their outings, home always felt the best. While cleaning his grandmother's ears, he suggested buying hair dye for her, but she declined, considering it a blessing to age naturally. She insisted he spend the money on something for himself and his brother. These moments filled Hyunjin with happiness, making him appreciate the time he had with his family. What he valued most about his return to the past was not the opportunity for revenge, but the disappearance of the pain he had caused his family, bringing him unparalleled joy. He wished these moments would never end, but he knew he had to continue on the path he had set for himself. And thus, the first season concludes. Thank you for watching.